After killing Sasuke, Naruto awakens in the world of One Piece.
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Killed Sasuke and Got Teleported to One Piece movie. Before we start, please go support Gabriel Casas 545 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Naruto is a male. After the battle of Sasuke and Naruto against Kagaya, the Uchiha wanted to dominate the world by force, even if he had to kill thousands of innocent people. Naruto fought against Sasuke. They fought for their ideals, one for unity through words and understanding, and the other for their intention to conquer the world. In their last efforts, their techniques clashed, Naruto with his Rasengan and Sasuke with his Chidori, but when they collided, it caused a gigantic explosion in which, thanks to the collision of both attacks, the duo was absorbed by a black hole in which, despite the fact that gravity was much heavier, they both continued fighting until Naruto, with his last effort, grabbed the Uchiha's neck tightly and twisted his neck, killing him. After killing the Uchiha, Naruto ended up fainting from overexertion. Chapter 1. A New Opportunity. Currently in the ninja world, a large-scale war is taking place in which the 5 great ninja nations and the country of the samurai participated, which are Kurigakure, Kumagakure, Sunagakure, Iwagakure, Kanagakure and the country of Iron where the samurai lived. This war was being carried out against Uchiha Obito and Uchiha Madara, along with their thousands of white Zetsus and several Edo Tensei, revived people. These were high-level ninjas, among these were the Jinchuriki, the deceased Akatsuki and the cages of the past, among other high-level ninja who were recognized throughout the ninja world, in addition to having the Jubi, the original tailed beast and the strongest of the 10 tailed beasts. The war against Uchiha Obito or Tobi was very even for both sides until Uchiha Madara and absorbed the power of the Jubi, the original tailed beast, and when the Uchiha did that, everything went to shit until the Sage of the Six Paths appeared and gave his power to Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, thanks to being the reincarnation of their children, Sasuke being the reincarnation of Indra and Naruto the reincarnation of Ashura. But then everything got worse when Madara activated the infinite Tsukiyomi, so the duo tried their best to defeat the Uchiha and free all the shinobi, but what nobody knew was that Zetsu was waiting for the right moment to betray Madara and use his body to revive his mother. After a couple of minutes watching the fight, Zetsu took advantage and passed through Madara's body, causing the older Uchiha to transform into the rabbit goddess and mother of chakra Kagaya Otsutsuki. After the rabbit goddess reappeared in the world, Team 7 along with Obito Uchiha, who wanted to redeem himself for causing a war fraud against the mother of chakra. In the battle, the rabbit goddess teleported them several times to the various dimensions that the mother of chakra had. The battle against the rabbit goddess and mother of the Sage of the Six Paths was difficult to the point that the goddess killed Obito Uchiha and left Sasuke, Kakashi and Sakura very injured, but in the end, Naruto did a forbidden jutsu, sealing almost all of the chakra of the mother of chakra in him, although nobody noticed that Naruto took advantage of the fact that the goddess was weakened and signaled Sasuke to seal the rabbit goddess. The Uchiha followed the order and both sealed the weakened Kagaya, releasing the 9 Bijuas that were sealed in the Jito Meizo. After sealing the rabbit goddess, Sasuke wanted to rule all the ninja villages and the entire elemental continent with fear, so he captured the 9 Biju. The Uzumaki did not want that to happen, since it would only be a false peace. It was then that both fought for their ideals, Naruto with his Biju form and Sasuke with his Susanoo. The battle in the Valley of the End was destructive, everything was chaos and destruction in the Valley of the End, but at the end of the battle Naruto and Sasuke with their last efforts collided, their techniques, Naruto with his Rasengan and Sasuke with his Chidori, but at the moment of colliding, caused a gigantic explosion, in which thanks to the collision of both attacks, the duo was absorbed by a black hole, in which despite the fact that gravity was much heavier, both continued fighting until Naruto with his last effort, grabbed the Uchiha's neck tightly and twisted his neck, killing him. After killing the Uchiha, Naruto ended up fainting from overexertion. But after a while Naruto woke up very hurt but alive. "Kurama, where are we?" Naruto asked with some curiosity and annoyance, because his whole body hurt. The 9-tailed fox frowned and replied, "I have no idea, pup, but be careful and don't let your guard down." Naruto nodded and sharpened his senses to see if he could detect anyone. "Hello son," said a voice that was recognized by Naruto and Kurama. The blonde-haired boy turned around and saw the person behind him and was impressed, since he didn't think he would see the Sage of the Six Paths again. "You know where I am, old Rikido?" asked Naruto, curious and somewhat worried about not returning home and breaking infinite Tsukiyomi, although he knew that without Sasuke's power, it would be impossible, but he always did the impossible. "My son, you are in Limbo," Hagoromo replied seriously. "Limbo, where is that?" asked Naruto curiously, but inside Naruto, Kurama was surprised. He didn't think he would end up in Limbo, and he wondered to himself if his Jinchuriki always got into trouble. "You don't have to worry about that, son," said the wise man with sadness in his voice. What happened to the villages, what happened to everything, and what happened to the infinite Tsukiyomi? Naruto asked, alarmed and sad for not being able to see his friends. Well son, what happened is that I was able to free everyone from the infinite Tsukiyomi, but there was a cost to doing that, and that was that no one in the shinobi world has chakra anymore, said Hagoromo sighing sadly. Naruto and Kurama inside this opened their eyes in shock at that, but how is it possible old Rikido, said Naruto a little surprised and alarmed. The sage of the six paths looked at him and said, look Naruto, I no longer had enough power at that time, since I gave you and Sasuke a large part of my power, so I had to do a forbidden jutsu to free everyone, but the cost is that they will be left without chakra. Naruto nodded, sighing sadly. If he had fought seriously none of this would have happened, everyone would be with their chakra. I should have fought seriously and not held back with Sasuke. He could no longer be redeemed, and I as a stubborn idiot had to keep trying to lead him down the right path, said Naruto, full of frustration for not having killed the stupid Uchiha. Indeed, if you had killed the Uchiha, you would have saved your friends from losing their chakra, you would have saved the shinobi world, said a female voice, but you didn't do it. Thank you for the ideals you have in wanting to save everyone, said another voice, but this one was male. But you have nothing to worry about, child of the prophecy, we want to offer you something that might interest you, said another male voice. Both Naruto and Hagoromo turned around and saw the three very imposing figures in surprise, as they both felt a gigantic power emanating from them, one so great that it considerably surpassed them. Who are you? Naruto asked, frowning, since he didn't know these figures and didn't have a good feeling about them. The three figures looked at him and said at the same time, we are the supreme gods, little child of prophecy. Both Hagoromo, Naruto and Kurama opened their eyes in surprise. What do you mean, supreme gods? Naruto asked curiously, since he didn't know what the gods wanted with him, and that put him on alert, since until now he hadn't had good experiences with the gods or with people who believed themselves to be gods. Well child, answering your question, we are the supreme gods, the gods above the gods, we are the three great originals and the most powerful. We have been watching you child, we saw that despite the hatred of your village, despite what you suffered, you always rose above all, always with a smile, so we the supreme gods will give you a second chance. Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, said a female voice with some joy in her voice. Son of the prophecy, savior of the world, thank you for defeating Otsutsuki Kagaya and your former friend Uchiha Sasuke. If any of them had been in the shinobi world, humanity would have perished or they would have been enslaved, which is worse, said a male voice that radiated a power comparable to that of the female voice that spoke first. So we want to give you several gifts. Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, said another male voice from which radiated an enormous power which made Naruto sweat. So we the supreme gods want to thank you for defeating Kagaya and Uchiha Sasuke. Unfortunately we could not intervene, since as long as they do not attack us, we cannot take matters into our own hands, the three voices said at once. Naruto nodded in understanding. He didn't know the matters of the gods, but he assumed that they were rules that even the supreme gods had to abide by. Well, what are your names? Asked the blonde, curious to know who those supreme gods were. After Naruto asked the names, a woman passed by and introduced herself. I am Kami, goddess of creation, said the first figure. This was a light-skinned woman who appeared to be about 25 years old, very beautiful. Even for a goddess she radiated an immense power that made the sage of the six paths look small. Then a man who looked about 30 years old passed by and introduced himself. Well, I am Shinigami, the primordial god of death, said the primordial god in a stoic and calm manner. Finally he passed and the last figure was presented, which radiated a gigantic power even greater than the previous two, and said, I am Yami, the primordial god of chaos and order. Uzumaki Naruto, for your heroic acts in this dimension, each one of us, the three primordial gods, will give you a gift which will serve you for your new life. Naruto was surprised by what was said, but nodded with some discomfort and surprise. But why do they want me to go to another dimension? I asked, and Naruto thought with some bewilderment and curiosity. The three primordial gods looked at each other and answered simultaneously, we want you to help this dimension. We want you to stop the injustices that are happening. I know that your child of the prophecy will be able to do it in time. And what injustices will happen? Naruto asked, curious to know what he would have to stop. You will know in time, replied Kami, primordial goddess of light and creation, with a small smile. Naruto pouted but nodded reluctantly. Well, Uzumaki Naruto, hero of the fourth ninja war, son of the prophecy, we the three primordials will give you something that will help you on your journey, something that will protect you and support you in everything you do, my dear boy. First, I, Kami, primordial goddess of light and creation, as a gift, I will give you two faithful servants who will support you, take care of you and accompany you on your journey. In addition to that, I will give you the power of light and creation. I know that you will be able to create with your Rinnegan that you will soon awaken, but your power of creation will increase considerably to such an extent that you will even be able to create human bodies if you train well. Naruto opened his eyes in shock, surprised but dismissed it, since something made him more curious, so he asked, "What do you mean by servant?" said the curious blonde. "Well, I will give you 2 warriors who will protect you, son of the prophecy," said Kami, primordial goddess of light and creation. Naruto nodded foolishly, and from Kami's hand, 2 lights came out forming 2 young men. One had light blonde hair, thin build and white skin, the other had purple hair, thin build and brown skin. From both young men, it was clear that they radiated enormous power. "What are the names of those 2 young men?" Naruto asked, curious but somewhat nervous about the power that both young men gave off. "Well, introduce yourselves, boys," Kami ordered, smiling, but also raising his power so that the 2 former kings introduced themselves. They both sighed but nodded with a frown. "Well, my name is Sinbad, former king of Sindria and ex-leader of the Alliance of the Seven Seas, and apparently Kami-sama brought me and my younger self to serve you, master." "This is interesting," said Sinbad, who was a young purple-haired man with brown skin. Then the second figure passed by and spoke and said, "My name is Gilgamesh, the king of heroes. I was able to see your life, half-breed, thanks to Kami, and I respect everything you did. You are worthy of serving, but I warn you. Do not impose your will on me and I will be loyal to you. We also have things to change in you. You will not always have to forgive people." Naruto was surprised but nodded and introduced himself. "My name is Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto. It will be a pleasure to be friends. I hope to get along with you." The duo nodded, somewhat impressed, since they were supposed to be his servants, but smiled, since he was someone worthy to serve. "It will be a pleasure to work with you, young Naruto," said the 2. Naruto nodded, happy to have new friends. "Well, I continue. I introduce myself. I am Shinigami, the primordial god of darkness and death. I will give you as a gift the power of destruction, or also called Hakai, to such an extent that if you train it, it will make anyone in that field look like an idiot. Train well, child of the prophecy. Maybe you can even surpass me in time. In addition to that, I will give you a couple of weapons that will help you protect your friends. The first is the sword that I will give you is the Excalibur, a sacred sword capable of killing gods. The second weapon that I will give you is the most powerful Zanpakuto. Might possess these swords have a mind of their own, young man. This sword is called Raijin Jaka, as well as the 3rd strongest weapon that I possess. That is why I will give you Zangetsu, one of the 5 most powerful swords that I possess, the Shinigami. I hope you use it well," said the primordial of darkness and death. Sinbad opened his eyes in shock that the Shinigami would give him such things, since he had heard from some magicians of his dimension that the Shinigami possessed special swords capable of reducing even an island, countries or even continents with a single attack, but then he smiled and thought it would be interesting to serve Naruto.san. While Naruto nodded in a daze at such gifts, as he believed he was not worthy of such gifts. "I hope you become powerful, Naruto. You have the potential to be powerful. In addition to that, I will give you the ability to use Ryatsu, and I will give you the information of all the Kido luck," said the god of darkness and death with a half smile. Naruto nodded in surprise at such gifts. He only hoped he was worthy of what the gods were providing him. "Well, I am the last, as I mentioned before. I am Yami, the god of chaos, and order Uzumaki Naruto for your heroic acts. I will give you the celestial dragon contract. In addition, I will give you my blessing. With it you will be able to use the darkness element. In addition to that, I will give you the power to extract the devil fruits from their users that exist in the place you will go. I will also give you a pair of very powerful weapons that someone you knew in your world had. The first weapon that I will give you is the sword of Totsuka no Tsurugi, the ancient sword that Uchiha Itachi used, and the second is the Yada mirror, Yada no Kagami, also known as the sacred mirror." Naruto was quite surprised by that but nodded, stunned to have that weapon. "Naruto, thank you old gods for this opportunity. I promise not to disappoint you, Dadabeo." The gods smiled, but at the same time they had a tick on their heads because Naruto called them old. "Well, Naruto, since you are going to live in another dimension, I will give you some gifts. I, Hagoromo Otsutsuki, will give you the riches of your clan as well as the swords of the mist. I hope you find someone worthy of them. In addition to that, I will give you the knowledge of how to use all the elements, and I will give you my blood so that you can be part of the Otsutsuki clan and increase your power. My son, I want you to have enough power to protect yourself. You may have some changes when you grow up." It was then that Naruto asks and says, "Hey old man, what will happen to Kurama and the other Bijuas? Where will they be?" Hagoromo sighed and replied, "He will go with you while the others are sleeping inside you, recovering their power." After saying that, Hagoromo threw 8 red lights towards Naruto that entered the blonde. "Well, Naruto, I'll seal the other Bijas. Take care of them. Remember that they are asleep and it will take several years until they wake up due to the excessive use of their power." Naruto nodded happily, but somewhat nervous about such a responsibility. He just hoped not to disappoint the old Rakuto. Hagoromo, Naruto also modified Kurama's seal, meaning that now both he and his brothers will be able to escape the seal. Naruto nodded, somewhat stunned but happy. While in Naruto's mental escape, Kurama was squealing with happiness and made a mental note to leave the seal only when his brothers wake up since he wanted to give them the surprise, plus he had to recover his power. Kami, well Naruto.kun, when you go, remember that your memories and powers will be momentarily sealed, you will have the body of a newborn child, and with the passing of the years you will recover your power. I would even say that it will increase much more than what you have now, and at 5 or 6 years, your memories will be completely recovered, as well as most of the weapons, and the money that we gave you will be sealed in this necklace that you will have. In addition to that, both Sinbad and Gilgamesh will be in their sealed forms. When you recover your power and memories, they will be unsealed from you. After Kami said that, both Sinbad and Gilgamesh sealed themselves in Naruto's left hand. But why will I be a newborn, and why will they seal my memories and powers, says Naruto, curious and somewhat irritated that the gods do that, since he did not understand why it would have to be a child. For him that was strange. Shinigami, answering your question Naruto, since I notice how irritated and curious you are, well, what we want is for you to not only go to a dimension, but to have what you never had in your dimension. What I mean is that I want you to have a family to love, to cherish, and with whom you can have a happy life. Are you serious? Will I have a family that loves me? Is it possible? Naruto asked, with hopeful eyes of finally having the love of a family. Of course young Heir, you deserve it, you have done a lot for the ninja world, it is time for you to have some retribution, and the love that you were unable to have. All the gods nodded happily. Kami. Well Naruto.kun, we say goodbye. Remember this, in that dimension people don't know what chakra is, maybe some may have the power of chakra, but not all, and if they do it is minimal, but there are devil fruit users who have special powers. Besides that, the world is ruled by pirates and marines. After the gods finished speaking, they waved their hands, and Naruto shrank to the size of a newborn child who was placed in a basket. After doing that, the three primordials snapped their fingers, two lights appearing, forming two very well-known and feared figures in the shinobi world, to the point that both were considered SS-rank shinobi. Capable of facing a cage and defeating him, these two figures were Uzumaki Kushina, the Red Death of Konoha and Princess of the Whirlpool Country, and Namikaze Minato, the Yellow Flash, Yondaime Hokage of Konoha. Hello Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato, it's a pleasure to see you, said the three primordial gods. Both Minato and Kushina saw them somewhat intimidated, since they felt the power of those three gods. And in the words of both powerful shinobi, the power of those presences made them see the Kyuubi small, and that terrified them, but after that they felt a chakra very similar but somewhat different from theirs, and they saw a basket that was next to them, where there was a young man with red hair with whisker marks on his cheeks, very similar to his son Naruto when he was just born, with the only difference that his hair was reddish, and that surprised them. You already realized who that child in the basket is, right Uzumaki Kushina? Namikaze Minato asked Kami with a half smile on her, since Naruto's parents recognized little Naruto's chakra. Kushina and Minato felt stunned to see their son again, but with the red hair both parents were happy and curious. Minato. Why does my son have a baby form? When I was revived he was 16 years old, what happened with the war? The Yondaime asked. Kushina was surprised by that and looked at the gods, saying that she also wanted to know what exactly happened to her son. The gods looked at each other and threw a small lightning bolt at Kushina and Minato's heads, where they saw Naruto's memories, the loneliness that the village gave him, being raised alone at the age of 4 without Jiraiya or Tsune to protect him, how it must have been, the pain of being abused physically and mentally, Sarutobi Hiruzen's attempt to protect him, Kakashi's neglect of his son, the pain he received when he was betrayed by Sasuke Uchiha. They saw the few friends his son had. The few who brought him out of loneliness. They saw that Jiraiya and Tsune tried to redeem themselves and took care of him in his adolescence. They saw the last battle between his son and the idiot Uchiha. They saw what the gods gave his son, and they saw the second chance that was given to his son, and that he can save the world he will go to. I see you are already processing everything you saw, said Shinigami, sighing deeply. Minato and Kushina looked at the Shinigami and said, you have a similar but more powerful aura than the Shinigami I summoned years ago. The primordial god of death and darkness looked at Minato and said, in effect, Namikaze Minato that you summoned was nothing more than one of my elite guards, someone who despite not being as powerful as me, was strong enough in sealing to split the nine-tailed Biju in two. Both Minato and Kushina looked at the Shinigami in surprise, but nodded at the death god's answer. And why are we in this place? Kushina asked curiously, but still she couldn't stop looking at Naruto with happiness and sadness for the life he lived and for the opportunity that the gods were giving him. The gods saw Naruto's parents, and then they looked at each other until Kami spoke. Well Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato, what we want is to give you a chance in life to protect your son, a chance for you to be by his side and give him all the love he deserves, a chance to support him in the dimension to which he will be sent, a chance to correctly guide the son of the prophecy. Both Kushina and Minato opened their eyes in shock, but surrounded by happiness for being able to raise their baby. Seriously, will they give us the opportunity to raise our baby? Minato and Kushina said hopefully. The three primordials nodded and gave a small smile at the happiness they saw in the eyes and emotions of both humans in front of them. Well, we'll tell you this. You will be sent to another dimension, just like Naruto. In that dimension, there are pirates and marines, some good and some bad, but you'll find out everything when you arrive. Minato and Kushina raised an eyebrow in surprise at the words of the gods in front of them and said that they want exactly what we do in that dimension. Kami. It's simple Uzumaki Namikaze Kushina, Namikaze Minato, we want your son and you to achieve a change for the better in that world. We want you to be happy, since you three especially Naruto deserve it, so we the primordials will bring back the Uzumaki clan in its entirety to all the Uzumaki who were killed in the Second World War, to serve our champion, to protect him and take care of him. Both Kushina and Minato widened their eyes in surprise, and Kushina said with hopeful eyes, my clan will be revived. The gods nod and snap their fingers to reveal a well-known person from the Second World War. Where am I? What happened? Asked Uzumaki Kenshin, bewildered to appear out of nowhere. It was then that Kenshin saw his daughter, only older, so he went to hug her. Batousan, I'm happy to see you again, said Kushina happily and crying. Me too, Kushi-chan, said Kenshin full of joy for having his daughter again. Batousan, may I introduce you to Minato.kun, my husband, said Kushina with joy in her voice, as she could finally introduce Minato to her father. Minato greeted Kenshin somewhat nervously. The aforementioned saw Minato evaluating the Namikaze, but suddenly felt a great power from him, perhaps even greater than his, so Kenshin spoke seriously to the Namikaze. Kenshin, hello Minato.san, I hope you took good care of my daughter. Minato nodded and was going to say something until Kami said hello Uzumaki Kenshin, leader of the Uzumaki, in a calm manner, we want to offer you a second chance, said Shinigami with a dead voice, and that you and your entire clan support a child to achieve his goals, that you support our champion, that you support the chosen one, said Yami calmly. Because they want me to go, said Kenshin, curious to know why the gods had brought him. Simple, we the gods want Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto to achieve his goals, so we will ask you if you want to support Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, your grandson, said Kami happily. Kenshin opened his eyes in surprise and looked at Kushina and Minato to ask them if they had a child. The aforementioned nodded. After that Kenshin looked at the gods again and said. Kenshin, what do I have to do? The gods saw each other and said, your life is real, so you understand everything. Kenshin nodded, and the gods sent him a small lightning bolt, which caused Kenshin to see Naruto alone in an orphanage, being thrown out of the orphanage at the age of 4, the neglect of most of Konoha, the hatred of civilians towards him, Sasuke's betrayal, the support that some ninjas gave Naruto, Kakashi's neglect of Naruto, the Fourth Ninja War, Sasuke's new betrayal of his grandson, the death of both, the second chance that his grandson had just been given. You already know everything Naruto.kun experienced, so what do you decide? Kenshin said, and Kami asked seriously. Kenshin looked at himself and knelt before the gods and said, I Uzumaki Kenshin swear on my honor and that of my clan that I will protect my grandson Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto. The gods gave a small smile, and Shinigami said, okay Kenshin, we will bring your clan completely, but in addition to that we will bring the entire country of the Whirlpool with its great island and its small islands around it, so that you can live in that place and you do not have to worry about rebuilding that place, since we will bring it rebuilt. Kenshin, Kushina and Minato opened their eyes in surprise, since the gods were not only giving him a new opportunity, but were also giving him a house, the old Uzumaki house. Why give us all this, why do this, asked Kushina curiously, since it was rare if not impossible for the gods to be so generous. The gods saw Kushina and said, at the same time, we do it because Naruto stopped Kagaya and Sasuke. If Naruto had never stopped them, Kagaya would have destroyed the elemental nations, and in the case of Sasuke, he would have conquered and killed thousands of innocent people. In a few words, they would have completely destroyed their dimension, everything would have been chaos, and despite the fact that people lost chakra, that is why we give this opportunity to the child of the prophecy, that is why we will give a gift to the three so that they protect Naruto.kun. Kushina, Minato and Kenshin raised an eyebrow at that, but said nothing. Okay, now we the primordials will give each of you a gift, said the three primordials. After they said that, Kami stepped forward and said, I am Kami, the primordial goddess of light and creation. I will give each of you a summoning contract so powerful that it could face a few-tailed Biju. The contract you will have Uzumaki Namikaze Kushina is the legendary contract of the Phoenix. In your case Namikaze Minato, I will give you the legendary summoning of the White Tigers, and finally Kenshin, you will have the Polar Mud contract. Each of the leaders, these contracts as I mentioned before are so powerful to face the Bijuus between 1 to 4 tails, I hope you use it well. The trio was surprised that such powerful contracts existed and decided to use the power of the summoning contract wisely. Well, I am the second, as you already know. I am Shinigami, the primordial god of death. I will give you the knowledge of how to use Reiatsu and the knowledge of using Kido and Heido. In addition to giving you special swords, train well and discover their name, and you will become incredibly powerful. The couple nodded, surprised by the knowledge about the Ryatsu that they just learned thanks to the Shinigami, and they promised themselves to train to put it into practice and be powerful enough to protect their son, bear a grandson. Well, finally, I am Yami, the primordial god of darkness. As a gift I will give each of you a special power. First to you, Namikaze Minato, I will give you the power to become light and fully use this element. To you, Kushina, I will give you the power of crimson fire. With that element you will be able to burn everything you set your mind to. This fire is even stronger than lava. And finally to you, Kenshin, I will give you the power to completely master lightning to such an extent that you will be able to become lightning. The trio of SS rank shinobis from the elemental nations nodded, surprised at the power that the primordial god Yami gave them. Good. And lastly, gift to Naruto. We the primordials will revive 8 people who helped Naruto become what he is now. These 8 people will soon return to Naruto's side. When he recovers his memories, they will appear in the new Yuzu. We will send them. Kushina, Minato, and Kenshin raised an eyebrow at that, but nodded, curious to see who the 8 ninjas are that were revived by the primordials and who helped Naruto become what he is today, but then dismissed it. Since that for the moment was not that important. Well, it's time to send you all and the new Yuzu along with his entire clan, said Kami, after saying that the 3 gods snapped their fingers and sent Kenshin, Minato, Kushina and baby Naruto and the new Yuzu, along with the entire Uzumaki clan to the world of One Piece. The trio of gods only hoped that Naruto and the entire Uzumaki clan could save the entire world of One Piece. End of chapter. Chapter 2. The Rise of the Whirlpool. It has been approximately almost 6 years since the Uzumaki clan and Naruto, the child of the prophecy along with his parents, returned to life thanks to the primordial gods. During this time the new country of the whirlpools was growing in power, along with all the members of the Uzumaki clan who were training to strengthen themselves to protect Naruto, who could give them the opportunity to return to life. Since without him the gods will not give him another chance. At this time Naruto was training despite not yet having his memories of his past life. At the moment he was currently training to protect his loved ones, what he loved the most at this time. Both Minato and Kushina trained Naruto in Fuinjutsu and Kinjutsu, being skilled in the case of handling a sword, but in the case of Fuinjutsu, this was a genius. Being at the age of almost 6, Naruto was a level 8 Seal Master. In these 6 years the Uzumaki strengthened the main island with several defensive barriers, as well as the small islands around the main island was surrounded by several detection seals and defense. In addition to that, several of the Uzumaki squadrons under the command of Minato and Kushina were rescuing a large number of slaves that the world government had, taking them to the small islands of Yuzu. The Uzumaki's building small towns on the islands so that the former slaves who had the world government can live at least comfortably and without so much fear of being enslaved, or in some cases Minato and Kushina took said slaves to the country to which they belonged. Everything depended on what the former slaves wanted to do, or stay in Yuzu or go to their homeland. In addition to that, both Minato, Kushina and the leader of the Uzumaki, Kenshin, realized that not everyone in this world had the ability to use chakra to be a shinobi. Only some of these former slaves had the ability to use the energy used by the shinobis of the ninja dimension. So the trio of former shinobis SS rank created 2 armies. The first army were those of the ninjas, in which were some of the slaves who could use chakra and who had sworn loyalty to the Uzumaki clan, as well as the entire clan of these deeds. In addition to this, the Uzumaki only taught slaves who had a good heart in them, since they would not make a mistake when teaching ambitious and bad-hearted people. For that reason only few slaves who possessed the ability to use chakra and were trained in the art of ninjutsu. Ninjutsu and Fuinjutsu. Well, the second army was the one in which there were many more soldiers in the secondary army. Despite not being as powerful as the ninjas, it was considerably decent in power. This army was called the Whirlpool Army. All of them were physically trained. All of them carried various types of weapons such as rifles, swords and pistols. This army was destined for the protection of the small islands that were around the main island where the Uzumaki were located, and a large number of former slaves who lived as settlers or as soldiers under the command of the Uzumaki, since they were teaching those who entered the shinobi program to use chakra. Meanwhile, at this time the navy and the world government along with all the world nobles had learned that a new country had emerged. At first they took it lightly, since it was something new. Most likely for them that country would be weak and easy to control. But after Minato and Kushina continued attacking various government bases and rich nobles with slaves, killing all these nobles and saving the prisoners that the world nobles and the world government had, the government knew who they were, since the duo always left a mark of a whirlpool in each place they attacked and exposing the crimes of the foolish nobles, which enraged the world government. So they had put a bounty on the heads of both Minato and Kushina, having the blonde a bounty of 340 million berry, since in the battles he had had to defeat the slavers they were being protected by vice admirals of the navy, and the blonde was known again as the Yellow Flash. Since when he killed only flashes could be seen, well Kushina has a bounty of 325 million berry, since the red-haired woman had murdered several naval commanders with ease, in addition to that with only her sword, she decimated dozens of marines with ease, and in a brutal way, so she began to be known as the Red Demon for her reddish hair, and the sadist she was when killing her opponents. This made the world government realize how dangerous that duo was, so they left them alone momentarily. Since they did not want to lose more troops with them, so they were waiting for a minimal error on the part of Kushina and Minato to be able to send the admirals and destroy them. Meanwhile in the present Naruto continued practicing with Kushina until suddenly he stopped moving, which worried Kushina and Minato, so they went towards him while Naruto was in his mindscape. What am I doing here, what's happening, where am I? Naruto asked himself nervously and worried since he didn't recognize the place where he was. You're finally back, you're finally here, Naruto, you'll finally recover your memories, your powers, several voices said. Iridid was surprised, but from one moment to the next, he had a severe headache, so he grabbed it, and then a lot of experiences came back to him. His unpleasant childhood, his shinobi life, his friends, his precious people that he managed to save, and the precious people that he couldn't save, the gifts from the gods, and the new opportunity to have a family, to be with his parents who were very overprotective and loving, so he cried like never before and swore to himself that he will become stronger and stronger to be able to protect everyone in his village, in his town, and all his family, whether they are Uzumaki or not, he will protect them with all his power. The Bijuus looked at him happy that Naruto had finally recovered his memories. Now finally the human they respected woke up at last. The real Naruto returned, but they came out of their thoughts since Naruto spoke. Guys, I'm finally back, I missed you, and I will keep my promise that I made to you in my past life. You will no longer be harassed by anyone. Well Naruto, that's the best, but you remember everything that happened, right? Said the Bijuus. Naruto, yes, what happened with the chakra in my world was horrible, but at least without it I hope wars no longer exist. Daiuki, I also hope that there is no more war, but Naruto, do you remember when you absorbed Grandma Kagaya's power, right? Naruto felt curious about Daiuki's question. Daiuki, well, at the time of absorbing Kagaya's power, you also took a large part of the Jubi's power that she possessed in those years. That power was fusing with you, making you one with her. Naruto, what? But that means I'll be as powerful as Grandma Kagaya or the Jubi. I'll have more power to protect my people. Hakuo, you could even be more powerful than her if you train properly. You have the potential to surpass father and even Kagaya. The other Bai just nodded and smiled. Also, we won't attract attention when we're free, since the primordials gave us a human form as a reward for enduring so much pain, and thanks to hibernating for a few years, we slowly absorbed part of your chakra to recover, although logically you put the chakra easily, since currently you Naruto are the new JK Bai no Kami, god of the 10 tails. Since you absorbed Kagaya's power when you snatched it from her and sealed it in you, as well as that of the same Jubi that she possessed, said Chimei happily. You are also the Hikari to Yami no Kami, the god of light and darkness, Matatabi said seductively. And you are also Hakai to SMZM no Kami, the god of destruction and creation, said Son Goku, proud to be in Naruto, since he was not only noble-hearted but also powerful, and he knew that even the old Kagaya would be surpassed by Naruto. You are also now Baransu no Genshi no Kami, the primordial god of balance, said Kurama the nine-tailed fox with pride that his cub is now a primordial god, although he had to train a lot to overcome his limits. Naruto, oh what good nicknames, but I don't care whether or not I am the Jubi, the only thing that matters to me now is freeing them as I understand it. The old man modified the seal, any of you know what to do to free them. Naruto, since we woke up and recovered our power, and I would even say that we are stronger than before, but leaving that aside, I think it's time you free us, puppy, said Kurama with a fang smile. Naruto, what would I have to say so you could be free? Kurama, just do these hand positions and say release from the 9 calamities. Naruto, and why calamities? Kurama, because it sounds cool. Everyone broke out in a sweat at what Kurama said, but Naruto nodded in understanding and said release from the 9 calamities. When Naruto finished saying that, in the real world both Kushina and a newly arrived Minato saw how a large amount of red chakra came out of their beloved son that was dispersing into 9 parts, and they saw in amazement how that red chakra formed the 9 Bijuus, but the size of a dog like Akamaru. Both Minato and Kushina were amazed by that, and although they knew that the Biju would not do anything to their son, that did not take away how worried they were about him, so they ran and grabbed their son, since they saw him very tired, and that was logical, since by releasing the tailed beasts from their Jinchuriki, the most likely thing is that the human would die, but in this case, the death seal was modified, so it only caused great fatigue to Naruto, but not death. Son, are you okay? Kushina shouted in alarm, since her son looked more dead than alive. Calm down, Tomato. Naruto is fine, he's just tired, since despite being very powerful he still has the body of a child, so when we freed him, he entered a state of exhaustion. I estimate that in 3 or 4 hours Kushina will wake up with a vein in her forehead from being called tomato, but she nodded in understanding and said, I hope so, furball, because if not, I'm going to cook a 9-tailed fox. Kurama felt a chill from what Kushina said, but didn't say anything else, not wanting to screw the sadist in front of him any further. After approximately 3 hours Naruto wakes up although he could be seen somewhat exhausted. Where am I? Asked the red-haired mustachioed Naru-chan. Are you in bed? Did you faint when you released the furball? And the other Biju, said Kushina, somewhat worried about her baby. Naruto nodded at his mother's answer and sweat a drop for the nickname she gave Kurama. I may be a furball, but at least I don't look like a rotten tomato, roared Kurama angrily at the woman who kept calling him a furball. I'm not a rotten tomato, fifth-rate Biju, roared Kushina angrily at the furball in front of her. Kurama's eye twitched at being called a fifth-rate Biju. How dare this insolent human call him that, the most powerful of the Bijuus, the one who could destroy mountains if he wanted and could fight against all the other Biju and win. Not the tomato with legs will pay for this offense. Those were Kurama's thoughts at this moment, so with his tails, he grabbed Kushina by the arm and threw her out of the house, where there was precisely a training camp. The moment Kushina was thrown, she landed on her feet and took out her adamantine chains to finish and teach a lesson to the ball of fur in front of her. So she did hand position. She sent a torrent of water towards Kurama. The aforementioned launched a torrent of fire towards Kushina, both colliding causing a large cloud of steam. All this was seen by a recovered Naruto who was left with a giant drop of sweat because the battle between his mother and his best friend was devastating and he never thought that both would get along so badly. He just prayed to the gods that Kurama and his mother do not kill each other, while in the case of Minato and the other Bijuus, they saw how those two were trying to kill each other and made them nervous. Since the Biju knew Kurama was a lazy fox, hell, he slept almost all bucking day. But when he got angry he was worse than the Shinigami himself, while Minato watched with an uncomfortable and nervous smile as his wife fought hand to hand with Kurama the Kyuubi, the most powerful Biju, and faced him. Hell, why didn't she fight like that with the Biju when he attacked? Minato thought with a big drop of sweat. The battle between Kurama and Kushina was still standing. The water, fire and wind attacks were launched from one side to the other, causing large explosions throughout the mansion. Naruto was tired of seeing his best friend and his mother fight at that level. Hell, if it continued like this, the battle would escalate to such an extent that they could destroy the entire bucking mansion. So he did the most prudent thing and took out his adamantine chains, trapping Kurama, who was carrying in his snout a large amount of fire while it trapped Kushina. Vanished his attack thanks to Naruto's chains. Kurama, mother, please stop fighting like that. Don't you see that you are destroying everything around you? Hell, if both of you threw those attacks, most likely the whole place would be incinerated, shouted Naruto in irritation, since he had just recovered his memories and the idiot Kurama and his impulsive mother begin a fight which seemed to be to the death. Both Kushina and Kurama looked around and saw with surprise how every part of the mansion was destroyed. Kushina, darling, you have to calm down, said Minato nervously. Kushina looked at her husband and sighed, nodding her head. Then she would fight the furball. For now this battle would end in a draw. Kurama, you two please behave yourself. The fight between you and Kushina San has destroyed part of the house, so behave yourself and stop being that crazy, Biju, said Matatabi calmly, but in his voice, it could be noticed that if Kurama did not obey, he would be in a world of pain. So the Kyuubi did the wisest thing and nodded, going to rest inside the house. After a few minutes of everything calming down, leaving a somewhat nervous Minato, an already calm Kushina, and a slightly irritated Naruto from the battle between his mother and Kurama alone in the training camp, everything was silent until Minato spoke. Well son, I think that since you have recovered your memories and your powers, it is time to intensify your training. You know very well that even though your powers are with you again, you will not be able to use them with your current body, said Minato. Naruto nodded. Currently, my chakra control is awful. I have the chakra of the Jubi and Kagaya, but it will take time to control it. I think that when I turn 12 or 13, I will be able to control most of my power, Naruto replied. Both Kushina and Minato nodded, and Minato said, we will train you in everything we can. We both are stronger than when we were in the elemental nations, and most likely you will be too when you reach your full potential. Yes, but I will also have to train with the Biju so that they can help me control these powers, Minato nodded, but Kushina frowned since her baby would train with that ball of fur, but she didn't say anything, not wanting to upset her son since she knew that he saw Kurama as his best friend, so it would be better to get along with the flea fox. End of chapter. Chapter 3. The Return of My Precious People. It's been almost a month since Naruto recovered his memories. In this month, many interesting things happened. First was the coming of 8 people who were friends of Naruto in the ninja world. These 8 shinobis marked Naruto's life at some point. These 8 were brought by the 3 primordial gods who gave Naruto and his clan the opportunity to come back to life. The first ninja was Iruka Yamino, a Chunin ranked ninja from the Leaf Village, and one of the few who did not see Naruto as a weapon or a Demon, the second person was the Byukigen princess of Konoha Hyuga Hinata, one of the few true friends that Naruto had, one of the few people who believed in him from the beginning since she met him, and who had a small obsession with Naruto, although these are details that Naruto does not care about. The third to come back to life was Uchiha Shisui, one of the few Uchihas who cared for Naruto, and even went so far as to leave him food in his house without anyone noticing. Since Shisui knew he was the son of the Yondaime and protected him as best as possible, the fourth was Gaara of the Sand, the god Kazukiage, and the former Jinchuriki of the Ichibi, and one of Naruto's best friends. The fifth figure was Uzumaki Nagato, the bearer of the Rinnegan and the former leader of Akatsuki and former leader of Omnitrix, and one of the strongest shinobi in history to such an extent that he alone could deal with 3 cage-level ninjas at once. The sixth figure was Konan the Angel of Omnitrix, and former Akatsuki as despite not knowing Naruto well, she gave her life for him and for peace, by challenging Obito Uchiha and almost killing him in their battle, something that very few could. The seventh figure was one of the most feared ninjas in the shinobi world, even the cages respected his power. This was Jiraiya of the Sannin, the wise toad, and a high-level ninja of Cage, and the eighth figure was someone who despite not being recognized by the shinobi world, was someone who could easily stand up to Jounin and Chunin level ninjas. This ninja was Hakuyuki, the ice user who faced Naruto, and Zabuza's apprentice Momoshiki, the mist demon Haku, marked Naruto's life unintentionally or intentionally but marked him by telling him a phrase that changed his life, which was when people are protecting something really precious to them, they really can become as strong as they need to be. That phrase changed Naruto's perspective and made him become the hero he was in the shinobi world. But it wasn't just those 8 shinobi who in one way or another marked Naruto, but the 3 gods gave Minato and Kushina the opportunity to each bring a loved one, which they both did, Minato bringing Ada Kakashi while Kushina brought Tsunade Senju. The reason why the couple told the gods to bring them is 1 because they missed them and 2 because they wanted to beat them up for not taking good care of their son. First they would break their bones and then heal them, so they learned to keep their promises. Flashback. The Uzumaki Namikaze family along with the 9 Bijus were peacefully in their complex until suddenly they felt 3 enormous energies that they recognized, since those 3 energies were the gods who gave them a chance to live. So the Uzumaki Namikaze family, along with the Bijus towards where they felt that energy. After a few minutes the entire group arrived where the 3 deities were. "Hello Namikaze Uzumaki family and hello Bijua," said the trio of gods. Both the Bijus and the Namikaze family knelt before the powerful gods, as they held great respect and gratitude for giving them a new opportunity to live and change the world they are in for the better. "Get up Uzumaki Namikaze family, get up to Biju, you don't have to kneel," Kami said calmly. The aforementioned nodded and stood in front of the 3 powerful gods. "Well, as we promised, we will bring 8 people who changed Naruto's life for the better," said Shinigami calmly. Everyone nodded, remembering well that 8 of Naruto's loved ones would come back to life. "And who will return Shinigami-sama, Yami-sama?" Kami-sama asked Minato curiously, since he wanted to know who they will bring. "Well, we will bring those 8 shinobi, some will come even younger than before," Yami answered calmly. Everyone nodded. "Well, it's time for these 8 people to come back to life," Kami said happily. After saying that the gods came out 8 lights that formed 8 people, several of these shinobis marked Naruto's life for good and guided him in how he is now. The first figure that was formed was Iruka Yamino, a ninja rank Chunin, the first teacher of Naruto, his older brother figure, and one of the few who did not see Naruto as a weapon or demon. The second person was Princess Byukigen of Konoha Hyuga Hinata, one of the few true friends that Naruto had, one of the few people who believed in him from the beginning since she met him, since he saved her from the bullies who bullied her. The third to come back to life was Uchiha Shisui, one of the few Uchihas who cared for Naruto and even went so far as to leave food at his house without anyone noticing. Since Shisui knew that he was the son of the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato and Kushina Uzumaki the Bloody Habanero, so he protected them as best as possible. The fourth was Gaara of the Sand, the god Kazukiage and the former Jinchuriki of the Ichibi, and one of Naruto's best friends, and one of the few who fully understood the pain of being a Jinchuriki. The fifth figure was Uzumaki Nagato, the bearer of the Rinnegan and the former leader of Akatsuki and former leader of Omnitrix, one of the most powerful shinobi in history, even surpassing most cages. The sixth figure was Konan the Angel of Omnitrix, and former Akatsuki, as despite not knowing Naruto well, she gave her life for him for her beliefs and for peace, by challenging Obito and almost killing him in their battle. The seventh figure was one of the most feared ninjas in the shinobi world, even the cages respected his power. This was Jiraiya of the Sannin, the wise toad, a cage-level shinobi. And finally the eighth figure was someone who, despite not being recognized by the shinobi world, was someone who could easily face ninjas level Jounin and Chunin. This ninja was Hakuyuki, the ice user who faced Naruto and apprentice of Zabuza Momoshiki. The demon of the mist Haku marked Naruto's life unintentionally or intentionally, but marked him by saying a phrase that changed his life, which was when people are protecting something really precious to them, They can really become as strong as they should be. That phrase changed Naruto's perspective and made him become the hero he was in the shinobi world, but it was not only those 8 shinobi who in one way or another marked. The moment these 8 figures formed, Naruto opened his eyes in shock, not because he saw several of the people he considered brothers or friends, but because he saw that the Toad Sage Jiraiya looked younger and his friends Haku, Hinata and Gaara looked like children between 6 or 8 years old. Even Iruka, whom he considered his older brother, looked much younger from what he saw the gods, giving them to understand that he wanted an explanation of why his friends looked much younger than he remembered. You'll wonder why all your friends look much younger than you remembered, right, Naruto, said Yami. The Redeed nodded curiously. The gods saw each other and Yami said. Yami, well, it's simple, since it would be strange for you and them to revive with the same age they died, since they would see you as a 7-year-old child, so we revived them with a younger body. An example would be the Kazuki Gaara, the Byakugan princess Hyuga Hinata, and the ice user Hakuyuki, are now between 6 and 8 years old, an age similar to yours. Everyone nodded in understanding, since for everyone, especially Naruto, it would be strange to see them older than him when some of the revived were the same age as him. The question, said Naruto curiously. The god saw him, and Kami said, I know what you're going to say, Naruto, and I don't read minds, it's just that in yours it's logical. The question you're going to ask me, you want to know what happens to the 2 servants that I gave you and are sealed in the tattoos that you have certain. The Redeed nodded very curiously. Well, simple, I have to break that little seal so they can come out. After Kami said that, he snapped his fingers and 2 lights, one yellow and one blue, came out of Naruto, forming 2 people, one with blonde hair, who appeared to be about 16 years old, and another with purple hair, who appeared to be about 15 years old. Approximately these were Sinbad and Gilgamesh, with a much younger appearance compared to the age at which they died. The pleasure gods, a pleasure to meet you all, and a pleasure, Master Naruto, said the purple-haired man who was Sinbad, the former king of the kingdom of Sindria and former leader of the Alliance of the Seven Seas. Hello, half-breeds. Hello, Naruto, said the blonde-haired man disinterestedly, who was Gilgamesh, alias the king of heroes and the strongest hero, a being who even challenged the gods. Everyone nodded at Sinbad's introduction, and sweat dropped at Gilgamesh's introduction, but dismissed it as Kami spoke again. Well, we will also give you a gift, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Each of you will be able to bring a loved one from the dead, said Kami gently. Everyone opened their eyes in surprise, and Minato and Kushina thought and smiled somewhat sadistically, since they knew who to bring just to be able to hit them for neglecting their baby. Fine, I want Kakashi Haddock, my former student, back to life, said Minato calmly, but in his eyes the god saw everything he would do to Kakashi for not taking care of Naruto. Fine, I want Tsunade the Sannin back to life. She will answer me why I don't take care of my baby, and if her answer doesn't satisfy me she will suffer, said Kushina, with her hair standing up in 9 tails. Everyone sweated seeing Kushina in bloody Havana mode. Even the gods were surprised to see Kushina's death aura, but they complied with the request of both, and 2 lights came out of them, forming the silhouette of Tsunade and Kakashi. The 10 revived were confused, as some were supposed to have died in the war and others shortly after it, and they looked everywhere and were shocked to see a Naruto of approximately 7 years old and an angry Minato Namikaze and a Kushina Uzumaki in bloody habanero mode. Those who knew her were terrified to see Kushina in that mode, as it only meant one thing: suffering. Okay, Kakashi.kun, old Tsunade, Iro, Sennin, I want to know why none of you took care of my baby. Answer me or you will suffer and wish you were dead, Kushina roared angrily, unleashing a killing instinct comparable only to Kurama's in all its power. That made everyone in the area break out in a cold sweat. The trio of S-rank shinobis remained silent to Kushina's scream and question, so both the Redeed and Minato frowned and went against the trio to forcefully tell them why they let their baby live alone when 2 of them were supposed to be his godparents and one of them would practically be his brother. All the Biju, the revived, the gods and Naruto watched in surprise and some in horror as Kushina and Minato beat and tortured Tsunade, Jiraiya and Kakashi in a way that would make Anko look like a not at all sadistic lady. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi's screams of pain were heard throughout Yuzu and made all the civilians and ninjas shudder. After the screams of pain from Tsunade, Jiraiya and Kakashi died down, as Kushina and Minato finished beating and torturing them, the 2 Sannin and the copy ninja could be seen very bloody and with quite a few bruises, which made everyone around shudder at how sadistic the Uzumaki Namikaze couple were. The 3 gods looked with pity at the trio of S-rank shinobi who were beaten by the Namikaze couple, but since they did not have much time, Kami said, good, since you just finished beating those 3, it is time to go enjoy your loved ones, and I ask you the favor of changing this world for the better. I know that with the guidance of Naruto.kun, all of you will be able to grow much more. Goodbye to everyone. After Kami said that, she along with the other 2 gods disappeared. End of flashback. After the leader of the Uzumaki knowing that several powerful shinobis, this indicated that they had to support to improve the new country of the Whirlpool. Tsunade was in charge of the main hospital of Yuzu, as well as training with the help of Kushina to all the Uzumaki who wanted to be medical ninjas, while in the case of Jiraiya, Nagato and Konan, they offered to create a network of spies in the various countries to be aware of everything that happens or can harm them. This was gladly accepted by Uzumaki Kenshin, the leader of the new Whirlpool. In the case of Iruka and Kakashi, these were sent to teach at the new academy of Yuzu, and in the case of Shisui, this was in charge of training with the same Yuzukage, since Shisui knew that they were a cage-level ninja, but wanted to strengthen themselves, even more wanted to be powerful enough to protect his new home and his new family. And finally, both Hakuyuki, Hinata Hyuga and Sabaku no Gaara trained with the former Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato, with Naruto and the 9 Bijuas, to increase their power and protect their new home, and take the opportunity to protect Naruto from all approaching evil. Currently in the Yuzukage Tower, Minato and Kushina were talking with Kenshin about going to DMN Shima Island located in the East Blue, since they would talk about something important with a high-ranking Navy officer, and since Naruto wanted to go with them, since he was curious to know who was the one who gave him the information about where the various bases where the slaves were located. Fine, but you know that Naruto still doesn't have all his power. Even though he can recover his memories, he won't be able to fully unleash his power. I estimate that when he turns 12, he will be able to unleash most of his power, said Kenshin. Both Kushina and Minato looked at each other. Minato, you don't have to worry, Kenshin-sama, the place we're going to isn't dangerous, at most there will be bandits. Besides, Naruto could currently defeat any naval officer except the admirals and maybe some vice admirals. Kenshin nodded in acknowledgement. Kenshin, I miss Minato, but Naruto worries me. I know you're strong just like Kushina-chan, hell I know you could fight on par with most Yonko. Well, my daughter, despite not being on par with you or at the level of a Yonko, is close to that level, but I still worry about them. The Namikaze couple nodded. Blues, Kenshin-sama, but you have nothing to worry about. If something happens or it's a trap, I'll teleport to Yuzu, Minato replied seriously. Kenshin sighed and said, you can go with Naruto, just protect my daughter and my beloved grandson. I don't want anything to happen to you, since both you and Kushina have made many high-level enemies, so you must be careful. Both Minato and Kushina nodded with a sigh, wondering when Kenshin had become so overprotective of Naruto. Several days later, Naruto, Kushina and Minato were going by boat to the island of DMN Shima Island, located in the East Blue, to meet with their informant, who was giving them all the locations of the slaves owned by the world government. Approximately how much time will we have to get to the meeting point with your informant? Naruto asks with curiosity and some boredom. Minato looks at his son and sighs when he sees that his son was desperate to arrive, but he answers anyway, well, we'll arrive in a couple of hours, don't worry, son. Several hours later, Naruto, Kushina and Minato arrived at the island of DMN Shima, where they disembarked and walked around the island, going to the meeting point where they would see their informant. After walking for a few minutes, the Namikaze family meets their informant, who to Naruto's surprise, was Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp, the hero of the Navy, and someone who was easily at the level of Yonko. Hello Garp.san, nice to see you again, Minato said calmly. Nice to see you again, Minato.san, Kushina.san, who is the boy next to you, asked Garp with curiosity, but something made him be on guard with the boy. He realized that the boy was not someone normal. Well, he is our son Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, and the heir of the new country of the Whirlpool, answered Kushina happily. Garp looked at Naruto, and his senses told him not to confront them, which stunned him, since that had rarely happened to him. Hell, it only happened to him with Kushina, Minato, Whitebeard, the Pirate King Roger, and some other well-known characters, and that put him on alert, since he realized that the boy in front of him was not normal. Although he seemed fragile, he knew that he was not fragile at all. Well, what do you think if we take this conversation to a place where no one can hear us? Minato asked seriously. Garp nodded and replied, well, I don't see any problem, but I ask that your son not be in this conversation. He can go where my grandchildren are in the care of an old friend. Naruto frowned. He wasn't a child, he was a child, but he had the mind of a teenager. Hell, he lived through war, he could talk about the topics his parents would talk about with this dirty old man of great strength. Kushina and Minato saw Naruto frown but did nothing, but Kushina sighed and spoke. Kushina, okay Garp, Naru-chan will go where your friend and your grandchildren are while we talk about business. Naruto was going to speak, but a look from his father and mother fell him. He knew that look was a definitive no, so he sighed, well then I'll take Naruto. San, where is Dayton? Please come with me, the Namikaze Uzumaki family nodded. After 10 minutes, the couple Namikaze Uzumaki and guard left Naruto with Dayton despite the aforementioned refusal, since she thought she would have to take care of another brat, but Garp explained that he would only take care of him for a couple of hours, so Dayton reluctantly agreed and took Naruto with Ace, Sabo and Luffy. Well, red-haired brat, I present to you the three disasters of this house, Dayton said in a tired manner. Ace and Sabo snorted at what Dayton said while Luffy looked curiously at Naruto, something that did not go unnoticed by anyone. Okay kid, introduce yourself and brats don't do anything to the deed. It won't end well, ordered Dayton, since she knew who Naruto's parents were and she knew well that they were very dangerous and it would be good if nothing happened to Naruto since she didn't want to deal with two overprotective parents who could even stand up to Garp. Since she knew how strong they were, she estimated that the Redeed was the second strongest woman in the world, only below the Yonko Big Mom, and the boy's father was easily at the level of an admiral if not higher, and that gave her the creeps. Well, let me introduce myself, I'm Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, nice to meet you, what are your names? Naruto said and asked calmly, since he was no longer the imperative blonde from Konoha who hid under a mask of stupidity. The trio of children in front of him looked at him curiously, but responded the same way. My name is Sabo, I'm 10 years old, nice to meet you, Naruto said. The mentioned Sabo. Naruto nodded and returned the greeting, then a black-haired boy walked by and said, my name is Ace, I'm 10 years old, nice to meet you brat. Naruto's veins swelled from being called a brat. Hell, how dare they call him that to him who lived through a bucking war, but he didn't say anything as the last of the children stepped forward and greeted Naruto with a goofy smile and said, I am Monkey D. Luffy, and I will be the king of the pirates. He said this with a smile mouth. Naruto looked at him and thought, reminds me of me when I had my mask, but he snapped out of his thoughts as he was pulled, which stunned him. The one pulling him was none other than Luffy. Luffy leaves the new kid. No, see, you're bothering him, said Ace, tired of Luffy being so Luffy. The aforementioned looked at Ace, then at Naruto, then at Ace and back at Naruto, and saw on his face that he looked somewhat uncomfortable, so he let him go. Okay, where do you want to go? Naruto.san asked Sabo, since the new guy was quiet and he didn't like that, he wanted to start a conversation. Naruto looked at him and sighed. Well, how about you show me the island? I'm curious to get to know it. The Redeed asked. Both Sabo, Ace and Luffy looked at each other and nodded with a smile, and the four ran off together. As Naruto and his three new friends ran, the Redeed thought, well, being a kid isn't so bad, I guess I think I'll have fun with my new friends. With Kushina, Minato and Guard, they were talking about the slaves that the world government owned. Is all this information correct? Guard asked Minato seriously. Garp nodded with a sigh. Garp, the information is correct, the world government has hundreds if not thousands of slaves. Please Minato.san Kushina.san save everyone. I know that with Kushina.san's ability, you will be able to differentiate who are good people and who are not. Minato nodded, knowing well that Kushina could detect negative emotions and lies, not at the level of Kyuubi or his son Naruto, but she was very good at it, so there will be no problem knowing who has noble intentions and who doesn't. And do you know what the world government thinks of us? Asked Kushina curiously, since she was surprised that no admiral or vice admiral would look for them and hunt them down. Garp gave a nervous smile and replied, I doubt they're looking for you since I told them about our fight a couple of years ago, and I think it scared them a little since they know that I'm at a level comparable and even higher than an admiral, and that one of you can fight me on par and even surpass me terrifies them. Besides that, since you haven't killed any world nobles yet and you only free slaves, it annoys you, but you don't risk sending the admirals since there's a good chance that you'll manage to kill them, even so they don't raise your reward since you haven't done anything big, just rescue slaves and destroy government bases. Well, I never thought you would tell him about our battle, Garp said Kushina mockingly, as she still remembered the beating she gave old Garp when they fought, although she did not deny that the old man was very strong. Hell, she believes that he would be surpassed alone, maybe by only a few pirates and marines, although she knew that the old man was not at his best, she knew that he was someone of Yonko level, and the old man had trusted her at the beginning, and that cost him dearly. Ahahaha, if you, rat, could see the face Goku made when he found out you defeated me, he looked surprised and terrified. He thinks you're the second most dangerous woman among the marines and pirates of the Guard River. Kushina-chan is the second most dangerous woman, and who is the first? Minato asked curiously. Well, Kushina is second the most dangerous according to Sengoku, since the first is Charlotte Linlin, better known as Big Mom, one of the four emperors. Kushina and Minato nodded in understanding, since they knew that the Yonko was extremely powerful. They still didn't know if they could defeat her individually, but they knew that if they fought together against the Yonko, they would defeat her without too many problems. Well, now you know all the locations, so you can go rescue all the victims of the government. I can serve the navy and the government, and I will do it with honor. I will kill or arrest any pirate that I see doing evil. Just as there are pirates who are good and have honor, there are marines and nobles who are bad and enslave people. Therefore, every time I know something about the location of slaves that the government has, I will give you the locations as I just did today, Garp concluded. Both Kushina and Minato nodded with a big smile, and Minato said, okay Garp, thanks for the information, if you ever need a favor, let us know, my friend. Garp laughed and nodded happily. Arp, lose you blonde brat, and don't worry, as long as you don't hurt the innocent, the first will be your ally and your friend. End of chapter. Chapter 4. Changes and Alliances. It's been almost 7 years approximately in which many events happened that greatly shook the Navy, the world government and the pirates, as well as the entire world of One Piece. In this time, Naruto strengthened considerably to the point that his power could easily rival an admiral and become stronger and stronger. As he grew, the same thing happened with Minato, Kushina and Kenshin, the current Uzumaki leader of the country of whirlpools. Since each of these 3 former SS rank shinobi could currently rival a Yonko like Kaido. In addition to the increase in power of Naruto's family, the great expansion of the Whirlpool Islands also emerged, since thanks to the power of all the Bijuas and several Fuinjutsu specialists, they were able to add a small number of islands around Yuzu, since the population of the Whirlpool was increasing. In addition, the Uzumaki made a great city under their islands, that is, an underwater city was created where several Uzumaki lived there, and the armament of the Whirlpool country was created in the underwater city. The Storm project was being carried out where several submarines were being created. The leader of this project was Tom's Workers, a horned boxfish Gyojin who was known as the most skilled naval carpenter in the world, as well as the head of his own company. He was saved from imprisonment and later execution several years ago by Minato and Kushina. The couple saved him from the marine carpenter, so the Gyojin swore loyalty to them in exchange for their protection, which the leader of the Whirlpool country and the couple Namikaze Uzumaki gladly gave it to him, and thanks to that he was now in charge of the Storm project. On the other hand, Tom was also in charge of creating a large number of ships for the entire population of Yuzu, but there were 4 ships that stood out from the others. One was built for Minato himself. The ship was called Flash, since it was the fastest ship in Yuzu. The second of the 4 strongest ships in Yuzu was Kenshin's, which was called the Calamity of the Whirlpool, since it was the ship with the greatest armament, capable of destroying only a dozen ships in the navy if used well. The third of the 4 best ships created by Tom's Workers was the Untouchable. This was Kushina's ship. This ship, despite not being as fast as the others, was the one that had the greatest defense to such an extent that very few things could harm it, since they even tested it to such an extent that they fired several cannons at the ship and barely unpainted it. And finally there was Naruto's ship. This was a ship that had a great defense, not at the level of Kushina's ship, but a very strong one. That was the second most defended ship in addition to having enormous speed and great armament. This is why this ship was called the Destroyer, for its great power, both destructive and defensive. All these projects were done with caution, since they did not want the Navy and the world government to find out what they were doing, which is why the Uzumaki, Minato and Kushina kept everything secret. They only took out enough to appear to be a strong nation, but not a threat to the government. In addition, after everything that happened, Naruto sometimes visited Luffy, Ace and Sabo, but suddenly there was news that shocked and angered Naruto. It was the death of Sabo. Naruto was depressed, since he considered him his friend and promised that he would protect Ace and Luffy if something happened to harm them. Another event that happened is that Naruto became known worldwide by attacking several marine bases rescuing slaves, whether human or fishmen. The red-haired young man always wore a fox mask, which is why he earned the nickname Red Fox for his reddish hair and his fox mask. At first, he had a bounty of 150 million berries, but all that changed when he met and confronted the admiral, who was Kuzan, also called Akatsuki, who was a devil fruit user who could create ice and make him an Iceman. The battle between the two was so destructive that the entire island was flooded and frozen. The battle came to a standstill, although Naruto held back a bit as he felt Kuzan's emotions and felt guilty for fighting him and preventing the slaves from escaping, so he only held him back until Asobu, Gaara, and Haku took all the poor slaves to the Whirlpool country. Flashback. You could see a Naruto with his clothes torn and with some blood on his body, while Kuzan could be seen with several bruises and wounds thanks to the blows he received from Naruto, blows that were filled with haki and that caused him to hurt the admiral a lot. I see that you are not an ordinary child. I knew you were strong, since you defeated several platoons of marines along with a rear admiral, but being able to fight me on par is impressive. You may even reach the Yonko level when you grow up, so I can't let you go. You are a great threat to the Navy and the world government, said Kuzan with some sadness at having to fight a boy who appeared to be about 11 or 12 years old. Hōgyoku River. Naruto, amused by what Kuzan said after being defeated, Naruto snorted because he was a war veteran, not a simple brat. Naruto, you will hardly defeat me, Admiral Kuzan. I am not easy to beat, but well, maybe another day we can fight and have fun. You are interesting. I can say that you are not bad, so goodbye. After Naruto did that, he threw a punch to the ground, causing a large amount of earth not to let Kuzan see him well, and Naruto disappeared in a red flash without Kuzan being able to see said flash, since if he saw it, he could relate it to his father Minato, and that would be bad for the moment. Vindel flashback. After that Naruto's bounty increased considerably, since for the world government someone so young being able to stand up to an admiral would be a great threat when he grows up having a bounty on his head of 900 million billion berries for the power and headaches he was giving the world government and the navy, while Gaara had a bounty of 100 million billion berries and Haku of 65 million billion berries. Since Aokiji could see a little of their abilities and they were very strong for their age, so in the future, they could represent a considerable threat to the government and the navy. Naruto's bounty shocked several pirates and made several bounty hunters search for the head of the red-haired Uzumaki, although all of them were rejected by the red-haired man, killing several of them, so several bounty hunters and pirates stopped going after him, since everyone who hunted him ended up dead or crippled, and that scared everyone, since the boy's power and sadism with his enemies was terrifying. Furthermore, during this time Naruto, all the revived and the entire Uzumaki clan, learned to use the various types of haki, which allowed them to increase each one's power considerably. The haki that most Uzumaki learned were Busoshoki haki and Kanbanshu haki, in which the former is a form of haki that allows the user to create an invisible armor-like force around themselves, improving their defense and enhancing attack blows, while the latter called Kanbanshu haki, also called color of observation, is a form of haki that allows the user to sense the presence of others, even if they are hidden from view or difficult to see naturally. But there was a third type of haki which few Uzumaki, if not to say only a handful of these, could awaken. Among these were Naruto Namaki's Uzumaki and Kushina Uzumaki, Kushina being above all a master in this type of haki called Hashoku haki, or also called King's haki. This type of haki is a rare form of haki that allows the user to exert their own willpower over others. Currently a Naruto of approximately 14 years along with Gaara, Hakuyuki and Hinata Hyuga were in the office of Uzukage Kenshin since they had a mission of utmost urgency. "Grandpa, what mission do you have for us?" Naruto asked curiously. The Uzukage sighed and answering your question my dear grandson, your mission along with Haku, Gaara and Hinata will be to rescue some children, but they are not exactly slaves, but are just children, which according to the information that San gave us is that on an island called the Island of the Damned, where a marine research center was located, apparently they experiment with children. I want you to try to save those children, according to Guard. And there were like 30 children in that place, but he also told me that most likely several of these have died, so I want you to collect the children and kill all the scientists and destroy that island. This is a mission of maximum priority. I will not allow the government to do this, with children finished speaking Kenshin angrily. After the Uzukage finished speaking, several killing intents instantly appeared, but there was one that stood out and made the Anbu who were hiding in the Uzukage's tower break out in a cold sweat. Even Kenshin broke out in a cold sweat at his grandson's bloodlust, and it was terrifying. Even his daughter's bloodlust and Kurama's bloodlust wasn't that powerful, which was the most terrifying thing, since he knew the Kyuubi's bloodlust, and it wasn't a game. "Okay grandpa, I'll rescue those children, I'll kill all the scientists in that place, I'll destroy all the information collected by those scientists, it's time to strike a blow to the navy and the world government," Naruto declared coldly, his Rinnegan eyes shining with some evil, as he thought about killing all those scientists who were experimenting on children. Kenshin nodded in understanding at the words. Kenshin, well then go on your ship Naruto, you will be more than enough, there may be an admiral in that place, so Gilgamesh will accompany you, he is already on your ship, and Naruto knows that you can deal with an admiral, but with the help of Gilgamesh, you will be able to finish one off more easily, besides that if there is not one but two admirals, you two will be enough to hold them back, while the others rescue the children. Well I know that Gilgamesh is powerful, heck he's strong enough to even defeat most of the cages of the elemental nations, so there will be no problem, so I agree that he goes with us on this mission, declared Naruto with some joy for going on a mission with his friend, even though Gilgamesh was very conceited and called most people half-bloods he was a very loyal person to him, and the Uzumaki and Naruto knows well that Gilgamesh would die before betraying him, he even earned the respect of his parents and that was difficult for anyone. Okay guys, it's time to go on a mission and put an end to those stupid marines who think experimenting on children is the right thing to do, Naruto said. I agree old friend, they will die for my sand, any marine on that island is already dead, Gaara declared with an evil glint in his eyes. The girls nodded and even though they didn't like to fight, they would kill the monsters they experienced on that island. After saying that Naruto grabbed everyone and disappeared in a flash to go on the mission given by his grandfather. Kenshin smiled and thought to himself, I hope things go well for them my dear grandson lol, who am I kidding that brat could take on a Yonkou if he wanted, although Whitebeard is a debatable topic, I wonder who would win in a battle between them it would be interesting, I hope things go well for Kushina and Minato, with that old man from what I know he is a reasonable person and very protective of his crew, and I respect that family always comes first, I hope my daughter and Minato get an alliance with the old Yonkou we need all the strength possible to soon overthrow the world government and the world nobles very soon the world will know true peace. Meanwhile on Naruto's personal ship called the Whirlpool Destroyer, the Red Deed and his friends could be seen getting organized to go on the mission indicated by Kenshin the Uzukage. Okay guys, it's time to kill some marines, let's set sail and go to the island of the damned, Naruto declared seriously. They all nodded happily, some because they wanted to rescue the children who are experiments while others because they wanted a good battle and hope there is an admiral to kill him. In this case, the one with that thought was Gilgamesh, since he wanted a worthy battle, and what better than to fight against an admiral. While with Kushina and Minato, the duo of former SS rank shinobi were on the blonde-haired man's ship called Flash, both were going to meet with one of the four emperors and the most powerful of them called Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world. Minato.kun do you think he wants an alliance with a whirlpool asked Kushina curiously. The blonde sighed and said, I have no idea, I hope that his strength will soon be needed for the coming war. Kushina frowned, but nodded knowing well that the war against the navy and the entire world government would come soon and they should have as many allies as possible. After an hour they met with the old Whitebeard on an island that was under the protection of the Yonkou. Follow me, father will meet you, said Marco. Minato and Kushina saw each other and nodded, following Marco. After a few minutes, they were already in front of the most powerful Yonkou. Tell me what the Yellow Flash and the Red Demon want with me, said Whitebeard in a funny way. Well, Whitebeard, what we want is an alliance with you. I know you'll say that an alliance with only two people would be foolish, but the alliance will not only be with us, but also with the entire country of the Whirlpool, Minato declared calmly. Whitebeard opened his eyes in surprise. He knew that the Yellow Flash and the Red Demon were related to the country of the Whirlpool, but he never thought that said country would ask for an alliance with him, a pirate and one of the four emperors, so he was surprised. He did not understand what these people wanted. What you're telling me is very interesting. I know your country is strong. I don't know how strong, but I know enough to know that even the Yonkou are careful about messing with you. What I don't understand is why you want an alliance with a pirate and even more so with one of the Yonkou. Whitebeard asked, narrowing his eyes suspiciously. Simple, there are several reasons. One of them is that you are one of the two Yonkou that I respect. Secondly is that you are powerful despite the fact that little by little you are weakening due to the illness that you have. And thirdly is because you took in my dear nephew Ace. Minato finished speaking with a half smile. Whitebeard opened his eyes in surprise, knowing that they had the knowledge that he was sick, but he was even more surprised that they were uncles to his adopted son Ace. What do you mean Ace is his nephew? Asked Whitebeard, narrowing his eyes in curiosity. Simple old Whitebeard, little Ace and my Naru-chan consider each other as brothers, logically we consider little Ace as our nephew, isn't that right, little Ace, come out so you can greet your uncles, don't be rude, said Kushina happily. Ace sighed and left the place where he was hiding. He was a little nervous about seeing his uncles. He hoped they wouldn't kill him for not contacting them. He knew his aunt Kushina and she was very scary when she got angry. Hell, she looked like the devil himself and that terrified him. Hello Aunt Kushina, hello Uncle Minato, Ace greeted, a little nervous about the presence of his uncles, how could he not be? His uncles were scary, especially his aunt, who was one of the most dangerous women in the seas. Hello dear nephew, said the Uzumaki Namikaze couple, but suddenly an aura of death was felt coming from Kushina, one that even made Whitebeard feel somewhat intimidated. Suddenly, several chains came out of Kushina trapping Ace. My dear nephew, why didn't you contact me? Why didn't you mention that you joined Whitebeard? It doesn't bother me that you joined him, don't get me wrong. What bothers me is that you didn't warn me, Brad, shouted Kushina, tightening the chains on Ace and spinning him around, giving him a few hits, knocking out the poor fireman. Whitebeard was surprised. Whitebeard? What happened to Ace? He is a man of fire because the woman's blows affected him. Minato smiled, as now it was his turn to boast and be able to win an alliance more easily. Minato, simple, the Uzumaki chains are powerful, they are almost unbreakable, but their main power is that it makes Logia-type devil fruits deactivate to a certain point, that is, for example, Ace could use fire, but not turn into fire, which leaves him vulnerable to melee attacks. Everyone who was near the conversation between Whitebeard and Minato was surprised and realized how dangerous Uzumaki Kushina was, and they shuddered at the thought of facing that woman. They recognized that woman who, no one knew, was Uzumaki Kushina herself, one of the strongest women in the world. 10 minutes after what happened, everything was calm. Minato and Kushina were in front of Whitebeard, everything was silent until Kushina spoke. Kushina, well old man, what do you think about an alliance between our sides? We know that you are powerful, but even you have a limit, since if you were to die, the Marines or another Yonkou will take advantage of this crew. You are no longer as young as before, so what do you say? But before Kushina finished speaking, Whitebeard released the power of his king's haki, causing several of his pirates to faint while others staggered. Kushina smiled and did the same, causing both of their king's haki to collide, both wills colliding to the point that they were at a standstill, making Minato step back a bit as Kushina pulled out her sword, while Whitebeard pulled out his halberd called Basento, and both collided, causing the sky to darken and the earth to rumble. Neither of them backing down, implying that they were evenly matched in the clash they had. The spectators were surprised that the red-haired woman was on par with her father and did not bend to his will, which made them understand that the woman was powerful, very powerful, perhaps at the level of a Yonkou. "Ace, that woman's so strong?" asked Marco curiously, since that woman was equal to his father, who despite his old age, was still considered the strongest emperor. Ace looked at Marco seriously and answered as seriously as he could. According to Grandpa Guard at that time, both Aunt Kushina and Uncle Minato were above an average admiral, and most likely they would become more powerful. Even Grandpa Guard commented that he was defeated by them. "I don't know if individually, but I know that would be an impressive achievement, since I know that Grandpa is powerful. I don't know how much, but I know that he is very strong." All the commanders who were with Ace and heard him say that opened their eyes in shock and thought to themselves, if Guard, who was the hero of the navy and according to father was as strong as any of the Yonkou, was defeated by those two, then the Red and the blonde-head are easily at the level of a Yonkou. That's impressive. "I see you are powerful, girl," said Whitebeard smiling. Kushina smiled. "You are very strong. It is said that you are the most powerful emperor of the sea," the Red replied. "Gura, thank you for the compliments, little one. Let's leave this small battle. Most of my children couldn't stand the clash of our king's haki. You are an impressive woman, River Whitebeard. And well, changing the subject, what do you think of the alliance?" asked Kushina smiling. "Sounds good to me, woman. You earned my respect by challenging me and stopping me. You are powerful and in time you will become the most powerful woman in the seas," replied Whitebeard. "Well, since we are allies, Whitebeard, as a sign of that we offer to cure your illness, or at least if it cannot be cured, at least give you a medicine that will prevent the pain you have," Minato said with a half smile. Whitebeard and his entire crew opened their eyes in surprise, and the old Yonkou smiled. Gura, you make things interesting, brat. Well, I will accept your offer soon. I will visit the country of whirlpools." Both Minato and Kushina nodded and left on their ship to go to the whirlpool country to report the alliance they have with the Yonkou Whitebeard to Uzumaki Kenshin. Meanwhile with Naruto, the Red was reaching his goal, was eager to kill those marines who experimented on children, so he wondered to himself if by sealing Kagaya's power in him, along with the powers of the other Biju, he would have acquired some of their personalities, but he shrugged, since he didn't care so much, he would no longer be the silly kid with a fake smile like he was in Konoha. "Well boss, it seems we are almost at our goal. I hope there are powerful opponents with whom I can measure my strength," Gilgamesh said calmly, although his words tinged with arrogance. "Okay, perfect, be prepared, we will rescue the children and kill those who did this," Naruto said seriously. The others nodded in understanding. After almost an hour, Naruto and his group arrived at the island indicated by his Jiji. "Well, I think it's time to separate," said Naruto. "Okay, but who will go with whom?" Hinata asked with some curiosity. "Simple, Gaara, Haku and Hinata will go. You will take out all the children and young people, kill all the marines you find in that place. Meanwhile Gilgamesh and I will go to cause chaos throughout the Kukikuku Island," Naruto River, with a somewhat evil laugh. The others nodded, and Gilgamesh smiled at being able to kill these people who angered their leader. The others nodded and Hinata, Haku and Gaara infiltrated the marine base disguised with their transformation jutsu. While Naruto and Gilgamesh cracked their knuckles, implying that they would not hold back in destroying, so Naruto made hand positions and said element burn incinerating bombardment, thus sending several small fireballs towards the marines who were guarding the place, incinerating and turning everyone into ashes, making everyone freeze in fear of that attack. "Well, it's time for everyone to die," shouted Gilgamesh as he was taking out several weapons that were thrown towards his opponents, piercing their heads, hearts and any part of the body, killing dozens of them until suddenly a ray of light went to the king of heroes, but he dodged with relative ease and suddenly in front of them, a man with yellow clothes formed and who gave off a great amount of power. This was Kizaru, the admiral with the power to become a man of light. "Oh wow, an admiral, this will be interesting." Kukuku, Gilgamesh River, funny because the mestizo thinks he could defeat him. "Well, I'm not the only admiral in this place." Ryo Kizaru, when a large ball of lava was against Gilgamesh, the aforementioned opened his eyes in surprise, but suddenly a large water dragon went against the lava attack, causing both to neutralize each other. "Wow, what pirate scum, I never thought they would be capable of attacking this place, but they made a very serious mistake, and now they will die. Fools, let's see if Lava Man and Light Man kill us," Naruto said mockingly, causing the admirals to frown at the mockery and insolence of the young man in front of them. "Boss, I'll take care of the man of light. You're Libya with the lava man. I think his name was Akainu, an admiral and one of the worst trash in history," Gilgamesh said seriously and with some mockery in his voice. Naruto nodded and smiled widely. "Akainu, I think it's time to move." After saying that, Naruto threw a chakra and Haki reinforced fist at Akainu and sent him flying away so Gilgamesh could fight peacefully without being bothered. "Well, how about we start this dance," said Naruto with a foxy smile. Akainu frowned and threw several balls of lava. Naruto smiled and took out his Zanpakuto, easily cutting Akainu's attacks, and the redeed said had 31 Shakum, Crimson Artillery, so Naruto threw a ball of red energy towards Akainu, who was confident, thinking that the attack would not do anything to him, since he was made of lava, until Naruto's attack collided with Akainu, sending him flying. Akainu got up. "How the hell did you hurt me? I'm supposed to be a lava man. That fire attack shouldn't hurt me," Akainu roared angrily. "But so I know and you find out, silly lava dog." Naruto River making the lava admiral enraged. "You will die, red fox, by my hands," for what he said volcanic meteorite, thus sending several large meteorites towards Naruto. The redeed frowned, seeing the destructive attack of Akainu, for what he said back at made one dank, empty rejection, thus protecting himself from Akainu's attack. "Damn you, red fox, I don't care how, but I'll kill you, die Funka, hellhound, dies." Akainu roared, turning his right arm into magma, giving it the shape of a red dog. Naruto smiled and said had 99 Gurtenmetsu, 5 whirlpools of destructive dragons, thus sending 5 large dragons made of Ryatsu towards Akainu, easily surpassing the lava dog, causing the admiral to open his eyes in disbelief as the 5 dragons destroyed his technique, so he tried to dodge, but he wasn't fast enough. The 5 dragons collided with Akainu, causing a gigantic explosion. When the smoke cleared, Admiral Akainu could be seen covered in blood, missing a hand, and with several burns on his face. The admiral looked more dead than alive. "Gokuku, I see that you are no longer in condition to fight. I will not kill you, Akainu-san, but remember this: the next time you or any marine does something that bothers me, I will finish you off," Naruto said seriously and filtering a gigantic amount of killing intent, making the admiral feel intimidated. Meanwhile, in the battle between Kizaru and Gilgamesh, both were fighting. In the battle you could see Admiral Kizaru with several cuts all over his body, since Gilgamesh's weapons were effective in damaging Loja-type users, while in the case of Gilgamesh, he was with some bruises on his body although nothing serious. "I see that you are powerful, and you have well deserved the title of Admiral." Gilgamesh River, amused by having a great battle with Kizaru. "Oh, you are not weak either. I can say that you are very dangerous for the navy," said Kizaru, amused, but in his eyes there was some concern, since his opponent was damaging him despite being a man of light. Gilgamesh smiled and snapped his fingers. Several magic circles appeared behind him, where dozens if not hundreds of divine weapons came out, throwing the branches towards Kizaru. The admiral opened his eyes in shock at such an attack and the pressure the weapons had. "Kizaru, gathering of the clouds of paradise," shouted the Admiral of Light. Thus with his power of light he created a powerful sword of this element, the admiral being able to repel most of Gilgamesh's swords, but some of these pierced parts of Kizaru's body, making the poor admiral scream in pain and surprising him, since he was supposed to be a man of light, but the swords of that young man damaged him. Gilgamesh was going to throw another spear to finish off Kizaru, until Naruto appeared next to him in a red flash, which surprised him a little. "Naruto, Gil, don't kill him, this will be a warning to the government and the navy. This warning will be that if we see something we don't like, their admirals and all marines involved will die painfully." Naruto ended by releasing his killing intent. Kizaru swallowed hard because of the feeling of death that the child gave off. Gilgamesh saw his boss and friend and sighed with some annoyance, since he wanted to finish off the garbage, but he would obey his boss's order for the moment he would not kill the garbage. Gilgamesh, "Okay boss, let's go. I feel Hinata, Haku and Gaara leaving the place with 4 people." Naruto nodded in understanding, preparing to leave. With Gaara, Haku and Hinata, the trio was killing every sailor and scientist in the place, destroying the facilities, whether with Haku's ice, Gaara's sand or Hinata's lightning jutsu. The trio continued to kill all the garbage that experimented on children or was part of it. Even though Hinata and Haku didn't like killing, they knew it was necessary, since not everyone deserves a chance in life. After almost 20 minutes the trio had finished killing everyone in the base, whether scientists or marines. They were all dead, so they were preparing to search the entire base, looking for any child survivors of those atrocious experiments. After 5 minutes of searching, they came to a large door that was sealed, so Gaara with a large fist of sand blew the door open, and the trio saw in surprise how there were 4 young people between 13 and 15 years old. "Who are you? Are you part of those crazy scientists?" said a black-haired girl of approximately 15 years old, narrowing her eyes with some fear and hatred. The trio of shinobi looked at each other and shook their heads. "We are not part of those marines and those scientists, and you do not have to worry about them, they are all already dead. They sent us to rescue them, so trust us," said Hinata softly, knowing well that she had to calm the 4 young people in front of her. Well, how about we get them out of this place? We can take them to a safe place where they do not have to be lab rats for the Navy and the world government, said Haku, knowing well that the boys in front of her only wanted to escape from this rotten place. The four looked at each other and nodded, trying to stand up, but their entire bodies still felt weak after so many experiments done by the world government. Ara noticed this, and with his sand he helped the four young people, making them lie down in his sand while he takes them with her. After a few minutes they came out, and what they saw amazed them, since the whole island had large holes, lava rays and a great wasteland of destruction, and they saw Akainu and Kizaru wounded and lying on the ground as if they were garbage, but they dismissed it and went with their leader, who was Naruto. Okay, Naruto.kun, it's time to go, our rescue mission is complete, said Haku calmly, although it was clear he wanted to leave the island urgently. Naruto nodded, he wanted to leave too. Naruto, we will leave, but before that I will destroy that entire facility in the style of divine dragon lightning, roared the Redeed, thus emerging a gigantic electric dragon from the sky, colliding with the facilities, causing a gigantic explosion, leaving nothing all. That was impressive, they all said. Naruto smiled at the compliments. Naruto, well, it's time to go. I think our warning to the world government will make our intentions and power clear to them. Everyone nodded and went to the ship to reach Yuzu to inform the Yuzu kids that the mission was a success. End of chapter. Chapter 5. Rescue. Currently Naruto and his group were already in the country of the Whirlpool to inform the Yuzu kids that the rescue and annihilation mission was a success. The red-haired group was entering along with four young people who survived the experiments they suffered by the scientists of the world government. These four young people, thanks or unfortunately for the experiments, could have powers very similar to the users of the devil fruits. The first of the young people was a black-haired man who appeared to be about 13 or 14 years old. This was Ryugami. Thanks to the experiments suffered by the scientists, his physical strength increased, greatly surpassing the strength of a normal human. In addition to being able to use a blue fire so strong that it even had the potential to surpass the devil fruit Maramara no Mi, which currently carried Portgas d'Ace, one of the commanders of Whitebeard. The second of the young people was a girl with long black hair, with a somewhat stoic expression. This did not obtain any Logia-type abilities, but obtained a considerably high physical strength, an enormous ability to use armor haki and observation haki. In addition to a gigantic agility, this was Akame. The third was a girl a little younger than Akame who appeared to be about 13 years old. Approximately this was Kurama, Akame's younger sister. This also did not have Logia-type abilities, but like her older sister, she had superhuman reflexes and a great capacity to adapt in battle. And the fourth was a young woman who appeared to be about 15 years old, with some cat or lion features. She gained regeneration abilities and great physical strength. This was Leon, a blonde-haired girl who, thanks to experiments, obtained feline features. Currently these four young people along with Naruto and his group were already in the Yuzukage's office reporting everything that had happened on the mission. Okay, guys, thanks for the report, but there's something else you want to tell me, Kenshin asked calmly, looking sideways at the four rescued young people. The younger Redeed sighed, well, Grandpa, as you may have noticed, these are the four young people we rescued and who were part of the horrific experiments carried out by the Navy, Naruto said seriously. Kenshin nodded in confirmation and gestured for Naruto to continue with his explanation. The younger Redeed nodded in acknowledgement and continued with his story. Well, these four want to join us in our army, each of them possesses great abilities, and over time, they will be able to polish it. As you know, both Akame and Kurama have agility, resistance and reflexes over humans, even for shinobi standards. In the case of Leon, which is the blonde-haired, has regeneration abilities on par with a Jinchuriki, has superhuman strength and excellent tracking abilities, thanks to her feline features, and finally there is Ryugami. He has the ability to control fire and superhuman strength. He is the one with the greatest potential. His power with fire has the potential to surpass even the devil fruit Maramara no Mi, which currently carries Portgas d'Ace. My older brother finished recounting Naruto the powers of the boys he rescued. Kenshin opened his eyes in surprise. He knew that Naruto was never wrong when he saw potential in someone, and he said that the four young people who were rescued from the marine experiment, so he smiled. Well, Naruto.kun, I know that you are never wrong when you see potential in someone. That is exactly what they want, said and asked the Uzukage Kenshin. Naruto sighed. What I want is for Akame, Kurama, Ryugami and Leon to join the shinobi forces, but not only that, I want them to receive personal training from me and the 9 Bijuus, as well as from my parents. I want to strengthen them to such an extent that when any admiral goes for them, they can face them. Finished speaking Naruto. Kenshin opened his eyes in surprise and smiled widely. Naruto, you can train them personally with the help of the Biju and your parents, and even if you need more support, just let me know, said Kenshin. Naruto nodded with a half smile and looked at Akame's group who were also smiling, knowing that they could be trained by such powerful and kind people. Since they wanted to be strong, they wanted to protect themselves, protect everything important to them, and protect those who saved them from the hell in which the Marines and the world government placed them. Okay guys, it's time to go to my house, we'll wait for my parents, they'll probably arrive in a couple of days from their mission, Naruto said happily. Everyone felt pleased and left Kenshin's office for the Uzumaki Namikaze mansion. Kenshin's thoughts. I see in the eyes of those boys a lot of sadness as well as a lot of hope when it was mentioned that they will receive training, they will be great allies for the country of the Whirlpool, it seems that they are good boys, I hope I'm not wrong. Meanwhile Naruto's group was walking towards his house, along with the 4 young people they rescued from the Navy and the world government. Okay, let's go quickly, I'll introduce you to my 9 friends and protectors of the Whirlpool country, Naruto said somewhat happily. Akame and the other 3 young women who were with her saw Naruto in a strange and somewhat curious way, since they did not know who the 9 protectors of the island were, where several powerful warriors lived to the point that 2 of them made 2 admirals retreat, but they shrugged and followed the deed, he was their savior and protector. After about 10 minutes of walking the group of young people arrived at the home of the Namikaze Uzumaki family, but as soon as they entered they all saw the training field of the Namikaze Uzumaki mansion with astonishment and some with horror as a torrent of fire and a great tide of sand were colliding, causing the sand to turn into crystal. Ahahaha Shukaku, you will never beat me, you are the weakest of the 9 silly overweight raccoon, mocked Kurama. Shut up lazy fox, you'll see, I'll tear off your tails, so you learn to stop bothering me, roared Shukaku angrily at Kurama, so the one-tailed raccoon launched several wind bullets at Kurama. The fox simply dodged them with ease, and in a quick movement, he threw a strong blow with his paw at Shukaku, sending him flying towards some trees, destroying them. All this was seen by the other Biju, who had a drop of sweat for the fight their brothers were having, and the damage it did at least, they did not destroy the house, the Biju thought. Since they still remembered the battle of Kurama with Kushina, and they were terrified how the Redeed was able to match her older brother, to such an extent that they were at a stalemate in that battle, but they came out of their thoughts when an intent to kill so strong that some of the Biju were intimidated, flooded the entire mansion, and the Biju saw in surprise and horror, who was the one who threw that feeling of death in the place. The cause of this was Naruto, the Redeed was angry at how the ball of fur and the overfed raccoon destroy the patio of his house. Minutes before, when Naruto and his group entered the Namikaze mansion, they saw with horror and astonishment the fight that was taking place by 2 of the Biju, but there was one of them who did not look with astonishment or horror at the fight, but with a frown. Since the fight was destroying everything, and he knew that if he continued like this, the fight would go up a level, and both Shukaku and Kurama would take their true size, and that would be bad for the entire village, so Naruto took out his adamantine chains and threw them towards Kurama and Shukaku, imprisoning both of them with great force, causing both to be immobilized and moan in pain, since the chains were squeezing them very tightly and not letting them move. Kurama, Shukaku, please calm down, this is not a place to fight over nonsense, this is my parents' house, also we have guests, do not give a bad impression, so please if you want to fight go to another island, said Naruto calmly, but behind him, they all saw a 10-tailed monster smiling at them sinisterly, a smile that promised pain and death if they disobeyed his order. Kurama and Shukaku saw each other, then they saw Naruto, then they saw each other again and nodded and separated. They did not want the Redeed's wrath, since he awakened his full potential, Uzumaki had become very violent when he got angry. Even his father Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash, and one of the most powerful men in the world, feared the wrath of his son. Since it reminded him of the temperament of Uzumaki Kushina, his wife, and that was bad for anyone who angered him. Hell, even Kenshin the Uzumaki feared his grandson's temper a little. Well, since everyone has calmed down, I have some friends that I would like you to meet, Naruto said calmly but happily, which made all the Bijuus look at the 4 boys next to Naruto with great curiosity. Who are the 4 guys you want to introduce us to, Naruto.kun? Matatabi asked with great curiosity. Naruto nodded, yes, those are the boys that my grandfather sent us to rescue. These boys have various abilities that make them unique, to the point that in my opinion, these boys have the potential to be on par with a vice admiral in a few years and maybe fight with an admiral. The Bijuus looked in amazement at what Naruto said. The 9 Bijuus knew that the admirals and some vice admirals were powerful devils. Some of those humans could fight on par with some of them, among which were the hero of the Navy Garp, a vice admiral on par with any admiral, and even surpasses them in the opinion of the Biju. Then there was Sengoku the Fleet Admiral, and finally perhaps Akatsuki, also known as Akainu, Red Dog, each of them powerful in their own right, on par with high-level cage-level shinobis, perhaps surpassing several of the cages of their dimension. What you say is interesting, Naruto.kun, I know you're not wrong to see potential in someone, which is exactly what you want, Kakuo asked curiously. Naruto smiled, well, what I wish is that some of you can train them to take them to their maximum potential, Naruto said happily. The Biju looked at each other somewhat bewildered and curious. "Which of the 9 of us would you like to train your new friends?" asked Son Goku. "Well, first I will tell you the abilities of each of my new comrades. First there is Akame. After Naruto said that a young black-haired girl who looked 14 or 15 years old passed by. She has impressive physical strength and agility to the point that I know that with proper training, she could give most jounin a run for their money. In addition to that, I feel in her a considerable amount of chakra, comparable to that of a mid-level chunin." The Bijuus nodded, somewhat surprised. The second is Kurama. She is Akame's younger sister. She possesses the same abilities as her sister. Like her sister, I feel a large amount of chakra in her. I know that with proper training, she will become a powerful shinobi. The Biju nodded with less surprise. Thirdly, there is Leon. After saying that, passed by a blonde-haired girl with large breasts who looked 15 years old with a cattail and somewhat long nails. With the occasional feline trail, she possesses super enhanced strength. She has impressive tracking skills that with proper training, she will be the best tracker in Yuzu. In addition to having regenerative powers on par with a Jinchuriki and like Akame and Kurama, she also possesses a large amount of chakra. The Biju opened their eyes in surprise, since it was rare to find someone with such an impressive regeneration. And finally, this Ryogami. He has the ability to control fire and superhuman strength. He is the one with the greatest potential. His power with fire has the potential to surpass even the devil fruit Maramara no Mi, which currently carries Pork as D. Ace. My older brother, in addition to that, also possesses the ability to use chakra. I believe that with the help of you all, they could reach their true potential, finished Naruto with a half smile. The 9 Biju looked at each other, and Kurama stepped forward and said, "Well, Naruto, we will test them, we will see if they are worthy of our training, and if they are, the 9 of us promise to reach their true potential, but if we do not consider them worthy, we will not train them. Does that seem fair to you, Naruto?" said Kurama seriously. Naruto looked at the 9 Biju, then he saw his new 4 friends who looked nervous and gave them a reassuring smile, making them calm down. Then he turned to the Biju with a cheeky smile. "I accept what they say, and I know that they will be worthy of the training of that, I have no doubt." The Bijuus nodded with a half smile, seeing the confidence Naruto had in his 4 new friends. Meanwhile, in the Uzukage's office, a meeting was taking place between the 3 strongest shinobi of the Whirlpool country. "Well, Minato.kun, Kushina-chan, what did Edward Newgate alias Whitebeard tell you regarding the alliance?" Kenshin asked calmly, but inside he expected an alliance with the Yonko. 1. Because he has great power and a large army. 2. Because he is a respectable and word-abiding pirate, and lastly because he is one of the few pirates who did not kill innocents. Kushina and Minato looked at each other and nodded. Well, it was a bit complicated to convince him, but in the end with a small clash we managed to convince the strongest, Yonko, said Kushina happily. Minato sweated a drop because of the small clash that Kushina was referring to. It was a Yonko-level battle, so he sighed. "Minato, Kenshin-sama, I will give you the report and tell you in detail what happened with the encounter with the Yonko Whitebeard." Kenshin the Uzukage nodded with a drop of sweat from listening to the brief summary his daughter gave him, and from the poker face Minato had when he heard Kushina say small shock, he had a small idea what she meant by small shock. "Well, Kenshin, what happened is that my dear wife faced Whitebeard momentarily clashing weapons, then clashed wills with their king's hockey. The battle would have continued, but the power that both gave off was so much that it made a large part of Whitebeard's crew faint. Besides that, we saw Ace, our dear nephew, is strong, we could feel his power, and he will get stronger in due time. He has a very great potential, and being with Whitebeard he will get stronger. Besides that, we offered Whitebeard to cure his illness. I think that old Tsunade and the entire medical staff will be able to do that. It will be easy for her," finished Minato with a sigh. Kenshin narrowed his eyes and sighed, since his daughter was a fighter, even challenging a Yonko, and the strongest of them was beyond help. "Well, it wasn't my fault. I wanted to measure myself against Whitebeard, and the truth is all the rumors are true. He is very strong, easily the strongest of the Yonko, although he is weakening little by little," said Kushina with a sigh. Minato and Kenshin saw Kushina and both sighed in defeat. "Well, at least we have an alliance with Whitebeard, and he also said he would come in the next few days to see his illness," Minato said with a half smile. Kenshin nodded in understanding. The alliance with the Yonko would be very good for the country of the Whirlpool. "Well," informed Tsunade, "we will do everything possible to cure Whitebeard of his illness. I know he is a man of his word and will not betray us," said Kenshin calmly. The Uzumaki Namikaze couple nodded, knowing full well that Whitebeard would not betray them. "Yes, but as our power increases we make more enemies. The Marines are nervous with our increase in power, and I know from the informants of Jiraiya, Nagato and Konan, that Charlotte Linlin alias Big Mom and Kaido of the Beasts want our territory because of the growing power that we possess. They want to enslave us," said Kushina angrily with the Yonko for their ambition and for what they wanted to do to her people. Minato and Kenshin frowned, knowing well the ambition of Charlotte Linlin aka Big Mom and Kaido of the Beasts. Henshin spoke in a cold tone, and with his eyes burning with fire. If either of the two or both attack us, we will finish them and their army, there will be no mercy. Anyone who attacks our house will be finished. Minato and Kushina nodded, although they hoped that a war with the Yonko would not happen, since despite knowing that they could win, many people from the new whirlpool would die in a confrontation against them, unless the 9 Bijuas also enter into combat. With Whitebeard, he was talking with his commanders about the recently founded Whirlpool Alliance and how beneficial it will be for both sides. "Father, are we really fine with the alliance with the Whirlpool?" asked Jozu, Whitebeard's third commander. Edward Newgate alias Whitebeard looked at his son and replied, "Gura, they have nothing to worry about, as the Uzumaki are honorable, and an alliance with them will be beneficial for both them and us." "But father, what benefit can there be in allying with them?" Marco asked curiously. Whitebeard sighed. "Well, my children, you know that I am sick, and when I faced that red-haired woman I realized that she was right. She will not always be with you, and with each passing day I am weakening little by little, so I want support for you. I know that you are all powerful in your own right, but you are not strong enough to face an admiral alone. Perhaps you would be the only one who could fight on equal footing with one of the admirals, although I am not sure if you would beat one of those dogs. The others may be superior to most of the vice admirals, but they have not yet reached admiral level. I need support in case something happens and you need help," finished the strongest Yonko. Everyone frowned at that, but they knew he was telling the truth. They were not strong enough to fight against the admirals. "If they betray us, what are we going to do? They are powerful, very strong. That woman was on par with you in the King's hockey clash you had," said Thatch. "They will not betray us. My uncles Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato are too honorable to do that. As long as you do not betray them, they will not do it. They can be the best allies, but the worst enemies. I even think that the two of them along with the Uzukage are easily at the level of a Yonko. I do not know if as strong as father, but they are definitely powerful. But there is another one who is even more dangerous than them. Since he has the potential to surpass the three of them, and that is Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, my brother in everything but blood," finished speaking Ace, commander of the 2nd Division of Whitebeard. Everyone was surprised and Whitebeard narrowed his eyes. "Whitebeard, who exactly is Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto?" asked the strongest emperor. "Well, he's like a brother to me even though he's younger than me, Luffy, and the late Sabo. He was the most powerful of the 4. He kicked our asses whenever he came to train with us. Hell, he even gave old guard a run for his money." Ace finished speaking, happy remembering Naruto, but also sad remembering Sabo's death. What the fireman said made everyone open their mouths in shock, since someone younger than Ace could stand up to Garp, the hero of the Navy, someone who is said to be at admiral level, even rumored to be superior to them, only being equaled by the Yonko. Gura, that is interesting. Ace, when we leave for Yuzu, I will ask to meet that boy. I am curious to know how strong he is. Maybe I will challenge him to a battle. I wonder if he will be as strong as that Redeed. Gura laughed Whitebeard hysterically, causing all his commanders to open their eyes in surprise, and in Ace's case, he opened his eyes with some horror, knowing that his father would challenge his little brother when he saw him, and that would not be good at all. He knew that. Naruto was strong. Maybe in a while he would be on par with his father, but he still does not believe that he can handle someone like a Yonko. Maybe he is on par with Marco, so the fire user sighed in defeat, since he knew that the battle that would come when his brother and his father met would be very destructive. End of chapter. Chapter 6. Yonko level battle. 8 months have passed since the alliance between the country of the Whirlpools and Whitebeard. This alliance has been kept secret from the Navy and the world government since it could cause chaos, because at present the power of the Uzumaki was compared in power to the strength of the Yonko or close to them, and if an alliance between a Yonko and the country of the Whirlpools occurred, the government would be afraid of what could happen in the future. In these 6 months Whitebeard and his crew had stayed in the country of the Whirlpools since the old Yonko went to Yuzu to receive the treatment proposed by the Namikaze Uzumaki couple. The treatment lasted almost 4 months, thanks to the Sanin Tsunade, along with Kushina and Hinata worked so hard treating the Yonko, making Whitebeard with the treatment he was having little by little his body and his health improved. This made the old Yonko respect Kushina, Tsunade and little Hinata a lot. Since many doctors could not treat his illness, in addition, by curing Whitebeard made the alliance between Uzumaki and the Whitebeard pirates strengthen even more after the Yonko recovered almost completely. He wanted to test the young Uzumaki Naruto, as well as the princess of the Uzumaki Whirlpool. Kushina wanted to see what they were capable of doing in a fight, and she did. The fight against Kushina and Naruto was devastating. Since which practically destroyed a large island, making everyone nervous because of the power that the 3 Yonko level people released to battle. Flashback. An almost recovered Whitebeard was going to the Namikaze Uzumaki family home, along with 2 of his commanders who were Portgas the Ace, commander of the 2nd Division of Whitebeard, and Marco the Phoenix, commander of the 1st Division of Whitebeard. They were accompanying their father. One out of fear of seeing the fight that would happen, this would be in the case of Ace, and another out of curiosity of the fight that would come, this would be in the case of Marco. After a few minutes walking they arrived at the Namikaze Uzumaki mansion. They knocked on the door, and Hinata opened it, looking somewhat surprised to see the Yonkou and his commanders, but greeted them politely and indicated that they should come in. The pirates entered with a half smile when they saw the little girl. Although the three could see that a great hidden power emanated from her, perhaps on par with a vice admiral, and that surprised them. As soon as they entered they were seen by the 9 Bijuu, Naruto's friends, Naruto himself and the Namikaze Uzumaki couple, along with himself Uzukage and his wife Irene Uzumaki, an S-rank Kunoichi on par with some cages of the elemental nations, and one of the strongest Kunoichis in the Whirlpool country. "What's up, old Whitebeard, what are you doing in my house?" Kushina asked curiously. "Gura brat tomato, I may be old, but I'm still as strong as I was in my youth," replied Whitebeard laughing. Everyone could see several ticks on Kushina's head for being called a tomato, so several of them took a step back, even the powerful Gilgamesh stepped back, not wanting the wrath of the strongest woman in Yuzu to go against him, since he knew that even though she is weaker than him, she was not a woman who could be taken lightly. "Well, what do you want in our old home?" Kushina asked with a very sweet voice. This made Ace and Marco break out in a cold sweat, as behind the woman they saw a red-eyed demon looking at them with a predatory smile. "Gura, you see Kushina.san, since I'm recovered I want to test my strength against you and your son Naruto. According to Ace, he tells me he's very strong, I'm curious to know how strong he is," Baba Blanca replied with a big smile. Kushina looked at him with a smile and said, "That sounds interesting. I have no problem fighting you. I also want to know how strong I am. You, the strongest Yonkou, will be an excellent challenge." Whitebeard. The Yonkou smiled and led his conquerors Haki. Kushina did the same, and both Haki clashed again. Both wills were on par, making everyone in the Uzumaki Namikaze complex sweat from the power demonstrated, but suddenly Minato stopped the battle and saw his wife and the Yonkou. "Minato, Baba Blanca, Kushina-chan can't fight in this complex, their power is enormous, and they will destroy everything for whatever they want if we all go to an island that is empty." Both Whitebeard and Kushina saw Minato and stopped their conquerors Haki and smiled, nodding at the suggestion of the blonde Minato, and everyone sighed, and Minato made hand positions and teleported everyone in the Uzumaki Namikaze complex to an empty island near Yuzu. At the moment that Minato teleported everyone, the blonde sighed with some tiredness, since teleporting everyone caused him a large expenditure of considerable chakra and approximately 30% of his reserves. "Well, what do you think if we start with this battle?" asked Whitebeard smiling, since the battle he would have against Uzumaki Kushina and Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto would be one of the best battles in history. "You're right, we must start this battle, Kukuku. We will see who is stronger. The most powerful woman in the country of the Whirlpool or the most powerful of the Yonkou," said Kushina with a challenging smile. Whitebeard nodded and everyone around Kushina and the Yonkou twisted, giving them space to fight. Both the strongest Yonkou and Kushina saw each other and both took out their weapons, colliding with each other, Kushina with her sword and Whitebeard with his halberd called Basento. After some clashes they separated, realizing that in battle with weapons they were on par, so Kushina put away her sword and made hand positions with one hand and sent a great torrent of fire towards Whitebeard. The aforementioned dodged with ease and smiled. Kushina also smiled and in a burst of speed went to cut Whitebeard. The Yonkou noticed that and threw a punch in the air, causing it to break and making Kushina step back. The Redeed smiled and realized that now the true battle against the most powerful Yonkou would begin, so she looked at her sword and said, "Shikai, wake up Belinus." After Kushina said that, her sword changed and increased in size, taking the form of a great sword, or rather a great spear. Whitebeard saw the change and assumed that she was now more dangerous, so he looked cautiously at the Redeed. He knew she was strong and assumed that she became stronger the moment her sword changed. The Yonkou continued to look cautiously at Kushina until she disappeared in a burst of speed and tried to cut the Yonkou. He barely protected himself, and when their weapons collided, this caused a gigantic shock wave, but Kushina did not stay there but said Fire King Fist, thus making her entire fist turn into a fire fist and smiled, throwing her fist at the Yonkou's chest, sending Whitebeard flying with a large burn on his body. The Yonkou recovered, although he grimaced in pain from the blow from the woman in front of him, but then smiled. "Well, you are definitely someone at the level of a Yonkou, Kushina.san. This fight is very fun," Gura said and laughed. Whitebeard. Kushina smiled and they both launched themselves at each other with a challenging smile. Meanwhile, with the spectators, they had different reactions. The Bijuu were not so impressed with what Kushina was doing. They knew that the woman was powerful hell. Currently only Jayuki or Kurama could against the sadistic woman who was fighting against the most powerful Yonkou. Meanwhile, Kenshin, his wife, Minato and Naruto watched with half a smile as Kushina fought evenly with the most powerful Yonko, although they frowned since they knew that when the battle was over, both Kushina and Whitebeard would be very injured, and that worried them. Meanwhile Akame, Kurama, Leon, Ryogami watched with their mouths open as Naruto's mother fought alongside Whitebeard, the most powerful of the Yonko, someone that even the government fears, and that made them respect the woman greatly in the case of Kurama. Akame and Leon, they were thinking that when the battle is over they will ask Kushina for special training, realizing that the woman may be the most powerful woman in the seas. In the case of Gilgamesh and Sinbad saw with much more respect and interest the woman who was fighting with the strongest Yonko. Hell, they knew that if they fought with Whitebeard they were not sure of defeating him, and that woman in front of them was fighting on equal terms. Whether she wins or loses, that woman had already earned their respect as a warrior, and in the opinion of both, that woman is the most powerful woman in Yuzu and the seas. I see how powerful you are, Kushina. Now we will see who of the two is stronger. Me, Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world, or you, Uzumaki. Kushina, the strongest woman of Yuzu, and maybe the world, roared Whitebeard with joy. Kushina smiled at being called the strongest woman in Yuzu, but frowned when Whitebeard doubted that she was the strongest woman in the world, so she prepared herself, and with Zanpakuto, she went at a speed that only a few could follow against Whitebeard. The Yonko prepared for the battle against what she was considering one of the most dangerous opponents she had ever faced. Meanwhile, those who continued watching the fight were very impressed by the power level of Kushina and Whitebeard. Even some of the Biju admitted that if they fought with either of them they might lose, and that made them frown, since they knew they needed to increase their power, otherwise they would be surpassed. After 3 hours of fighting, Whitebeard and Kushina were so weakened that both fell to their knees, until suddenly the redeemed Uzumaki fainted, but Whitebeard, despite being weakened, stood up, barely affirming his victory against Kushina. Uzumaki, the most powerful woman of Yuzu, and perhaps of the world, both Kenshin, Minato and Naruto, went to the redeemed worried about their mother, daughter and wife. Since she looked very weakened and damaged, but at the same time they smiled to see the one they considered the strongest woman in the world give such a magnificent battle to the most powerful Yonko. Uraguri Uzuki-san, Minato-san, Naruto-san, tell Kushina when she wakes up that it was a magnificent battle. This was one of the best battles I've had in years. When I recover, I hope to fight you, Naruto.san. I want to test my strength against you, said Whitebeard, laughing and coughing at the same time, since he was bleeding quite a bit after the battle he had against Kushina, the woman who earned his respect. 3 days after the battle between Kushina and Whitebeard, the redeemed woke up while Whitebeard was recovering from the wounds made by Kushina. These two recovered so quickly, thanks to the Sannin of the Slugs, and former Godame Hokage Tsunade Senju, and currently one of the best doctors in the world, if not the best doctor in the world. After Whitebeard recovered, this challenged to Naruto to a battle in this fight, that was on the same island in which Kushina's fight against Whitebeard was devastating, and despite the fact that Whitebeard had much more experience, Naruto had a greater variety of techniques. The battle was so destructive that the island was almost completely destroyed. The clash between the two titans in the battle, Whitebeard was badly injured, falling unconscious from exhaustion, although Naruto did not come out unharmed. Since he had several bruises all over his body, thanks to the blows made by Whitebeard, the power that both showed made the various islands in the distance rumble. Since the clash between the two Yonko-level titans was devastating, days after the fight with Whitebeard and Naruto, the old Yonko was hospitalized again for a week due to the large number of wounds and energy drain that the old Emperor of the Seas had, which made Tsunade furious. Since it would be much more work for her and the staff, because the Yonko's wounds were not just anything, but wounds that were difficult to heal. Vindel flashback. Currently the strongest of the 4 emperors was saying goodbye to the Uzumaki, his new allies and friends. Well, Kushina, Minato, Naruto, Uzukage, it was a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for the battle we had, little Naruto. Kushina.san, it's been years since I've had this much fun in battle, said Whitebeard, smiling widely. The Uzumaki Namek, his family and the Uzukage smiling at Whitebeard's words, they also like the old Sea Emperor. Well, Whitebeard, I guess this is a see you soon. Remember this, if you need anything, just let us know. I know you are strong, but never refuse to ask for help if you need it, said Kenshin seriously. Whitebeard nodded. He knew he was strong, and he knew well that he was not invincible, although it hurt his pride. If he needed support he would ask the Uzumaki. Whitebeard, I hope it doesn't come to that, but if I need help, don't hesitate to ask you. Well, it's time for me to go. Let's go, children. Marco and Ace nodded with a half smile before Ace left this hug to both Kushina, Minato and Naruto, since they were like a family. I hope you get stronger, Ace, said Naruto, smiling widely. I promise you, little brother, I will be as strong as you, and as the old man, you don't have to worry, Ace replied, smiling. Naruto saw his brother in everything but blood and nodded. I hope so, since one day I want to fight you and see how strong you are, the younger Uzumaki finished speaking. Ace paled at that but nodded anyway. He also wanted to fight Naruto, but at the same time he was afraid of fighting his little brother. Hell, even his father Whitebeard lost against him, and he asked himself what would happen when Naruto reached his full potential. A shiver ran through him just thinking about Naruto's power. "Okay Ace, hurry up, the old man wants to leave," shouted Marco, who was already on the ship waiting for the fireman. "I'm coming," Ace shouted, running at high speed toward his captain's ship. The Uzumaki smiled and retreated towards Yuzu. They had many things to do, many things to create, and a possible war for which they had to prepare. "Henshin-sama, what do you think will happen to the world government and the remaining Yonkou? They have an eye on us." According to Jireya's spies, Nagato and Konan say that it seems Kaido of the Beasts will attack us in a couple of months, and we don't know if another Yonkou joined him to attack us, Minato said with a frown. Henshin nodded and looked at the Namikaze Uzumaki family. "I also informed Whitebeard. I received reports from Jiraiya. I know we can defeat a Yonkou's army, but I'm not sure if we can repel two Yonkou with Yuzu's current power, unless the Bijuas also fight," the Uzukage finished speaking. "Well father, we better prepare ourselves as best as possible if they attack us, we must be ready. Kaido's commanders will not be easy to defeat," said Kushina with a frown. "If that happens I will deal with Kaido myself and finish him off. I will not allow anyone to invade my village. I will not let anyone destroy my family," Naruto said with conviction. Henshin, Kushina and Minato looked at Naruto with some surprise. "Sachi, but he's a Yonkou. I know you're strong. You'll most likely defeat him, but you'll get hurt. In addition, your grandfather Kenshin is the leader of the village. It would be best for him to deal with that beast if it attacks us," said Kushina very seriously. Naruto sighed and nodded. He just hoped that the war wouldn't come soon. He knew that his mother, father and grandfather were as strong as Kaido and Big Mom, so he wasn't so worried about them facing Kaido. But if he was presented with an opportunity to confront and kill that beast, he would do it and destroy him in a painful way if he tried to invade his home, since now he wouldn't let the trash live. Meanwhile on the other side of the seas, two of the most powerful pirates were meeting for a possible alliance to destroy the recent Whirlpool nation. These two figures were two of the Yonkou. The first was a man, although he looked more like a beast. He had two horns on his head and measures more than 10 meters tall. He had a muscular body. This Yonkou was Kaido of the Beasts. The other figure was a giant and plump woman. This was the Yonkou Charlotte Linlin. Better known as Big Mom. Both figures were meeting, since Yuzu was a nuisance to both of them, and they wanted that territory for themselves, since that nation had several islands under its protection, islands that they wanted and would have, even if they had to destroy everything in their path. "Well Linlin, tell me what exactly you want. It's not common for you to ask me for support to destroy a nation," said Kaido. Big Mom narrowed her eyes, growling, and said, "You know very well, fool, that it's not just any nation, it's a nation that has several admiral-level people, and most likely its leader is on par with us. I want to destroy it and take all its territory, but I know that alone, I'm not sure if I can, so I ask for your support and we share the loot." Kaido was a little surprised by that and smiled and replied, "You're right, in some ways in Yuzu there are very strong opponents. It would be interesting to fight someone from that place." "Okay Big Mom, I accept your deal. I'll just tell you to leave me the strongest ones for me, I'll destroy everything in my path," Kaido laughed sadistically. Big Mom smiled and laughed with Kaido as well in a sadistic and chilling manner that sent chills down the spines of both Yonkou generals who were standing behind them like bodyguards. End of chapter. Chapter 7. The battle begins. Currently the alliance between the most destructive and evil Yonkou of the four current emperors were preparing their troops for the invasion they made to the country of the Whirlpools. They were now meeting again to decide what day they will invade the foolish country of the Whirlpool that does not bow before them, since in the mentality of the Yonkou duo, those Uzumaki islanders had to bow before them because they were the emperors of the sea. "Well Big Mom, I think it's time to prepare for the war that we will take to Yuzu," said Kaido with a sadistic smile as he thought about how to invade the country of Whirlpools and how to destroy and kill those islanders. The only female Yonkou smiled sadistically at the thought of destroying the land of Whirlpools that had caused her so much trouble. "Big Mom. Answering your question Kaido, in a month my troops are ready to invade the Whirlpool." "Perfect Linlin, then in a month we will meet again and destroy the Whirlpool with my commanders and yours. It will be more than enough to crush the country of the Kukuku Whirlpools Kaido River in a cruel way." "Ahaha Kaido, very soon we will finish off the new Whirlpool, very soon that country will be our Big Mon River." Kaido smiled and left with his commanders laughing sadistically at what he would do next month and the great battles he would have. 2 days later in the country of the Whirlpool a meeting was taking place between the leaders and the most powerful of the country of the Whirlpool. Among those who met were first was the current Uzumaki Uzumaki Kenshin, second was Namikaze Minato, the yellow flash of Yuzu, third was Uzumaki Kushina, the princess of Yuzu, fourth was Uzumaki Irene Kushina's mother, and one of the most powerful women in the country of the Whirlpool, someone at the admiral level, maybe a little higher. Fifth was Gilgamesh, the king of heroes and one of Naruto's protectors, and someone at the Yonkou level and even higher, reaching the level of a pirate king. Sixth was Sinbad, another of Naruto's bodyguards, and also one of the leaders of the marine fleet. Seventh was Jiraiya, the sage of the toads, and the spymaster of the country of the whirlpools. Eighth was Senju Tsunade, the head of the medical department of Yuzu, and finally, Naruto, one of the strongest beings that Yuzu has. Someone at the level of a pirate king, someone capable of defeating any of the four emperors of the sea and making them eat land if he wants to. Well, Jiraiya, why did you organize this meeting? What is so important that you have to tell us to call this meeting with utmost urgency? He said and asked the Uzukage Uzumaki Kenshin seriously. The wise man of the toad sighed wearily. Jiraiya, well my friends, I have some very important information to say, something of utmost urgency. It seems the Kaido and Big Mom will attack us in approximately a month. According to my spies, they will come with their armies to destroy us. At the bomb thrown by Jiraiya, everyone opened their eyes in shock. They knew the Kaido and Big Mom would attack, but they didn't think it would be so soon. Fortunately, Jiraiya had an excellent network of spies, and now they could make a proper counterattack against the Yonkou duo. This information is 100% true. Jiraiya, are you sure that Kaido and Big Mom will invade in a month? Asked Tsunade with a frown at the war that was coming to her house because of the stupid Yonkou. Jiraiya sighed and nodded, frowning at the war brewing at his doorstep. Slug Princess Tsunade Sai now had to prepare her medics. Tsunade, well, it's time to prepare a counterattack against this invasion. Indeed, now we have to prepare and see who will face Kaido and Big Mom, said Jiraiya. Everyone nodded at what Jiraiya said, knowing full well that the Yonkou were the most dangerous of the invasion group that was coming in a month. I can deal with Big Mom. I will show the world that I am the most powerful woman in the world. Kukukuku, said Kushina, smiling sadistically at being able to face the Yonkou and show her who is the most powerful woman in the seas. She would see that Uzumaki Kushina was her superior. Are you sure that you alone can fight the Yonkou, Kushi-chan? Asked Minato, somewhat worried about his wife. Kushina frowned at her husband's distrust but nodded. Kushina, if Minato can fight any Yonkou, I became stronger since the battle I had against Whitebeard. Now I think I could even fight the old man. Everyone nodded in recognition of what the Princess of Yuzu said, since they knew how strong Kushina is. Not for nothing is she the strongest woman in Yuzu. Fine Kushina, you take care of the fool Charlotte Linlin, said the Uzukage with a smile and a nod of recognition, since he knew that his daughter was powerful enough to deal with the Yonkou. It's fine that Kushina-chan will fight against Charlotte Linlin, but who will fight against Kaido? Tsunade asked curiously, since she knew how powerful Kaido was and she knew that she was no match for him, so she was not an option to deal with the Yonkou. Everyone from the War Council looked at each other and Naruto sighed. Naruto. I will deal with Kaido, we will see how strong he is, and I will make him regret wanting to attack my nation, my family. He said this with a somewhat dark voice and smile. Naruto's voice sent shivers down everyone's spine, causing them to wonder how someone so young and adorable could cause so much terror. Minato opened his eyes at what his son wanted to do. Hell, he won't let him face that beast. He knew Naruto was powerful, but ever since he found out how he lived, he became too overprotective of his son. He knew it was wrong to be overprotective, but to hell with it, he won't put his son in danger. He is facing Kaido, one of the four emperors. He won't let his son do that, so he himself will deal with that overdeveloped lizard. Now he was much more powerful than before, and he knew he was powerful enough to deal with even two Yonkou if he set his mind to it, so he frowned and sighed and Naruto ordered you not to fight Kaido. I will do it. I will not allow my son to put himself in so much danger, Minato said seriously. At that, everyone opened their eyes in surprise as Minato, the quiet and docile type, was very serious at what he just said, while Naruto frowned. Since his father lately had become increasingly overprotective, he knew that if he fought against Kaido he would win. He had no doubt about it. He knew he was strong enough to kill the Yonkou, although it would cost him a bit to defeat him. The Uzukage looked at Minato and sighed. He knew why he didn't want Naruto to face the Yonkou. He knew how overprotective he was with his prodigy grandson, and he knew that ignoring Minato in this would be stupid. Well, Minato, you have to deal with Kaido if you can kill him. We will prepare all the generals of Yuzu to face the commanders of those two Yonkou, said the Uzukage. Before that, the military leaders of Yuzu nodded in recognition of what the Uzukage had said. Sending Minato and Kushina to fight the Yonkou is the best way to finish them off, since both Minato and Kushina were on par with Whitebeard, the most powerful of the four emperors of the sea. They would be enough to fight against the two Yonkou. And whoever dealt with the six commanders of these easily, Charlotte, Katakuri and King, are at the level of an admiral, will not be easily defeated, said Jiraiya, since he knew how powerful those two commanders of the two emperors are who would attack them. By the reports he had of everything those two did for their leaders, and the most dangerous was King. That trash deserved to die. At what the Toad Sage said, several frowned. It had occurred to them that Kaido's calamities and Big Mom's commanders were also powerful in their own right. Simple and easy as Hiro Sennin mentioned, Charlotte Katakuri and King are the most dangerous, but the other commanders are not far behind, so I propose that my group can deal with them. We are capable enough to face even the Shichibukai. I would even say that some of my group can face the admirals, and everyone knows it, so I ask to take care of the commanders, said Naruto seriously. At what was said, many of the war council nodded in recognition. They knew that Naruto's group was powerful, and even some of that group were as strong as an admiral. No one denied that, so it was the best option to deal with Kaido and Big Mom's commanders. Okay Naruto, you and your group will deal with Kaido and Big Mom's commanders. Tell your teammates if possible they will have to finish them off, Naruto, said Uzumaki Kenshin seriously. Minato and Kushina frowned, not wanting their son to fight and put himself in danger, but they sighed with resignation, knowing well that they had to stop being so overprotective of their baby. They knew that their son was powerful, so they relaxed a little. In addition, he would have his companions to deal with Kaido and Big Mom's commanders. Naruto nodded at what his grandfather said, since he would defend his land no matter what. 3 weeks later, Kaido and Big Mom formally declared war on the Whirlpool country, declaring that if Yuzu did not surrender to them, they would be exterminated. This shocked the world government and several countries around the world, and enraged Whitebeard, who was also going to prepare for war, but a message from the Uzumaki calmed him down. As the message said not to worry, the Whirlpool country will fight against the Yonkou to show their power to the world and teach everyone that with the Whirlpool country, no one would mess with that message not only calmed but made Whitebeard smile, since he knew the power of Yuzu, and now Kaido and Big Mom would see everything that the Whirlpool country was capable of doing to them. The strongest of the Yoku knew that Yuzu would win, he just hoped there weren't so many casualties. Father, seriously, we are not going to help Yuzu, they will not be able to against two Yonkou and their armies, said Marco, somewhat alarmed that his father is not going to help his best and most powerful allies. Whitebeard looked at his son and sighed, look my children, I want to help Yuzu, and we will be close to the island of whirlpools, but Yuzu does not want my support, they want to defeat Kaido and Big Mom to show their power to the world, they want to make themselves known not as an average nation, but as a nation that can repel any invasion, in short the strongest of the Yonkou. At that, all of Whitebeard's crew opened their eyes in surprise at such a revelation. But father, do you think the Whirlpool country can repel the invasion of Kaido and Big Mom? Marco asked with curiosity and concern, since he had made friends with several Uzumaki. At Marco's question, Whitebeard the Phoenix sighed. Whitebeard, son, the power of the whirlpools is even superior to ours, and I even think they will win this battle, since they have powerful warriors, among which those who are at the Yonkou level are Uzumaki Kushina, Namikaze Minato, Kenshin the Uzukage, Uzumaki Nagato, Sinbad the general of the marine fleet, Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto and Gilgamesh, those 7 are strong enough to fight with any of the Yonkou, and I even think that Minato is more powerful than me, Whitebeard finished speaking. What the most powerful Yonkou said made Marco, Ace, Jozu and the other commanders open their eyes in shock and disbelief, since it was difficult for someone to reach that level. Hell, they thought that Yuzu only had 3 people at Yonkou level who were Minato, Kushina and Naruto. When they remembered the last one, a shiver ran through them, since that brat was very powerful, even more than his father, the man who is considered the strongest in the world. Father is right, if the country of whirlpools doesn't want us to join the fight, we won't do it. I know that Aunt Kushina and Uncle Minato will be able to deal with Kaido and Big Mom, besides that there is the same Uzukage and Naruto, they will be enough to defeat those fools, said Ace with a snort at the end, since he knew that both his Aunt Kushina and his Uncle Minato were very powerful at the level of his father Whitebeard, and that was too much for anyone. At what Ace said, everyone nodded in recognition. They knew that the power of the whirlpool was to be feared, and its people were very powerful. There were many Yonkou or Admiral level warriors, and that was very terrifying for anyone, and made them understand that the country of the whirlpools had people of a very chaotic level. Meanwhile in the Navy, several high-ranking officers were meeting to see how to proceed with the war that is coming to the country of the whirlpool. Several of the vice admirals were nervous. The alliance of 2 Yonkou was rare to happen, if not impossible, and less to destroy a country that was recently formed. How do you think this war will go, Garp? Sengoku asked, frowning at the thought of the Yonkou alliance. Bard looked at his old friend and sighed, Sengoku, you will tell me that I am crazy, but I will tell you this. The Yonkou will be defeated against the power of the whirlpool. I know that there are powerful warriors there, to the point that not even the 3 admirals with you could stand up to them, much less the leaders of the Yuzu military force. Garp finished speaking seriously. At this, several vice admirals and admirals opened their eyes in shock at Garp's revelation, as they did not believe that the country of the whirlpool was so powerful to such an extent that the strongest vice admiral and hero of the navy believes he could fight against 2 Yonkou and their armies. Garp, are you sure of what you're saying? Sengoku roared angrily at such information. Yes, I'm sure, I know the Uzukage and some of his generals are very powerful, I would say that some of them surpass in power some of the Yonkou, Garp answered foolishly. At what Garp said, everyone sighed but said nothing, since it was better not to ask more, although they were sure that the vice admiral was exaggerating. Currently the Yonko duo was heading towards Yuzu Island to destroy and subdue it for not surrendering. Okay Kaido Kukuku, it's time to destroy the whole country of the Whirlpool River, Big Mom crazily. Kaido saw his fellow Yonko and smiled sadistically at what they would soon do, causing the commanders of both Yonko to take a step back, since their leaders were sometimes scary when they got into that state, and they surpassed in resignation. After a couple of hours, the Yonko arrived at the country of the whirlpools and tried to throw several cannons towards Yuzu. They tried, since the cannons could not pass the Great Barrier of Yuzu. This made both Yonko enraged, realizing that the barrier that protected Yuzu was true and that now they will have to enter Yuzu instead of just blowing it up with their cannons. Something did not sit well with the Yonko, and they had a bad feeling, but their pride did not let them think well, so they went anyway and entered the waters of the whirlpool to be able to invade those Uzumaki. While they were already on the shores of Yuzu and disembarking with their armies, they were received with another army that impressed them. Since there were not only the red-haired Uzumaki, but also several slaves, both human and sea, and that alarmed them a little, but they smiled later, since they would capture all those who were on Yuzu's side if they were given the opportunity. The Cuckoo, surrender islanders, you won't be able to handle all our power, Cuckoo, laughed Big Mom in a chilling way. Shut up you ugly fatso and come here so I can kick your giant fifth-rate ass, Kushina roared mockingly. After the Uzumaki said that, a great silence reigned in the place until Kaido laughed madly for hearing someone offend his fellow Yonko so badly. Well, Big Mom was not angry but was furious, since that Riti dared to offend her. Okay, you silly bitch, you want to fight, I'll come for you, roared the Yonko, entering the battle to kill the Riti who offended her. Kushina smiled and drew her sword and did the same. This made both armies prepare and go against each other, giving way to the Great Red War. All this was seen by Naruto, who smiled as he began to give orders to his companions. Okay Gaara, you go for King, kill him if you can. The previous Kazuki nodded. Haku, you go for Katakuri. Hinata, go for Charlotte Smoothie. Gilgamesh, take care of Queen and Jack. I know you can deal with both. Akame, Kurama, go for Charlotte. Crack, finish him off as quickly as possible. Everyone nodded and went towards their objectives to finish them off and go for the Yonko armies. The rest of us, what are we going to do? Naruto-kun asked Konan with some curiosity. Naruto looked at his former enemy. Konan, I want the rest of you to go after the Yonko troops, destroy our enemies, make sure no pirates are left alive. That will teach them that with my people, my family, no one messes with me, Naruto roared, his power surging. They all nodded and scattered to finish off their enemies as quickly as possible, since they rarely saw Naruto so serious and did not want to be the focus of his wrath. Meanwhile on the battlefield, Kushina and Big Mom, both Yonko-level women, clash fists, causing the people around her to fly away, as if they were simple flies on the other side of the battlefield. Kaido was facing Minato in a very even duel, although Minato had some advantage due to the great speed he possessed, making it impossible for Kaido to catch him. I see you're not as weak as I thought, yellow flash of the whirlpool, said Kaido with a sadistic smile on his face. Minato looked coldly at Kaido. Today you will die, lizard. The blonde finished speaking. Kaido frowned at the nickname and went against Minato. The blonde did the same and activated his lightning armor to increase his strength, along with his light powers, to increase his speed and be able to defeat the lizard. But Kushina and Big Mom, both women, were fighting fiercely, but you could see Kushina was slowly gaining ground against the Yonko, since in the various clashes the Redeed Uzumaki was making the giant retreat, and that was infuriating Big Mom greatly, so the Yonko, to finish off her opponent as quickly as possible, said Haha no Hai, Mother Flame Sword. That attack made Kushina open her eyes in surprise and smile, to say Hado number 81 Dank, Void Division, thus Kushina protecting herself from Big Mom's attack, who was surprised by that defense. Big Mom, little bastard, I'll kill you and hang your corpse as my trophy. Kushina. Bring it bitch, and you'll see who will die in this stupid battle. Yonko, I'll give your corpse to the fish. End of chapter. The 50 strongest One Piece guys right now. 1. Uzumaki Naruto. 2. Kurama. 3. Gilgamesh. 4. Sinbad. 5. Edward Newgate recovered 100%. 6. Minato, he's going to get stronger. 7. Uzumaki Kushina, she will get stronger with time and will reach number 5. 8. Kenshin Uzumaki. 9. Uzumaki Nagato. 10. Monkey D. Dragon, he is the leader of the revolutionaries, he must be strong. 11. Shanks the Redeed, in my opinion he is the second strongest Yonko. 12. Garp, now regaining his strength. 13. Jayuki. 14. Kaido of the Beasts, he is strong and hard to kill, but I know some Biju would defeat him. 15. Chimay. 16. Charlotte Linlin Big Mom. 17. Uchiha Shisui. 18. Shiki, Golden Lion. 19. Seiken. 20. Kakyo. 21. Son Goku. 22. Sengoku. 23. Irene Uzumaki. 24. Jiraiya the Toad Sage Mode. 25. Dark King Silver's Ray League. 26. Rei Uzumaki Haiho Dekenshin. 27. Dracula Mihik, in my opinion he is at the level of an admiral and is going to get stronger. 28. Sambi. 29. Kong. 30. Matatabi. 31. Sakazuki, Akanu. 32. Kuzan, Akiji. 33. Borsellino Kizaru. 34. Kazuki Oden. 35. Hyuga Hinata Tensogen, she will become stronger and stronger with the Tensogen. 36. Sabaku no Gara, he was Kazukiage and he will become stronger as strong as Sengoku. 37. Shukaku. 38. Iso. 39. Ben Beckman. 40. Marco the Phoenix. 41. Tsunade. 42. Uzumaki Conan. 43. Urza Uzumaki. 44. Hada Kakashi, he doesn't have a Sharingan so the maximum level he will reach will be that of a medium admiral. 45. Natsu Uzumaki. 46. King. 47. Rei Akami. 48. Charlotte Katakuri. 49. Yamato. 50 Gray. Well, these are the 50 strongest currently in One Piece. The ranks will change over time. If they say what Hinata gave her an increase in power, when she woke up the Tensogen, her power will have a limit. Hell, I don't want a super strong Hinata, but not a weakling either. She will have a power when she is 15 or 16 years old, comparable to that of the Yonko like Big Mom. And if they talk about why Guard is so strong, in my opinion, the old Vice Admiral of the Navy is even stronger than the Admirals. Hell, he was the rival of the Pirate King, but he aged and lost part of his power, but even today he can face the Yonko, especially now that this guard stops training since the battle he had with Kushina and Minato, and realized that he should strengthen himself with respect to the admirals and other positions. They are still not at the level they were in Marineford, and if they say that I placed the Dark King very high, hell, the old man was Roger's commander, most likely have a level minimally lower than a Yonko or the Yonko level. Also, everything we saw in One Piece that he could face Kizaru and keep up with his speed despite his old age, and if they tell me that Sengoku is so low, the truth is I consider that he is at a high level. I believe him capable of facing the Yonko, but not being able to defeat them in a 1 vs 1. Shisui's level is comparable to that of the Yonko, but he is going to get stronger. PDT, there are characters who are dead, don't forget it. Place characters in the present time at the time that Luffy has not yet gone to CNTP. I will place the strongest ones when I get to the Battle of Marineford. Chapter 8. The Force of the Whirlwind. Currently the country of the Whirlpool was in a war against the alliance of the Yonko Big Mom and Kaido of the Beasts. In the battle of both sides was intensifying, but the war was in favor of the Uzumakis to such an extent that the Yonko was even at a disadvantage against Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Namikaze Kushina, the strongest couple in the country of the Whirlpools. Meanwhile on the battlefield, Kushina and Big Mom, both Yonko level women, clash fists, causing the people around her to fly away, as if they were simple flies. On the other side of the battlefield, Kaido was facing Minato in a very even duel, although Minato had some advantage due to the great speed he possessed, making it impossible for Kaido to catch him. I see you're not as weak as I thought, yellow flash of the Whirlpool, said Kaido with a sadistic smile on his face. Minato looked coldly at Kaido. Today you will die, lizard. The blonde finished speaking. Kaido frowned at the nickname and went against Minato. The blonde did the same and activated his lightning armor to increase his strength, along with his light powers, to increase his speed and be able to defeat the lizard. But Kushina and Big Mom, both women, were fighting fiercely, but you could see Kushina was slowly gaining ground against the Yonko, since in the various clashes the Redeed Uzumaki was making the giant retreat, and that was infuriating Big Mom greatly, so the Yonko, to finish off her opponent as quickly as possible, said Haha no Hai, Mother Flame Sword. That attack made Kushina open her eyes in surprise and smile, to say Hado number 81 Dank, Void Division, thus Kushina protecting herself from Big Mom's attack, who was surprised by that defense. Big Mom. Little bastard, I'll kill you and hang your corpse as my trophy. Kushina. Bring it, bitch, and you'll see who will die in this stupid battle. Yonko, I'll give your corpse to the fish. Big Mom. I'm not a damn bitch, Redeed, Tomato, today you and the country of the Whirlpool will fall before me, Kukuku. Kushina, I'm not a tomato, you'll pay for such an offense. After Kushina said that the Redeed took out her adamantine chains and together with her sword, she launched herself against Big Mom trying to cut her arm, but Big Mom defended herself with her arms with her armor haki, and when both Yonkou-level women collided, they caused a gigantic shock wave in this clash. Big Mom took several steps back while Kushina stood firm, so she furiously shouted Zeus Prometheus finish her both homie smile and went against Kushina, the aforementioned smiled. Kushina, Jutsu da Invocation, Kuchius no Jutsu. The moment Kushina said that it caused a large stream of smoke and when the smoke cleared, you could see two medium-sized phoenixes approximately 8 or 10 meters high, one was orange and the other was blue. The homie did not care about Kushina's summons and went for her, but a beam of ice and a flame blocked them. "Fine, my summons will put an end to those things," Kushina roared. Both phoenixes nodded and went against Prometheus and Zeus fighting 2 versus 2, while Kushina stared at her enemy, and for the first time in the battle she would fight at 100%, so the Redeed sighed and realized that it would be best to release her Shikai. She knew that Big Mom is not as strong as Whitebeard, but she needed to finish off the Yonkou as quickly as possible to support Yuzu's defense. "Well, what do you think if we start with the real battle?" asked Kushina. "Kukuku, you're right Brad, it's time for me to fight seriously and I'll finish you Kukuku, we'll see what you have Big Mom River in a cruel way." "Well, it's time for you to die." Shikai wakes up Belinus after Kushina said that her sword changed and increased in size, taking the form of a great sword or rather a great spear Big Mom supposed, so she looked with some caution at the Redeed. She knew she was strong and supposed that she became stronger the moment her sword changed. The Yonkou continued to look cautiously at Kushina until the Redeed disappeared in a burst of speed and tried to cut off the Yonkou's head, who barely protected herself with her sword, and when weapons collided this caused a gigantic shock wave, but Kushina did not stay there, but said Fire King Fist, thus making her entire fist turn into a fist of fire, and smiled throwing her fist at the Yonkou's chest, sending Big Mom flying with a great burn on the Yonkou's body. She recovered, although she grimaced in pain from the blow from the woman in front of her. She never thought to face another woman of her level, so he frowned, but then smiled. "Well, you're definitely someone strong bitch, but you'll still die trash," roared Big Mom. Kushina frowned but then smiled. "Kushina, the one who will die is you Big Mom, roar of the god of fire," shouted the Redeed, thus sending a stream of fire so powerful that it burned everything in its path. Big Mom tried to dodge, but a little of the fire reached her, leaving her with some burns which made her angry, but before she did anything she saw in horror as the Redeed appeared next to her and cut off her arm, causing all the battles that were nearby to stop as all of Big Mom's crew saw in horror how their mother bar leader was left without an arm. Minutes before, in the various battles that were all over Katakuri Island, Big Mom's first commander was fighting against Haku Momochi in a fairly even duel, with Katakuri realizing that his opponent was easily close to his level. "Ice release Ice Dragon," shouted Haku, creating a large ice dragon, sending it straight to the Mochi man. Katakuri frowned and made a large shield of Mochi that was able to protect him from Haku's large ice dragon. On the other side of the battlefield, Akame and Kurama were fighting Charlotte Cracker, one of Big Mom's commanders, with some difficulty overcoming it little by little, thanks to the teamwork of both sisters and the 2 demonic swords obtained by the Uzumaki Akame, having Murasame sword that with a single cut poisons the body of a person until it poisons and leaves it immobile or dead, depending on how much poison the person has in their body, and in Kurama's case, she had Yatsufusa sword with a huge edge and capable of controlling a maximum of 8 corpses. It was a cursed sword too powerful for anyone today. Kurama was controlling 2 corpses, being 2 marine captains with whom she supports herself, along with Akame to fight and finish off Charlotte Cracker, they're bucking bitches, they're hard to kill. Kurama, you will be one of my puppets, I will kill you and add you to my collection. Akame, you are an invader and as such you will be treated and killed. Crack mocked his opponents. They may be considerably strong to him, but he won't die for 2 simple brats. He will finish them off and go on to destroy more islanders. Akame and Kurama against their opponent, ready to finish him off since they got tired of their opponent's taunts. But Hinata, the Byakugan princess, was defeating Commander Charlotte smoothly thanks to her Tensugen that gave her better vision and a greater variety of techniques, these being able to give her a considerable advantage against her opponent. Hinata would finish her off, no longer a good and shy girl, now she had a second chance and would never again hesitate to kill someone who threatens her country, her new home, even if she had to kill dozens of enemies. "Hinata, you won't be able to beat me, you're at a disadvantage, your left arm doesn't work and you have several internal injuries from my blow, surrender or I'll have to kill you pitifully." "Smoothie, it doesn't matter, I'll fight until the end and you'll see that I'll defeat you, brat." "Hinata, it's a shame, I hate to kill, but I'll have to do it, it's a shame, prepare for battle, then Charlotte smoothie, that will be your end." With Gilgamesh the aforementioned was fighting in a duel with Queen and Jack, both commanders of Kaido. They had already transformed into their beast mode, but even so Naruto's main bodyguard was dealing with both of them without any inconvenience. Gilgamesh respected power, and despite the fact that those half-breeds were not as strong as him, at least they were at an acceptable level. Despite not reaching the level of an admiral, for him it was acceptable. Maybe they have the level of Haku thought. The king of heroes, but then dismissed it. Haku was stronger individually and had the potential to surpass the current admirals, so it was not logical to compare that garbage with Haku. Gilgamesh, you foolish half-breeds will all die for attacking my house, and your armies will be brought down. After saying that, Gilgamesh snapped his fingers and hundreds of weapons came out of magic circles and went against Jack and Queen and dozens of Kaido and Big Mom's soldiers who were nearby, easily piercing them. Jack and Queen were able to dodge or resist most of Gilgamesh's weapons, although some still damaged him. I see you two survived my first major Kukuku attack, well that's impressive, then the battle won't be boring, Gilgamesh proclaimed with an arrogant smile. Queen and Jack looked at Gilgamesh with hatred and went against the king of heroes to finish him off, since they were tired of his arrogant words. But Gaara and King both stared at each other until Gaara sent a stream of sand towards King. Kaido's strongest commander dodged and saw something, impressed by Gaara's ability, so he took the battle seriously and transformed into his beast mode, and levitated. Gaara did the same with his sand, and both went against each other, King with fire around him and Gaara with his sand armor. Currently the battle between Katakuri and Haku was going in favor of Big Mom's commander, although several wounds and parts of his frozen body could be seen on him, and in Haku's case, several cuts and blood could be seen around the Ice Master's body. Haku's thoughts. I think I'm not at Katakuri's level yet. Well, it was obvious he and King are close to Admiral level. I could barely face one of them. I know I'll get stronger if I make it out of this battle alive, but for now I have to hold him back until help comes. Katakuri's thoughts. This girl is strong, she may be stronger than any of my brothers, the ice, and this young woman's tactics are on another level. In a couple of years she will be able to surpass me. But he came out of his thoughts as well as Haku when both saw with surprise, one with horror and the other with a smile, as Kushina cut off Big Mom's arm. Mother, I have to go with mother to save her, were Katakuri's thoughts, so he withdrew from the battle he had against Haku. The aforementioned sighed and was going to go against Katakuri to stop him, but next to her Shisui Uchiha appeared and shook his head, since it was not necessary to pursue the commander. Shisui, Kushina-sama will be able to deal with them, we have to take care of the armies and reduce our casualties. Haku, okay Shisui, let's go, we have to end this war as soon as possible. Katakuri was going at his maximum speed to save his mother. Kushina continued fighting with Big Mom. She was somewhat hurt and about to cut off Big Mom's head, but suddenly a large mochi barrier appeared between Kushina and Big Mom, surprising the Yonkou and making Kushina smile, but internally she was furious that they stopped the fight with Big Mom. Kushina, I'm surprised at how loyal you are to Big Mom, that's surprising, you just earned my respect. Katakuri, since knowing that I can kill you, you came to stop me, you are an interesting person. Katakuri, she is my mother, I will not leave her even if she dies in battle, I will be her shield. Kushina, withdraw your troops, there are several dead, I will give you this option, leave now and live or stay and everyone dies. I already defeated your mother, my husband will defeat Kaido, my Minato.kun is even stronger than me, and my Naru-chan is even stronger than him, so it will be impossible for them to defeat the three of us living in this place. Katakuri narrowed his eyes and sighed and saw that Kushina was telling the truth and helped his mother, who was half unconscious from the battle she had with the Red Deed, and realized that his mother was no longer the strongest woman in the world. Now the strongest woman in the world was Uzumaki Namikaze Kushina, the princess of the whirlpool, so he would retreat, he would not risk his brothers to certain death. Meanwhile Naruto was with an annoyed face. The Red Deed was with his sword cutting his enemies one by one, having dozens if not hundreds of corpses near him until he got tired, and to end it all the Basara the Red Deed shouted, they will pay for attacking my house, my country and my people. Hado number 90 Kurohitsugi, Black Coffin, after saying that a large black cube locked up dozens, if not hundreds of Kaido and Big Mom soldiers, Naruto looked at the cube impassively until he then closed his hand, causing the cube to disappear and kill all the locked up soldiers, leaving only dust from them. This caused all battles to stop, and Yuzu's enemies looked at Naruto in fear, not even their leaders scared them that much. All of you either leave my country or you will die, Naruto said coldly, releasing his power, cracking everything around him. Everyone shuddered at that voice until suddenly Cracker appeared behind Naruto. He noticed and turned around and said, you will die back in one, psi obstruction, thus paralyzing Cracker, making him tremble in fear. The Redeed smiled and said Hado number 90 Kurohitsugi, black coffin, so Cracker was surrounded by a large black cube that made him tremble after he was surrounded. Naruto closed his fist, and the moment the black cube disappeared, you could see Cracker's body full of cuts, and bloody Big Mom's commander was dead. One of the strongest fell at the hands of Naruto. All the battle stopped, and they looked with more fear at Naruto, since in 2 movements they finished off one of the strongest. Meanwhile the Uzukage Kenshin Uzumaki and Irene Uzumaki together finished off hundreds of Kaido and Big Mom soldiers with such ease, either with lightning, fire, wind and even with their diamond chains. The 9 Bijuas did the same. The new protectors of Yuzu, the size of a dog a little larger than Akamaru, finished off the invaders, either with fire, water, wind, lava, explosive bubbles, poison and anything else the tailed beasts had. "This is boring, none of these humans are a challenge," said Kurama, somewhat sad not to have a good battle. He would have liked to fight against the lizard or against the crazy Big Mom. Kurama-kun, you know well that only the Yonkou would give you a good fight. Just kill them, we have to finish them for our new home, answered Matatabi with a voice between seductive and serious. Kurama grumbled about why they wouldn't let him face Kaido. He wanted to prove he was the most powerful beast. Matatabi River, come on Kurama, let's finish this quickly and I'll give you a great prize. All the remaining troops of Big Mom were retreating from the battle led by Katakuri, since their leader was in an unconscious and critical state. With the Yonkou, Kaido was battling Minato. The Yonkou was in his dragon mode, where he could be seen without an eye and without a hand, while Minato could be seen with some bruises, and next to him 2 gigantic white tigers, element of great size. "Ice release beast freeze," both tigers shouted, launching 2 ice beams towards Kaido in his dragon mode. "Lightning release destruction of the lightning god," Minato shouted, launching a gigantic beam of light towards Kaido. The aforementioned dodged an ice beam, but another hit him in the body, holding him back momentarily, causing Minato's beam of light to fall squarely on him, causing a gigantic explosion. When the smoke dissipated, Kaido could be seen covered in blood and very wounded. From the distance, the main commanders of the Yonkou Kaido watched in horror as their leader fell, very wounded, so they quickly went to where Kaido was, evading Gilgamesh and Gaara with great difficulty, who saw their opponents escape. Gilgamesh, well, both beasts are very wounded, I will not chase them, I am lazy, I better kill the rest of these commoners, I will not let the rest escape. Gaara, King escapes and Naruto will not be happy at all for not having killed that lizard. Well, it doesn't matter, the next time I see him I will kill him, and this time I will not hold back. I hope the others have been doing well in their fights. Meanwhile, Kaido's 3 commanders were going to their leader to support him. They will not allow him to die. The first to arrive was King, who tried to attack Minato, who was barely able to dodge King's attack since he did not notice his arrival. Seconds after King arrived, Kaido's other 2 commanders arrived in their beast form. Queen, take out Kaido as quickly as possible, take out the troops. If we continue like this, we will lose all our men. I will stop them, ordered King. The other 2 commanders nodded and took Kaido with all the speed they could. I see that you are very loyal to your leader, it is a shame, and at the same time it is very surprising, King of the Beasts, Minato said calmly. Cider Madara, thank you for the help, you may go. The 2 tigers nodded. Well, prepare for battle, it's time to see how strong you are, Minato said with a small smile. King looked at Minato cautiously, he knew he had no chance, he just had to hold off his opponent for a few minutes until Jack and Queen could take Kaido to the ship and leave as quickly as possible. He wouldn't lose so easily against his opponent. End of chapter. Chapter 9. Changes in the world and a new power rises. Currently the 3 commanders of Kaido were going to where their leader to support him. They will not allow him to die. The first to arrive was King, who tried to attack Minato, who was barely able to dodge King's attack since he did not notice his arrival. Seconds after King arrived, the other 2 commanders of Kaido arrived in their beast form. Queen, take Kaido out, I will stop them, ordered King. The other 2 commanders nodded and took Kaido away with all the speed they had. I see that you are very loyal to your leader, King of the Beasts, Minato said calmly. Cider Madara, thank you for the help, you may go. The 2 tigers nodded. Well, get ready for battle, it's time to see how strong you are, Minato said with a small smile. King looked at Minato cautiously, he knew he had no chance, he just had to hold off his opponent for a few minutes until Jack and Queen could take Kaido to the ship and leave as quickly as possible. You will die, Namikaze, Minato shouted King, who flew away in his monster form against Minato. The aforementioned dodged with ease, and Minato made hand positions and shouted lightning dragon, lightning release. King dodged with some difficulty and saw out of the corner of his eye how his crew entered the ship, so he went at full speed, where his crew Minato noticed and launched several balls of wind at an enormous speed that some pierced part of King, but he resisted and remained on Kaido's ship wounded. Let's all go quickly, King exclaimed. Those driving the ship nodded and took off with less than half of their troops. The same thing happened with Big Mom, whose crew was even worse than Kaido's, with 40% of his total troops going to attack Yuzu. King's thoughts, at least we were able to escape, I didn't think the land of whirlpools was so powerful. Tadakuri's thoughts. At least most of my brothers were able to escape, it's a shame that Crack died, but at least mother and most of my brothers are alive. An hour after Kaido and Big Mom's invasion failed, a meeting between the military leaders of the Whirlpool country was taking place. Tension, well the invasion of Kaido and Big Mom failed thanks to the leadership of all of you, I am very grateful, especially to Naruto and his group who took care of the commanders of Big Mom and Kaido, and my daughter Kushina and Minato, who were able to defeat Kaido and Big Mom. I know well that the entire battle or at least most of it will be broadcast by Morgans, better known as Big News Big Unixu. Big News is the president of the World Economy Journal, so the government and anyone else will now know our power and will think twice before attempting an invasion. Minato, yes, but we must also be careful now our enemies will be more careful and will be more afraid of us, and you know that can trigger fear. Kushina, a mass attack by the Navy and the Celestial Dragons, but I highly doubt they will do it since we have not lost any Uzumaki and only some soldiers died unfortunately. Naruto, I think you're right mother we should pay respect to all those who lost their lives in this foolish invasion by Kaido and Big Mom. Everyone nodded sadly at the deaths of their colleagues or subordinates. It's been a few months since the war between the country of whirlpools and the Yonkou Big Mom and Kaido of the Beasts in these months, people learned that the country of whirlpools not only repelled the alliance of both Yonkou, but also seriously injured them, and even some of the commanders of 2 of the 4 emperors were killed in battle the whole world of almost everything that happened in the battle, thanks to some reporters who were on the scene, with the permission of the Uzukijin under surveillance. These reporters belonged to Morgans, better known as Big News Big Unixu. Big News is the president of the World Economy Journal and one of the emperors of the underworld who narrated practically the entire battle between Uzumaki Namikaze Kushina against Big Mom and Namikaze Minato against Kaido, leaving the Uzumaki Namikaze couple the winners of that battle. Also counted the battle between Katakuri against Haku, Gaara against King Hinata against Smoothie among other battles and the hundreds of pirates and mercenaries who were exterminated by the Uzumaki and by Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki being the one who finished off hundreds of pirates alone. Everything told by Morgans, told everything that happened shocked the pirates, the world government and even the rest of the Yonkou were surprised by the power shown by the country of the Whirlpool. Shit, I knew the Kushina-san and Minato-san were powerful, but defeating and leaving Kaido and Big Mom in bad condition individually is surprising, exclaimed Jozu, very surprised to know everything that happened in Yuzu. Damn, he knew that woman was strong, but he never thought that she would leave Big Mom without an arm. Urugurugura knew those 2 brats were strong. He would like to see Kaido and Big Mom's faces so defeated. Whitebeard River making everyone on the ship sweat. Kaido and Big Mom are weakened, they lost some of their commanders and several of their troops. What do we do? Marco asked somewhat curiously. No son, we will not attack the Yonkou, but what we are going to do is take over the territories of these 2 idiots who want to invade Yuzu, although we will only invade territories close to us, Whitebeard indicated calmly. Everyone in Whitebeard's crew nodded with a roar of victory towards their father. But Big Mom she was in very bad condition, she was no longer in critical condition, but she was still very weakened and she knew that the Navy, Whitebeard or the Redeed, would take advantage of this opportunity to attack. Big Mom. Damn Uzumaki, damn Whirlpool, damn Uzukijin, damn Redeed for cutting off my hand because of them, my power has been greatly reduced, but very soon they will pay, very soon Kuku. Katakuri was sweating, his breast was sprouting a great amount of power that was affecting his brothers, but he didn't say anything, since he knew that his mother would kill him painfully. With Kaido he was in very bad shape, the same with several of his subordinates and his commanders, the king of the beasts was furious. Kaido. Those Uzumaki will pay soon, very soon I will bring down the country of the Kukuku whirlpools, and soon I will not only finish them off, but when I have Minato Namikaze in front of me, I will torture him and skin him soon Kukuku my revenge will be complete. Kaido continued laughing sadistically with a terrifying aura around him, causing his commanders to shiver, since they rarely saw their leader like that, and it was terrifying. Meanwhile at the revolutionaries' base a blonde-haired boy between 19 or 18 years old approximately was looking at a poster and saw with surprise how Redeed was in the image, not only the Redeed, but in the other covers was a Redeed, and next to it, a defeated Big Mom. The same thing happened in the third image he could see a blonde-haired boy with a defeated Kaido, and in his mind, the names of these 3 made him remember part of his life, part of his history and those in the image. For Uzumaki Namikaze Kushina someone he saw as an aunt, despite the short time he knew her she along with the one he considered his uncle Namikaze Minato, took care of them, and even brought them various toys, and supported the town in which he lived along with Luffy and Ace his brothers financially. He still remembered Naruto, and how scary he was when he got angry. Hell, despite being younger he always dominated him. Ace and Luffy, and he smiled at the defeat of Kaido and Big Mom against the Namikaze Uzumaki family, although he was also somewhat incredulous at Yuzu's victory against two of the four emperors. Sabo, even now your power Naruto far surpasses me, the same with you and Kushina Uncle Minato very soon I will go see you I have many things to tell you it is time to see my family again. In the Navy, the high ranks of these were in a meeting among the high ranks of the Navy, were Vice Admiral Garp, Fleet Admiral Sengoku, the three admirals Akainu, Kizaru, Akiji, Vice Admiral Tsuru, among other vice admirals, well known throughout the Navy and all pirates. I told you Sengoku that the country of the whirlpool will crush Kaido, and Big Mom proclaimed guard with a laugh mouth. Sengoku and all the high command frowned at the words of the marine hero. Shut up guard, you know very well that this is worrying, the power and the warriors that the whirlpool has are too great, Sengoku said seriously. Everyone nodded, knowing full well that the power of the whirlpool was enormous, at least they thought it was even greater than Whitebeard's Yonkou. Guard, ha 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 and what can you do Sengoku the country of the whirlpools will not attack you, unless you attack an ally or relative of his, I know some Uzumaki, and they are very honorable. But I will tell you this they are very vengeful, do not provoke them, because the war against them will not be pretty, and I will not participate if you provoke a war with them, since they are not pirates, they are citizens of a country that is neutral. The Akainu, they must be treated because they are very powerful and are not on the side of the navy, they must die. Akiji, haha you just fear them, and now that you know that Gilgamesh and the Red Fox among other powerful warriors are on the side of the whirlpool country, and that bothers you, since both are much stronger than your Akainu. The Akainu frowned but said nothing, just huffed in annoyance. Sengoku sighed tiredly from all the events. Well thanks to this war and the total power that Yuzu has, the Gormsei told us to place a reward on each of these warriors, well now these are the new rewards for the shinobis of Yuzu, and the truth is I am impressed, but now I will tell you not to interrupt me, first is Hakuyuki Momochi, the ice princess of the whirlpool, has a reward of 715 million berries. Since she herself fought alongside Katakuri although the battle was not defined it is known that she was at least at a close level to Katakuri, in addition, she has attacked several navy bases where there were slaves and took them away Sengoku said seriously, but he was noticeably tired. At that, many sailors opened their eyes in shock since that girl had a huge bounty. Hell, that bounty far exceeds that of several high-level pirates. Sengoku continued the second is Gaara no Sabaku alias the Sand Demon, according to what is heard in the newspaper he fought with King and almost defeated him, his head is currently worth 1285,000,000 million berries Sengoku was going to speak, but he couldn't since he heard a fool speak something that chewed him up. But how is it possible that they have such rewards, said a vice admiral angrily. Several said the same until Akiji spoke. That's simple, some of them are so strong that they surpass our power, others are on par with the Yonkou commanders, so shut up and let Sengoku finish what he has to say, Akiji said bored. Sengoku thanked and started over in third and fourth place is Uzumaki Kurama, her bounty is 325 billion berries, while her sister Uzumaki Akame has a bounty of 405 billion berries, since together they were able to almost kill Crack, the commander of Big Mom's 3rd division. In 5th place is Hyuga Hinata, the wide-eyed princess her bounty is 1 billion berries, since she defeated the commander of Big Mom's 2nd division. In 5th place is Gilgamesh's bounty increased from 1,200 billion berries to 2,200 billion berries. This made everyone open their eyes in shock, but how is it possible that someone has such a reward asked Akainu angrily. Shut up Akainu and listen to Sengoku, don't interrupt him, Tsuru ordered seriously. Akainu frowned but said nothing. Sengoku nodded well, continuing this Uzumaki Kushina alias Red Demon or Princess of the Whirlpool, as soon as Akainu heard that name a shiver ran through him and he remembered the beating he received from that woman. Everyone realized this, and Sengoku continued as Uzumaki Kushina the Red Demon said, she defeated the Yonkou Big Mom and was able to cut off her arm, so her bounty increases from 2,150 billion berries to 4,585 billion berries, while the Uzukage has a bounty of 4,500 billion berries. Other bounties that increased are those of Namikaze Minato, who now has a bounty of 4,635 billion berries according to my reports, he killed hundreds of bandits hired by the Yonkou and defeated Kaido of the Beasts. Another who increased his bounty was Uzumaki Nagato, who now has a bounty of 2,100 billion berries. Then there is Konan the Angel of the Whirlpool, now a bounty of 900 billion berries. Then there is Uchiha Shisui alias the Red-Eyed Demon, his bounty increased to 1,150 billion berries. According to reports he was able to defeat hundreds of pirates, plus we all know that he was able to fight on equal footing previously with Kizaru and 3 vice admirals. And finally Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto his bounty is now 3,675 billion berries, according to my reports he killed and Destroyed several hundred pirates from the army in the war if not thousands, and even killed one of Big Mom's commanders with ease. But Sengoku the boy is barely 15 years old, approximately how is it possible that the world nobles give such a large reward for a child, said Guard, not wanting his adoptive nephew to have that amount on his head. It was not that he distrusted his power, but Naruto was the only one who was not a pirate, so he did not want him to have such a large reward. Everyone looked at them in surprise, they didn't think Guard would react like that. Sengoku looked at him strangely, but he answered anyway, that boy, what do you call him? At the age of approximately 12, he defeated an admiral. That boy destroyed hundreds, if not thousands, of marines and pirates, and that boy, in the war against Big Mom and Kaido, destroyed several from the aforementioned fleet. He said this shouting and frowning. Guard looked at him angrily and sighed, I'll tell you this. Sengoku is a child. He's not even 20 years old. After saying that, he left the place annoyed. Guard knew that his nephew was strong, but he didn't want him to have that gigantic reward. Although he knew that he would be protected in Yuzu, he was still worried. Hell, he was just a brat. But at the same time, he was proud that his nephew had such a great reward. Meanwhile in Uzumaki the Uzukage Kenshi Uzumaki was meeting with Naruto and several other high-caliber ninjas from the Whirlpool country, since the new rewards that the Navy put on them had come out. Naruto, the world government has put large bounties on our heads, said Kenshin seriously. Naruto and all the ninjas around him frowned, since the stupid world government wanted their heads as if they were pirates, and that angered him. And how much are our rewards? Minato asked curiously. Kenshin sighed and pulled out several posters. The first they saw was Haku's. On the poster it said Hakuyuki Momochi, the ice princess of the Whirlpool, bounty of 715 million billion berries, wanted dead or alive. Haku, who was in the Uzukage tower, was surprised by such a reward and sighed resigned. Kenshin continued and pulled out Gilgamesh's poster, where all the ninjas in the room saw that it said on the poster Gilgamesh bounty of 2200 billion berries wanted dead or alive. The third poster they saw was Hinata's, which said Hyuga Hinata, the wide-eyed princess of the Whirlpool, her head is worth 1 billion berries. The Hyuga was surprised by her reward and sighed, already knowing the headache that having a reward comparable to that of the Yonkou commanders will bring her. The next poster they saw was Gaara's, which did not even disturb him, and all the ninjas in the room saw the poster that said name Gaara, Akka the god of sand, bounty 1285 million berries dead or alive. Then they saw another poster. This was for Kushina, the daughter of the Uzukage, and it said name Uzumaki Kushina, Akka red demon, bounty 4585 million berries wanted dead or alive. Everyone opened their eyes in shock at such an amount, and both Naruto and Minato looked at Kushina with concern, since a large amount of pirates would come for her head. Kushina looked at them and smiled, which made them both calm down. Then the Uzukage took out 6 more posters that said Uzumaki Nagato, bounty 2100 million Namikaze Minato, bounty 4635 million berries of berries wanted dead or alive. Then the third poster said Conan the Angel of the Whirlpool, bounty 900 million berries wanted alive or dead, and the fourth poster was that of Uchiha Shisui, alias the red-eyed demon, bounty 1150 The sixth and seventh poster that the Uzukage took out were of Uzumaki Kurama, her bounty is 325 million berries, while her sister Uzumaki Akame has a reward of 405 million berries. Everyone was surprised by their bounty until Minato asked and Uzumaki-sama, what bounty do you and Naruto have? The Uzukage sighed and took out the last 2 posters that said Kenshin Uzumaki, leader of the country of the Whirlpools, Uzumaki Kenshin, bounty 4500 million berries. Everyone opened their eyes in shock. That bounty was even higher than the Yonkou Big Mom, but the last poster left them perplexed. Since it said Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, bounty 3675 million berries, according to want he is dead or alive, do not fight him unless you are at the level of an admiral. Everyone looked at Naruto and then at the poster and began to scream. How was it possible that the stupid government put that amount on Naruto's head? Now they would chase him. Naruto sighed and in a red flash he left, since he did not want to hear the screams of his family and friends. He could take care of himself, he was not weak, he was the strongest in the country, he was not a weak child, he could even defeat Kurama, and he was the second strongest in Yuzu. End of chapter. Chapter 10. A brother's wrath is unleashed. It's been a year and 6 months since Big Mom and Kaido lost to Yuzu in a year and a half. Interesting things happened. First of all, Naruto found out that his brother Ace of Everything But Blood had now made a bounty of 550 million billion berries, being very known today by both pirates and marines, and that made him happy and worried, but he dismissed it. Since Ace was in command of Whitebeard, the strongest Yonko and one of the few people he respected, not only his power, but also his way of seeing his crew. The second was that apparently Luffy was slowly making a name for himself in the new world, now having a bounty on his head, 300 million billion berries, which made him frown, since the world government and the Gorosei want the head of his silly little brother, so Naruto sighed resignedly. Since he knew that his brother Ace was well protected thanks to Whitebeard, but Luffy did not. He did not have even the power to face the heavyweights of the navy. Hell, from what he could see, he was barely at the level of a mid-level vice admiral. If he were to face the strongest admirals or vice admirals, they would kill him, and if that happened, he would wipe out the entire navy with all his power and that of the 9 Bijuas. But he came out of his thoughts when Gaara called him. "Naruto, something happened," said Gaara, a little nervous internally, although on the outside it was not noticeable, since he continued with his emotionless look, but he was very afraid to give the news of his brother's capture to his friend. Naruto looked at Gaara with curiosity. "What happened?" Gaara asked the Uzumaki. "The aforementioned resigned sigh Naruto, your brother Ace was captured by the navy. They will execute him in a couple of days," Gaara replied with some nerves. Naruto opened his eyes in shock, and after coming out of shock, he released his killer instinct, which made the large population of Yuzu shudder at feeling so much malice, so much hatred, so much resentment, and in the case of Gaara, who was in front of Naruto, was sweating, feeling the great amount of chakra that sprang from Naruto, and the great malice he had and swallowed dry. He knew that Naruto was strong, but he had never seen him so angry, not even in the war against Big Mom and Kaido, and that was bad for everyone. He knew that in the elemental nations Naruto wore a mask. He knew he was not the fool he made everyone out to be, but he never thought that his friend was so intense, overprotective of his allies and sadistic to kill his enemies. "The navy and the Gorosei will pay with their lives for trying to harm my brother, for trying to execute him. Gaara prepares the new Akatsuki, and our troops will go to prevent the execution of my brother Ace," Naruto said coldly. Gaara shuddered at the voice and bloodlust coming from Naruto. Not even Shukaku had that much malice, but he nodded. Gaara accepted Naruto's decision and went to look for all the members of the new Akatsuki, not wanting to feel his friend's wrath, especially when he is worried about his brother. In addition, he had to notify Kenshin the Uzukage of the troops he will take to Marineford. He knew that the war against the navy to rescue his friend's brother would be complicated. After a few minutes, Gaara was meeting with the other Akatsuki and reporting what happened, so they prepared to go to war and defend their boss's brother. Among the Akatsuki were Momochi Yukihaku, the ice princess of the whirlpool, Hyuga Hinata, the wide-eyed, Gilgamesh, the king of heroes, the arrogant king. The next was Uchiha Shisui, the red-eyed demon, Kurama the puppeteer, Akame the red-eyed assassin. Another member was Tatsumi, the dragon of Yuzu. The others were Uzumaki Nagato, purple-eyed demon, Sinbad the Water Prince, Uzumaki Natsu, Uzumaki Urza, Wave, Grey, and Conan the Angel of the Whirlpool, among other high-level members, all of them capable of facing a Yonko commander, and even some of them surpassed them. "Well, I guess it's time to go save the boss's brother," said Tatsumi. "It is, Tatsumi, the boss wants us to save his brother, and that's what we're going to do, although I'm a little worried about how angry he is," Akame said seriously. "Well, Gaki is angry, very angry. I felt his killing intent, and I think all of Yuzu felt it, and the world government will pay dearly for making Fox angry," Gilgamesh said sadistically. "Well, it's time to get ready. Haha, I'm ready to kick the admiral's asses," Shisui said happily. Everyone sweated, and those from the elemental nations wondered if Shisui was really an Uchiha, since they were all supposed to be serious and emotionless emos, but it seemed that Shisui looked more like a Senju than an Uchiha. After about an hour, all the Akatsuki and their troops were getting on their ships for the next war. All these dozens of Yuzu ships and hundreds of Yuzu soldiers, samurai and ninjas, were going to save Ace, not only because he was the brother of their boss, but because he was the commander of the Whitebeard, and they were allied with the Yonko, and they respected alliances. They would not leave the old Yonko alone in this war. "Mother, father, would you also go?" Naruto asked curiously, since if he went with Minato and Kushina, the navy would tremble with fear for having the three of them together, since they are Yoku-level people. "Sachi-kun, we see him as our dear nephew, and we will not go alone," Kushina replied with a half-smile. "Someone you know will go with us," Minato said happily. Naruto looked at her in surprise and asked the younger Uzumaki, "Who is that someone?" "It's me," Naruto said, a voice, and Naruto saw with surprise and happiness who was the person who came, and it was none other than the friend bearer brother who thought was dead. That was Sabo. After Naruto saw Sabo, in a burst of speed he hugged him. The Redeed may be a sadist with his enemies, but his weakness was his friends, and he was very sentimental with them. That was the only true thing about him in the elemental nations. "Sabo, well, I'll tell you on the ship, and I'll tell you what happened. It's time to save our brothers. I know that idiot Luffy will also be in the war. He won't sit idly by when he finds out that Ace will be executed. Naruto, it's time to make the navy pay for trying to kill my brother. They will be destroyed." What Naruto said was with great malice, so everyone sweated at the evil coming out of the redeed, but they nodded anyway and set sail at full speed to prevent Ace's execution. Naruto's thoughts. I hope I arrive on time. I know it will take me several days by boat. I hope I arrive on time. I won't be late. I will protect my family. After 5 days in Marineford, a gigantic confrontation was taking place between the Marines and the Yonko Whitebeard, along with his crew. In addition, there were all the prisoners who escaped from Impel Down, thanks to Monkey D. Luffy, who also interrupts Ace's execution. On the other hand, there were 2 of the admirals, of which are Kizaru and Aokiji, who were facing Whitebeard's commanders, but the battle stopped when a large amount of fog was present and a great amount of power everyone felt. That made Sengoku and Garp narrow their eyes, but Garp had a feeling about who the person was who was coming and prayed that he could save his grandson Ace, but he also had chills because of what that brat was going to do, since he knew the character of Prince Uzumaki, and it was even worse than Kushina's, and that is bad for anyone who faces him. Well, Whitebeard watched, curious to know what was happening, but suddenly the fog dissipates with a great blizzard that sent several pirates and small-time marines flying and made the admirals and commanders of Whitebeard see with surprise a large number of ships, all with a flag with a whirlpool. This was a small army of the Uzumakis. All the marines saw with horror who were on the ships, and that terrified them, while Whitebeard saw with a smile, knowing who arrived and knew that he was angry. He saw him from afar and shuddered, since that child did scare him very much. He was the only person that Whitebeard did not want to face again. When the troops stopped at Marineford, Luffy and Ace saw with their mouths open who were on those ships: their aunt Kushina, their uncle Minato, their little brother Naruto, and Sabo, his brother, who they thought was dead. The devils thought they both knew that the Uzumaki considered them family, but they didn't think they would come with a fleet to this war, and much less that they would come with the heavyweights. What are you doing here, Prince of Crimson Fire and heir to the throne of the Land of Whirlpools? Perhaps the Whirlpool has already allied itself with the Yonko? Sengoku asked. Annoyed by Naruto's interruption, he knew that the boy was not a pirate, so he did not understand what he was doing in this place, and he was not alone, but also with him was Uzumaki Namikaze Kushina and Namikaze Minato, 2 people at the Yonko level. Sengoku knew that if Naruto joined Whitebeard and his group, the navy would have little chance of winning, and if that were not enough, there was Kushina and Minato, and that made him sweat, since both were easily at Whitebeard's level, and that was bad for the navy and for this entire war. He knew that he could fight against one of them, but against all 3 at once he was lost. Naruto looked at Sengoku from his ship and replied, "You know, I'll say this for the last time, like I told Aokiji when I beat him up when he, along with the other stupid admirals and several of his ships, tried to invade my island. They tried to kill my family. If any pirate or marine, whether admiral or Yonko, tried to do something to my family, I would destroy them with my own hands. I will no longer be the same stupid boy to leave anyone who threatens mine alive. Now they will be eliminated." He said this, releasing part of his power and his thirst for blood that made several marines and pirates faint from such bloodlust and made Aokiji sweat, since he knew how strong Naruto was and didn't want to see him angry. No sir, he was not stupid. The boy in front of him was even more dangerous than Whitebeard. He knew, since that boy arrived, the navy had already lost. That boy was not a game. Sengoku narrowed his eyes at Naruto. What do you mean we hurt your family? We haven't even attacked Yuzu since the Navy's previous conflict with the Whirlpool Empire. Sengoku asked with a frown. Naruto looked at him coldly but responded in the same way. They didn't touch any of the Yuzu ninja, but they did touch my dear older brother Ace. You Marines, Gorosei, tried to execute one of my precious people. You harmed him. You hit him. Every word Naruto said increased his anger and power to the point that even Whitebeard was sweating a lot. Even Kushina, Minato, Sabo, and Gilgamesh, who were behind Naruto, were sweating bullets. They had never seen the Redeed like that before, and it wasn't pretty to see him like that, since they could see a 10-tailed beast behind Naruto. Everyone was in shock when Naruto said he was Ace's brother, and everyone went back to see Garp and Luffy, since they wanted them to confirm what Naruto said. Haha, I once told you my adopted nephew was the Prince of Whirlpools, although I am proud to know that he is not a pirate. He is my greatest pride, said Garp, puffing out his chest and smiling awkwardly. Everyone saw them as stupid, and Sengoku shouted, "What the hell, guard? How is it possible that you had family with the Uzumaki?" Garp looked at him coldly. Garp, Naruto is here for Ace, and the truth is, I'll tell you this, Naruto is stronger than me. I recommend you don't make him angry anymore. Sengoku, you are no match for my nephew. Since he came to the war, we have the odds against him. Sengoku frowned and didn't think this could happen. Well, it's time to end this and rescue my foolish older brother Akame. Tatsumi, Kurama, Wave, Urza, Gray, finish off the Shichibukai, and the vice admirals go quickly, ordered Naruto. The 6 nodded and went against their opponents. Gaara, Haku, go against Aokiji, if possible finish off Konan. Hinata, go for Kizaru. I know that between the 2 of them you can beat that idiot, said the Redeed in a commanding voice. Both duos nodded. While Shisui and Nagato were to the left and right of Naruto waiting for their leader's order, they would not fight for the moment until the time is right. In Sengoku's case, he saw with his eyes half closed. Sengoku, if you attack us, you know that you would be declaring war on us, Uzumaki. The war broke out when you and the Gorosei tried to take one of my brothers, Tondo Buddha of the 5th grade, Naruto replied with a half smile. Several pirates and even marines laughed at what was said. Viewers who heard Naruto's response couldn't help but laugh. Garp was laughing loudly at what his nephew said to his friend, while Sengoku's veins swelled at such an offense, but he didn't say anything. It was then that everyone noticed that Admiral Sakazuki began to walk towards Naruto with angry eyes, which made several pirates and marines sweat, while Whitebeard looked at him with a frown, since he knew why Sakazuki was angry. Sakazuki, so you're the brother of that pirate scum son of Gold D. Roger, that's terrifying. Naruto, and you are the dog of the navy, unfortunately I will not be your opponent, stupid admiral, you are very little, and I am too lazy to fight you, garbage. Fukuku Sakazuki, we meet again, said Kushina sadistically. The admiral saw Kushina and sweated, since in front of him was the strongest woman in the seas, someone who defeated the Yonko Big Mom. Kushina, okay, let's fight, idiot, I'll stick my sword up your ass. Sakazuki, we'll see what you got, bitch. Kushina, you will die because of that, she said this with a demonic voice. As soon as Kushina said that, she released a layer of red energy where everyone could feel a gigantic power, both Ace, who was still chained, and Luffy, who was fighting with the marines, shuddered. Since they had seen their Aunt Kushina angry, and whoever made her angry paid dearly, they still remembered what she did to the pirates who tried to harm them, and it was not pretty. This made both of them shudder at such a memory, since it was not pretty at all, nor did their grandfather guard scare them that much with his training. After Kushina ignited her power in a crimson flash, she appeared in front of Sakazuki and threw a strong punch at him, reinforced with chakra and haki, sending Sakazuki flying several meters and breaking some of his bones in the process. Everyone watched in shock as Kushina easily took out an admiral. Meanwhile, Whitebeard watched smiling the fight of the strongest woman. He knew that Kushina was strong and will deal with Akainu with ease. He would even say that she became stronger, maybe now she could defeat him, who knows, maybe when the war is over, he will challenge her. In the battle of Gaara and Haku against Admiral Aokiji, things were not going so well for the admiral. His ice was neutralized by the crystals or Haku's ice, while Gaara did not let him breathe with his annoying sand. Aokiji realized that his opponents were easily at the level of a Shichibukai hell. He thought he would even say that this Gaara was at the level of an admiral, but he came out of his thoughts when a fist of sand was against him, so he did the most sensible and evasive thing. I see that Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto has powerful allies. I am very sorry to have to kill them. Goodbye, Ice Ball. After Aokiji said that, a gigantic ball of ice went towards Haku and Gaara, who watched the attack disinterested, but Haku put his hands on the ground and said, Hympton, ice release frozen hounds. Both Haku and Aokiji's attack colliding, causing a gigantic explosion that blew away several of the pirates and marines who were around them watching the fight. While in the battle of Kizaru against Hinata and Konan, the admiral who handled the light was not having a good time despite his speed. His opponents could follow him with their eyes. In addition to that, Hinata's sword damaged him, since it was made of sea stone reinforced with chakra and other properties to make it super resistant and sharp, and not only that, but the Hyuga's blows hurt like hell. The fight was not very favorable for Admiral Kizaru. I see that they are very dangerous women, said Kizaru smiling, but in his thoughts he realized that these two women were at the level of a Shichibukai or even higher. Hell, the blind girl was easily at admiral level, so he sighed resignedly. He knew that the battle would be complicated. Shut up, man of light, it's time to finish and save Neru's brother. Kun, said Hinata, after she said that she did hand positions, and said Shakutan, burning element, firebombing. Kizaru opened his eyes in surprise at such an attack, and to counter Hinata's jutsu, Kizaru said Yasukani no Magatama, thus sending a large amount of rays of light towards Hinata's fire attack. Both attacks collided and caused a gigantic explosion that sent dozens of marines and pirates flying. Several of the pirates and marines widened their eyes in surprise at such a collision of power. Marine 1. What an incredible battle, those two women are fighting alongside Admiral Kizaru. This is bad. I never thought I would see a battle of such a high level. Marine 2. And not only are they fighting with Admiral Kizaru, but also with Admiral Aokiji, those two young men are cornering. Marine 3. Gaara.no Sabakuaka the Sand Demon and Hakuyuki the Ice Princess of the Whirlpool are really scary to fight at that level with Admiral Aokiji. Marine 4. And it's not just them all. Came the Red-Eyed Assassin, Tatsumi the Grey Whirlpool Dragon, Urza Uzumaki the Red Chinese Sword, Grey the Ice Dragon and Natsu the Fire Dragon of Yuzu are fighting against the Shichibukai and the Vice Admirals and are in a very even duel with them. Several marines and pirates turned around and saw something that amazed and scared them, as they saw Kame fight Dracula Mihik in an equal battle. Then they turned around and saw Tatsumi fight Vice Admiral Onagumo in a one-sided battle, as Tatsumi was practically defeating him. Then several looked at the different battlefields and saw Urza fight against Rear Admiral Hina and Vice Admiral Smoker in a battle that could be said even. Since the two opponents Urza had coordinated well and made it difficult for her to defeat them, while in Kurum's case, she was knocking down the giants and a large number of marines with her 8 puppets, and several of the marines were nervous to see the Crimson Prince's group take down several of the strongest marines and fight on par with the admirals and Shichibukai. I see the rumors are completely true. Wide-eyed princess of the whirlpool, you are powerful, said Kizaru smiling, but his smile was taken away when a sea of blue flames went to the east. He dodged with difficulty and saw that it was Conan, the angel of the whirlpool, so he frowned and in a burst of light he kicked Conan, which she was able to dodge with some difficulty, but suddenly several chains wrapped around Kizaru and left him immobilized. Conan took her opportunity and said, blue fire element, great. Phoenix. After saying that, a medium-sized blue phoenix went towards the immobilized Kizaru, who could not dodge or turn to light thanks to the chains that held him back and rendered his devil fruit useless. These chains were made of chakra. These chains are similar to those of the Uzumaki, but weaker. These chains were made by Hinata, so Conan's attack that she threw at Kizaru caused a great explosion that generated a lot of smoke. When it dissipated, you could see a Kizaru with some burns. Meanwhile, with Whitebeard and Marco, their commander of the 1st Division. Marco, I want you to protect Ace's brothers. We will support them with all our power. With the help of the Prince of Crimson Fire, it will be easier to save him. My dear son Ace. Whitebeard said. Marco looked at his father. So strong as Uzumaki Namek is Naruto, and his group asked the Phoenix. Whitebeard sighed, I'll be honest with you, Ace Uzumaki Namek is Naruto's brother is easily at the level of a Yonkou, and you know it well, that brat already defeated me, that Nagato and Shisuigai most likely have a power comparable to Garp or Sengoku, and the rest of their allies are most likely at your level, perhaps in the case of the blue-haired girl and the sand boy, they are at a level close to that of an admiral. Marco opened his eyes in surprise. Well then, it's good that we're allied with them, Marco commented nervously. Whitebeard nodded with a smile. Marco supports the sand boy and the ice girl and finish Aokiji quickly. Marco nodded and took off towards the battlefield. After Marco left, Whitebeard shouted, my children, support Monkey D. Luffy and the Prince of Crimson Fire, Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto and his allies defeat the Marines. Today we will all save Ace together, and all the members of Whitebeard's crew cheered. Well Naruto, where do you want me to go? Gilgamesh asked with some curiosity. Naruto saw Gilgamesh and said, I want you and my father to go and deal with Garp and Sengoku. They know they shouldn't kill him, just neutralize him. Both Minato and Gilgamesh nodded and disappeared, one in a yellow flash and the other in particles of light, to support Shisui and Nagato in their battle against Garp and Sengoku, who are the strongest in the navy, even stronger than the admirals. And that was too much for anyone. End of chapter. Chapter 11. The Prince of Crimson Fire vs the Navy. The battle between the Navy and the Whitebeard pirates was going in a stalemate. Both sides had similar losses from their battle until it was interrupted by Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and his army being this ally of Whitebeard. Although the world government still did not know it so, the world government was now very worried about the new individuals that were on the battlefield. Currently the Marines were not having a good time. The admirals were being held back and overpowered by the members of Akatsuki, and in some cases being defeated, since several members of this organization were at the Shichibukai, admiral or even Yonkou level, all being powerful individuals in their own right with huge bounties on their heads. Well, it's time to finish off all these stupid Marines who tried to take my brother away from me. There will be no mercy. There will be no mercy with any of you, fire element. Great burning tide, roared Naruto with a dark aura, even if he is throwing a great torrent of fire towards the Marines. Several of these Marines saw with terror and astonishment the great torrent of fire, while Whitebeard and his crew looked impressed and some somewhat scared by the large amount of fire thrown by Naruto, but suddenly a gigantic wall of ice held back the fire, saving the Marines. Being the one who threw the ice was Aokiji, although from what they saw both sailors and pirates, he looked with several wounds on his body and somewhat bloody from the fight against Gaara and Haku, two people of admiral level. But suddenly next to Naruto appeared both Sabaku.no Gaara and Yuki Haku with a small frown, since Aokiji had escaped to protect the Marines from Naruto's attack. Sorry Naruto, Aokiji managed to escape when we weren't looking, said Gaara frowning, since the stupid admiral escaped from them when they were about to defeat him. But he came out of his ramblings, since suddenly a large ball of magma went towards him and Naruto, but the Uzumaki put a sand barrier in between and stopped the attack. Naruto looked at who threw the attack, and it was Sakazuki who threw the lava, so he smiled, and inside he said that he would finish off that stupid admiral. Luckily his mother did not kill him, because he wanted to do it. Kukuku laughed in a somewhat evil way. Okay Gaara, Haku support Konan and the others, I'm going to deal with these fools, Naruto said, and ordered with a somewhat sadistic smile, since he may be good, but he has picked up quite a few of his mother's sadistic tendencies with her enemies. Meanwhile where Portgas Ace was chained, Sengoku and Garp stared at all the battles until Gilgamesh, Minato, Nagato and Shisui appeared in front of the aforementioned, and Nagato and Minato threw a strong punch that sent both Sengoku and Garp flying. Well Shisui, take Naruto's brother to Whitebeard, I will take care of those two along with Minato-sama, and Gilgamesh ordered Nagato. The aforementioned nodded and broke the chains and grabbed Ace and disappeared in a vortex to then appear next to Whitebeard, which made the aforementioned narrow his eyes, since that ability was dangerous and the power that the boy who appeared out of nowhere gave off was strong, comparable to Sengoku's if not superior. Whitebeard, here is Ace, protect the boss's little brother please, we will end this war, said Shisui seriously. Whitebeard nodded but he didn't like the order, but he let it go, since he had Ace by his side and he would protect him. Ace was going to protest, but Shisui gave him a hard look as he wouldn't let the fireman do something stupid. Naruto ordered that you, Ace, and your brother Luffy are the priority in this war. Naruto is furious, and if something happens to you too, I fear what he would do, said Shisui seriously. Whitebeard looked at him confused, but Ace looked at him horrified. He remembered the promise he made to him and Luffy since the supposed death of Sabo. He still remembered his words, I swear on my life that anyone who hurts you, I will kill you slowly and painfully. I will wipe out anyone who hurts you, be it a marine, the Gorosei and even the Yonko, so he furiously nodded. Since from what he saw Naruto had the power to erase those marines if he got angry, and although he hated the navy, there were also innocent people, so he sighed in resignation, but nodded to Shisui anyway. After a few minutes Shisui brought both Luffy and Sabo, who wanted to talk to them about why and what happened when he disappeared several years ago, since Sabo knew how problematic his brothers were, and if he didn't tell them what happened to him they would bother him, and he would behave worse than a child. As Naruto stared at the two admirals in front of him looking at the trash that tried to kill his brother, the duo of admirals were tensed by Naruto's gaze, as that gaze promised that they would be in a world of pain if they didn't move, so they gulped as they had both fought the Red and were defeated to the point that it made them eat dirt, and even though they had both gotten stronger, they also knew that the brat had gotten stronger as well. Well, it's time to finish, you two pathetic admirals, you will die. Akainu, Aokiji will pay for trying to hurt my little brother, I promise you will be in a world of pain, Naruto said sinisterly. After saying that, Naruto in a crimson flash appeared behind Aokiji throwing a punch with haki sending him flying. Then Naruto made hand positions and roared lightning, release lightning armor. With this armor, Naruto increased his speed to the point that he rivaled Kizaru in speed, making it difficult for Sakazuki to keep up with Naruto's speed. The Red appeared behind him and threw a strong punch, sending Sakazuki flying. It's time for you, Sakazuki, to pay for offending my brothers. After saying that, Naruto took out his adamantine chains and sent them directly to Sakazuki, grabbing him, leaving him immobilized and unable to properly use the powers of his devil fruit. What did you do to me? Why can't I move? I feel weak. Let me go, you brat bastard. Let me go, Red. Let me go. You shitty tomato, Uzumaki trash, Sakazuki roared furiously. After Tomato said to Naruto a strong killing intent that made everyone pale, since the killing intent that Naruto released was terrifying, and everyone saw how a 10-tailed beast with gigantic fangs formed behind Naruto. Thoughts from all the Akatsuki. Shit, Sakazuki is so messed up. Naruto is very similar to Kushina-sama when he's insulted with his hair, and that's really bad. Ace's thought. He called Naruto Tomato, now that idiot Sakazuki will come out more dead than alive. And Kushina was the same, and the person who called her Tomato died in a very cruel way. Luffy's thoughts. Aniki is cool, but sometimes he's scary, little. He reminds me of Aunt Kushina, those two are too rude. Sabo's thought, he's still as terrifying and powerful as Aunt Kushina, that's bad, very bad for his enemies. Kushina's thought, it looks like me, I feel proud because my Naru is as cool as her mother. Minato's thoughts. He looks like Kushi-chan, I better talk to him after this silly war, I don't want another hot-blooded happening with Yuzu, enough with Kushina-chan, too bad for everyone. Marco's thoughts. Damn, I would never want to have him as an enemy. I can't believe that father faced that brat and survived. Whitebeard's thoughts. He's worse than Kushina, hell, even I feel chills when I look at that brat when he's angry, poor admirals, I even feel sorry for those fools who tried to kill Ace. You will pay for calling me Tomato, Sakazuki roared Naruto with a very dark voice and full of malice to the point that it made everyone near him shudder. Naruto looked at Sakazuki wanting to kill him until the Uzumaki took out his sword and then cut off Sakazuki's left arm, making him scream in pain. Aokiji intervened before Naruto cut off his head and tried to throw a punch at Naruto, who released Sakazuki and dodged Aokiji, leaving the admiral bleeding and fainted and faced the ice admiral. Aokiji, how could you cut off Akainu's arm? Your sword is very unusual, boy. Naruto, simple, my sword is made of a special energy and Kukuku sea stone, no devil fruit user will be able to resist the cut of my sword, silly ice man. Akiji, I see that you are someone very dangerous, you are even more dangerous than Whitebeard, and that is very impressive. Naruto, you have no idea how dangerous I am, silly ice man. Today you will feel what true pain is. Akiji, we'll see Naruto.san, who knows, maybe it will surprise you. After Akiji said that, he launched himself at a gigantic speed against Naruto. The Redeed dodged with regular ease and threw a great kick at Akiji. The Ice Admiral held Naruto's leg with his arm, causing a great shock wave that made several marines and pirates fly. While in the battle of Garp and Sengoku against Nagato, Minato and Gilgamesh, the fight was even despite the fact that both Garp and Sengoku were not at their best, they still had the level to rival if not surpass the admirals, and even current Yonkou, while Nagato, Minato and Gilgamesh were Yonkou level people, although they were not fighting at their full power. I see why one is the fleet admiral, and the other is the navy hero. They are strong and even stronger than those three admirals, said Nagato, congratulating his two opponents. Bard laughed, since the battle he had was one of the best, even though he and his enemies were holding back, since the marine hero knew that his opponents are stronger than what they are showing. While Sengoku frowned, realizing that his opponents were not people to be underestimated, held their power was easily at the level of an admiral or higher, thought the Buddha with a frown and cursed himself, since one of them was strong and difficult to handle, but three that would be very screwed. Arp, they are very powerful, they are definitely at the level of an admiral, and I would even say they are on par with a Yoku, this will be interesting. Nagato, this is flattering coming from the hero of the navy and the strongest marine, a man who despite his old age, is easily at the level of a Yonkou. Arp, hahaha, it's very flattering living off you, purple-eyed demon. Sengoku, shut up and stop talking, it's time to end this battle. After Sengoku said, the Buddha launched himself against Minato and Gilgamesh, while Garp stayed to fight against Nagato, causing gigantic shock waves due to the great power that the 5 admiral level individuals had, Yonkou. But the battle stopped when Blackbeard appeared with his crew that made Naruto look at Blackbeard in rage, since because of him the navy captured his brother, while Ace wanted to go kill Blackbeard, being the fireman stopped by Sabo and Luffy, but in the case of the marines and some pirates saw with horror to Blackbeard's crew, since these were Van Augur, nicknamed Jitsonic, for being a relentless shooter with an impressive aim. Then there was Jesus Burgess, known as Champion. The next they saw was Lafitte, known as Demon Marshal, the fourth was Doc Q, nicknamed God of Death, the fifth was Rain Shiryu, the sixth member was Avalo Pizarro, the seventh was Katarina Devon, the eighth member was Sanwin Wolf, the ninth was Vasco Shot, all of them dangerous in their own right, but Blackbeard narrowed his eyes when he saw Whitebeard practicing healthy, and only with a few scratches, which he didn't like, since now it would be much more complicated to kill him. Blackbeard, you bastard, I'll kill you for killing Thatch, roared an angry Ace. Kukuku, silly Ace, I'll kill you too, stupid, said Blackbeard laughing madly. Ace frowned and went straight towards Blackbeard, but suddenly a red flash appeared next to him, making him stop and making Ace sweat, since he knew who the boy who stopped him was. Dear brother, calm down, I didn't come to this place just for you to die at the hands of that fatty, Naruto said calmly. Ace frowned and was going to reply, but a look from Naruto silenced him, while Blackbeard frowned to see who was in front of him. So the Prince of Crimson Fire, Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, is here. What are you doing, brat, and why are you getting in my way, asked Blackbeard very angry. Naruto looked at him and frowned. Naruto, shut up, idiot, or I'll kill you and your entire crew. He said this, unleashing his thirst for blood, which silenced Blackbeard and made those around him tremble. But before Naruto did something unexpected, this was another of the Yonkou, Shanks the red-haired, and his crew Naruto, and they all looked at the Yonkou very surprised, since they did not expect another emperor to be at war. Shanks, I see that there was no need for you to intervene in this war. What are you doing here, Redeed? Sengoku said, already frustrated that so many powerful pirates prevented Ace's execution and thought about resigning to stop putting up with so much shit. Shanks, as I mentioned a moment ago, I'm going to stop this foolish war. There are already too many dead. Both sides need to bury their dead and heal their wounded. Sengoku frowned, since with the Prince of Crimson Fire and his allies along with Whitebeard and his army, it would already be too complicated if not impossible to defeat them. In addition, having Sakazuki without an arm and practically unconscious, while Aokiji is too injured to even be able to fight, and despite the fact that Kizaru is in better condition, he could not fight against the Prince of Crimson Fire, the Red Eater in the worst case, Whitebeard, who is in good condition. So he sighed, knowing well what the result would be if we continued fighting. Well, the war is over, Whitebeard and his crew can go, and the same with you, Prince of the Crimson Fire. I hope you are attentive to the consequences that this will unleash, said Sengoku, angry and stressed with so much shit that happened. Naruto squinted at the Buddha. Naruto, well Sengoku I will go, but I will warn you this one last time, and listen well everyone, because I will not repeat it again, and there will be no words next time but destruction, so I hope no one from your foolish world government touches my brothers, but I swear on my honor, that I will wipe out the entire world government, and burn them until nothing remains. There will be no marine admiral who can stop me. If your government attacks my family, only destruction and death await them. There will be no mercy. Whoever attacks my family will be killed. Everyone including Whitebeard, Shanks the Red and Blackbeard looked at Naruto in astonishment at such a threat to the world government. Even those who saw the battles that were being recorded were bewildered by such a threat. Sengoku was angry while Guard was left with his mouth open. He knew that his nephew, by all means blood, had a very overprotective temperament with his brothers, but it increased after the death of Sabo, who now saw him very much alive and did not know how he would find out later, but he never thought that he would practically threaten to destroy the world government if they touched his brothers again, and he realized that it would be better not to screw him over, damn it. If he is the boss of someone like Nagato who could fight alongside him and Sengoku at the same time, did not want to know how strong his nephew would be if he was serious, since he realized that with the admirals that his dear nephew faced, he held back. Nobody said anything, not even Sengoku, who had a face of shock at Naruto's words, so Naruto spoke. Well, it's time for us guys to go, board Whitebeard's ship, and I'm warning you something. Blackbeard is attacking my dear brothers again, and I won't leave anything of you. After saying that, Naruto and his companions entered Whitebeard's ship, while Kushina and Minato were with the Whirlpool army, while the Yonkou still had a face of not believing Naruto's statement, while the other pirates and the Shichibukai Boa Hancock and the former Shichibukai Jin were also going with them, along with some pirates who came out of prison. Blackbeard cursed Naruto but did nothing. He knew how powerful he was. Hell, everyone knew the power of that kid. Only someone at Yonkou level had any chance of facing that demon, and he knew he wasn't at that level yet, so he called his crew and left Marineford before the Marines attacked him. He would have another chance to get a high-level devil fruit to increase his power. Meanwhile on Whitebeard's ship everything was almost silent, as Naruto could be seen beating up Ace and Luffy, one for getting caught by the Navy and the other for going to Marineford without a plan. Everyone watched this with a drop of sweat, seeing their ace, the commander of the 2nd Division, being beaten by his younger brother, someone who is not even older than 17. Okay, you two, I hope you don't do anything stupid. I swear if those stupid Marines killed you, I would go all out and summon the 9 Bijuas and wipe out the entire Navy. You don't know how. I got worried and you two idiots did this, something that almost killed you, Naruto said with some tears in his eyes and releasing his intention to kill. Behind him was a large 10-tailed beast that had red eyes and a demonic face. Everyone watched this with a drop of sweat and chills, as one of the most dangerous people in the world, someone who left an admiral without an arm and practically threatened to wipe out the Navy if they touched or harmed his brothers, was now crying like a little child, but they also realized how dangerous the Prince of Crimson Fire, also known as the Red Fox, was. After a couple of minutes of silence, Whitebeard spoke. Prince of Crimson Fire, can I talk to you? Naruto looked at him. Tell me just, Naruto said the Uzumaki. Whitebeard nodded. Thank you for coming. Even though I was recovered, I got too confident and I could have almost lost Ace, and that's why I thank you for saving my son. Well, Whitebeard, you don't have to thank me. I should thank you for taking care of my silly older brother, Naruto said with a huge smile. Gurugura, little Naruto, the truth is the older brother you look like your Gurugura, said Whitebeard with a huge smile. But the Yonkou said made everyone laugh, and Ace sighed. He knew that even though Naruto was the youngest, he always protected them. He didn't live with them, but he always communicated with them, and ever since Sabo supposedly died, he became somewhat overprotective. Well, Luffy smiled at having a brother and friend like Naruto, although today he was very scary, too much for his liking, although now Luffy realized how weak he was and that, as a place, he needed to get stronger. Well, Whitebeard, you know what will happen after our play in Marineford, said Naruto seriously. Whitebeard sighed. I know that with the threat you made to the Navy, they will avoid us as much as possible until they have enough power to destroy us. They know that they could defeat our armies individually, but if we don't unite, it would be a headache for them, said Whitebeard calmly. The good thing is that they don't know that we are allies. Well, with what happened today they will most likely suspect it, Naruto said with a frown. The strongest Yonkou nodded. Do you think it's time to make the alliance public? Whitebeard asked. Naruto thought about it. Well, in my opinion I think so, but it would be good if we discussed it in Yuzushi Agakur no Sato, Naruto said seriously. Whitebeard looked at him and then smiled widely. Kid, you have a deal, we'll head to Yuzu. Naruto was going to answer, but someone spoke. This was Boa Hancock. Naruto-sama, Whitebeard, I, Boa Hancock of Amazon Lily, leader of the Kuja tribe, would like to join this alliance, said the most beautiful woman. Naruto and Whitebeard looked at her in surprise until Whitebeard asked why the pirate empress wants this alliance. I simply want protection from the government when I go with Luffy, and with you, logically you will think that I betrayed you, and I was literally never loyal to you, I was only with you to protect my island and my family, replied the beautiful Bow Hancock. Brother, let Hancock join your alliance. She's a good person. Also, thanks to her, I was able to go rescue Ace, said Luffy with a smile. Naruto sighed, on one hand he would have a powerful ally, but on the other hand, it would be difficult to talk to his grandfather to allow Hancock to join the alliance. Naruto. Well, when we arrive with the Uzukage we will talk about the terms of the alliance between Amazon Lily, Yuzushi Ogakure and the Whitebeard pirates and all our allies. Everyone cheered for what Naruto said, since the alliance that will come to light will turn the world government upside down. End of chapter. The 50 strongest in One Piece. 1. Uzumaki Naruto. 2. Gilgamesh Kurama. 3. Sinbad. 4. Edward Newgate recovered 100% Minato Namikaze. 5. Uzumaki Kushina. 6. Kenshin Uzumaki Nagato. 7. Garp, now he has regained his strength and is even stronger. 8. Monkey D. Dragon, he is the leader of the revolutionaries, he must be strong. 9. Shanks the Redeed, in my opinion he is the second strongest Yonkou. 10. Gyuki Uchiha Shisui. 11. Chimei. 12. Kaido of the Beasts, he is strong, but now he is very weakened after the fight against Minato. 13. Charlotte Linlin Big Mom, the same happens with Big Mom, she is weakened by the fight with Kushina. 14. Sengoku, he is the fleet admiral. 15. Seiken. 16. Shiki Golden Lion, he is on par with a Yonkou. 17. Dracula Mihik, in my opinion he is at the level of an admiral, almost at the Yonkou level. 18. Sakazuki, a Kainu. 19. Dark King Silver's Rayleigh, he is old but strong, I think he is on par with the admirals. 20. Hyuga Hinata, Tensugen, Uzumaki Irene. 21. Kakyo. 22. Son Goku Kong. 23. Kuzan, Akiji. 24. Borsellino Kizaru. 25. Iso Kazuki Oden. 26. Jiraiya the Wise Toad Sage Mode Sabaku no Gara, he was Kazuki-age and became much stronger. 27. Rei Uzumaki Hiho to Kenshin Urza Uzumaki. 28. Sambi, Blackbeard. 29. Rei Akami Ryokujaya Ben Beckman. 30. Madatabi Marco the Phoenix, he is strong and will get stronger. 31. Uzumaki Natsu. 32 Gray. 33. Katakuri. 35. Hakuyuki Mamachi. 36. King. 37. Tsunade. 38. Uzumaki Konan. 39. Shukaku. 40. Hada Kakashi Yamato. 41. Magellan. 42. Akame Shiryu. 43. Tatsumi. 44. Kurum. 45 Queen. 46. Jack. 47 Wave. 48 Jim. 49 Joshua. 50. Ace Sabo. Chapter 12. Meetings. It's been a couple of days since Ace, Naruto's older brother, was rescued. The rescue ended with the victory of the pirates and the members of the Uzu Navy, country of whirlpools, thanks to the powerful beings that the Uzumaki Navy had, including Gilgamesh, the king of heroes, Whitebeard, a Yonkou and the most powerful of the 4 emperors, and Naruto, the prince of Uzu, each capable of dealing with the 3 admirals, something that terrified the entire navy. In addition, they could count on Minato and Kushina, who could also easily confront the admirals, both having had some confrontations with the admirals, making them a headache for the world government. Currently Kurama, Whitebeard, Minato, Kushina, Naruto and Boa Hancock were in a meeting to see about the 3-way alliance, especially because the former Shishibukai wants protection for herself and her people from the world government. The most beautiful woman knew well that she is strong, perhaps at the level of a Yonkou commander. But she knew well that she could not against the admirals who are almost the equals of the Yaku, especially Akainu, who in the eyes of the former Shichibukai is a rabid dog who will seek revenge if he does not get the protection of Whitebeard and the country of whirlpools. I see that the rescue went perfectly, I can see that some have some injuries, but Tsunade is taking care of the injured. Now we have to deal with the repercussions, since I am sure that Naruto dropping the bomb that Ace, the son of the Pirate King, is his adoptive brother will generate panic, and now everyone knows that Ace was also under Yuzu's protection, said the Uzukage, sighing from the headaches that the war caused him. Nothing will happen to the little fire boy, the only thing the world government will do is increase his reward. The same will happen with several of the big fish. The pathetic government fears us and fears Whitebeard, since they know that in terms of power we are their equals. But if we unite, the government will fear us more and more, since on Yuzu's side there is Kushina, Minato, Gilgamesh, Naruto and Sinbad. In addition to having you Uzukage, each one of you has the Yonko level. This makes the government nervous, and what we lack in armies we have in quality, while the Whitebeards have him, Marco, who is at Admiral level, Ace, Jozu and other high-level pirates, not counting several of his allies. Kurama finished with a snort. Since he knew that the government and the five elders fear them and respect them, not counting that the government does not know of their power, and that of the rest of the 9 Bijuu, each being a Bijuu at the Yaku level or Admiral level, and in his case, he is above any of the Yonko after all. He is the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the strongest of the 9 Bijuu, only being surpassed by Naruto, and perhaps by the king of heroes Gilgamesh. I hate to say it, but the furball is right. The government fears us. They will most likely increase our reward. Besides, they fear a union between Whitebeard and the Whirlpool country. After all, we recently beat the world government, and a while ago we defeated 2 of the 4 emperors, who, despite not being the strongest, were the ones with the most destructive armies, Kushina said, snorting, as she agreed with the furball. I also agree with Mother and Kurama. Now the only thing we have to do is make our alliance known, one that will shake the world. The alliance between Amazon Lily, Yuzushi Agakur and the Whitebeard pirates. I want to see Sengoku's face. When he finds out about all the power we have, they are already paranoid, and when we publish our alliance, the whole world will shake. It will be very fun to screw the world government, said Naruto with a small smile that showed a bit of his cruelty. Well, you're right in that aspect. I think the world government and the 5 elders will be afraid of us. After all, our power individually already equals them, and together I doubt very much that they will do anything against us, said Minato, sighing. Everything that happened is so troublesome. It's interesting and annoying everything they did, but I guess this is going to make our position in the world increase after the beating Naruto and his group gave the admirals, said the Uzukage, sighing with some tiredness. It's annoying, yes, but it will be very interesting to see all the changes we will bring to the seas after the war. We will see how the world government reacts and what those 5 elders do, said Barbablaka. I agree with you. After the threat that Lord Naruto made to the government in the middle of all the media, I estimate that in a couple of days new rewards will come out and a statement from the government and the 5 elders, said Hancock, remembering how Naruto threatened the government for trying to kill Ace, and Hancock had to say that Naruto had balls to threaten the world government. She may hate men, but not Naruto, since she supported Luffy and knew that without Naruto most likely the war would have been won by the Navy and Whitebeard would have been killed. Hancock's memory. So the Prince of Crimson Fire Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto is here. What are you doing, brat, and why are you getting in my way, asked Blackbeard, very angry. Naruto looked at him and frowned. Naruto, shut up, idiot, or I'll kill you and your entire crew. He said this, unleashing his thirst for blood, which silenced Blackbeard and made those around him tremble. But before Naruto could do anything unexpected, this was another of the Yonko, Shanks the Red and his crew, Naruto, and they all looked at the Yonko in great surprise, as they did not expect another emperor to be at war. Shanks, I see that there was no need for you to intervene in this war. What are you doing here, Red? Sengoku said, already frustrated that so many powerful pirates prevented Ace's execution and thought about resigning to stop putting up with so much shit. Shanks, as I mentioned a moment ago, I'm going to stop this stupid war. There are already too many dead. Both sides need to bury their dead and heal their wounded. Sengoku frowned, since with the Prince of Crimson Fire and his allies along with Whitebeard and his army, it would already be too complicated if not impossible to defeat them. In addition, having Sakazuki without an arm and practically unconscious, while Aokiji is too injured to even be able to fight, and despite the fact that Kizaru is in better condition, he could not fight against the Prince of Crimson Fire, the Red Eater in the worst case, Whitebeard, who is in good condition. So he sighed, knowing well what the result would be if we continued fighting. Well, the war is over. Whitebeard and his crew can go, and the same with you, Prince of Crimson Fire. I hope you are attentive to the consequences that this will unleash, said Sengoku, angry and stressed with so much shit that happened. Naruto looked at the Buddha with narrowed eyes and a furrowed brow, angrily at the foolish Buddha's words. If it were up to him, he would kill him. Naruto, well, Sengoku, I will go, but I will warn you this one last time, and listen well everyone, because I will not repeat it again, and there will be no words next time but destruction, so I hope no one from your foolish world government touches my brothers, but I swear on my honor that I will wipe out the entire world government and burn them until nothing remains. There will be no marine admiral who can stop me. If your government attacks my family, only destruction and death await them. There will be no mercy. Whoever attacks my family will be killed. Everyone, including Whitebeard, Shanks the Red and Blackbeard, looked at Naruto in astonishment at such a threat to the world government. Even those who watched the battles that were being recorded were bewildered by such a threat. Sengoku was angry while Guard was left with his mouth open. He knew that his nephew, who was anything but blood-based, had a very overprotective temperament with his brothers, but it increased after Sabo's death. Now he saw him very much alive, and he didn't know how he would find out later, but he never thought that he would practically threaten to destroy the world government if they touched his brothers again, and he realized that it would be better not to screw him over. Damn it, if he is the boss of someone like Nagato who could fight alongside him, and Sengoku at the same time, did not want to know how strong his nephew would be if he was serious. Since he realized that with the admirals that his dear nephew faced, he held back. Nobody said anything, not even Sengoku, who had a face of shock at Naruto's words, so Naruto spoke. Well, it's time for us guys to go, board Whitebeard's ship, and I'm warning you something. Blackbeard is attacking my dear brothers again, and I won't leave anything of you. After saying that, Naruto and his companions entered Whitebeard's ship, while Kushina and Minato were with the Whirlpool army, while the Yonkou still had a face of not believing Naruto's statement, while the other pirates and the Shichibukai Boa Hancock and the former Shichibukai Jin were also going with them, along with some pirates who came out of prison. End of Hancock's memory. Hancock was still a little nervous remembering everything that happened in the navy, but she was happy that her Luffy had lived, and now she wanted to convince Kushina and Minato to give her their blessing to be with Luffy. Uragura, Naruto the kid, you really have the courage to threaten the government. I still remember seeing Sengoku, Garp and the Redeed with their mouths open at the threat you made. It was so funny. The Yonkou laughed. The only bad thing is that we couldn't finish off Blackbeard. Kushina frowned, since she wanted to gut the traitor for capturing poor Ace and handing him over to the world government, but when she has the traitor she will gut him little by little. She won't allow that trash to remain alive. No, she would cut him limb from limb. Whitebeard frowned. He also wants the traitor's head, but he knew that very few of his sons could fight against that trash. He may not be at Yonkou level, but he knew well that he is strong, perhaps close to the level of a high-level admiral or vice-admiral. We won't be able to do anything yet. If we go after Blackbeard, someone of admiral level will have to go hunt him down, along with some high-level soldiers. After all, that scum has some high-level prisoners, and that idiot Blackbeard may not be Yonkou level, but he's close to admiral level, said Minato with a frown. He felt the power of that scum, and knew that he is not weak. For some reason he was able to defeat Ace, who is a commander of Whitebeard. I agree with Minato, so they tell me Blackbeard is dangerous, perhaps at the level of a commander like Marco. Only people of Marco's stature or higher would have a chance with that scum, said the Uzukage with a frown. He wanted to finish off that traitor. He didn't like traitors at all, much less those like Blackbeard. That trash will die by my claw for being a traitor, but they are right about something. We can't go after that scum without someone who is at admiral level, said Kurama with a growl. I don't like doing nothing, but that bastard has to die, but I also understand that that trash is strong, and that only I or Marco can defeat him, so for the moment I won't actively look for him, although I will destroy him everything, said Whitebeard with some anger, since he wanted to destroy that wretch who betrayed him. Naruto frowned, but sighed. He also wanted to finish off Blackbeard, but for the moment he wouldn't actively seek him out, the trash would die soon anyway. Well, changing the subject, we have to keep an eye on Big Mom and Kaido as well as strengthen ourselves, since it seems those two Yonkou want revenge after the beating our village gave them, said the Uzukage with a sigh. At that, everyone frowned. Those two Yonkou would ruin their plans if they got in their way, so they had to be eliminated, all the leaders thought. Kaido and Big Mom must be eliminated, they are a threat to us, each one is stronger than anyone else except Garp, who is someone of a great level. I would say he is my equal, said Whitebeard with a frown. His former crewmates would be a pest that would have to be eliminated. And that they are right, but if any of the Yonkou gets in our way I will finish them off, especially Big Mom. That woman escaped from my hands, Kushina said coldly. After all, she is the strongest woman in the world, and Big Mom had to die by her hand. Several nodded, knowing well that Kushina could destroy the Yonkou. After all, Kushina is the strongest woman in the world. Fine, but first we must provide our information about our alliance to the newspaper. I want to see the faces of the 5 elders and the navy. I also want to see the heart attack that Sengoku Naruto will give sadistically. Uragura, Sengoku himself is going to have a heart attack when he finds out about our alliance. Young Naruto, laughed Whitebeard. He knew that Sengoku would die when he finds out about the alliance of the Whitebeard pirates and the country of the Whirlpool. Meanwhile, with the Marines, the highest level Marines were having a meeting, since after the war in Marineford and losing thanks to the Yuzu Empire, they have weakened to such an extent that if another Yonkou attacks they could happily destroy them. Big Mom and Kaido were weak, a good thing for the world government. We know very well why we were in this place after losing so foolishly against Whitebeard and the Uzumaki Empire, said Sengoku, somewhat angrily remembering how Naruto told him to buck off. I told you, Sengoku, that the country of the Whirlpool should be crushed, but you did not listen to me, and look what happened in the Marineford War, proclaimed Akainu angrily. Sengoku and all the high command frowned at Akainu's words, but some agreed. After all, Yuzu is and will continue to be a great threat until he is destroyed. Lose Akainu, but you know well that it cannot be done, since the power and the warriors that the whirlpool has is too great to be dealt with easily, and almost the entire navy would have to go to confront it, and everyone knows that Naruto, Minato, Kushina, Gilgamesh and the Uzukage are Yonko level people, and there are some who are at Admiral level. The power that Yuzu possesses is difficult to deal with, said Sengoku seriously. Everyone nodded, knowing well that the power of the whirlpool was enormous, at least they thought it was even superior to Whitebeard's Yonko, and they confirmed it in the Marineford War, especially Prince Naruto. Guard, ha, and what can you do? Sengoku? The country of the whirlpools will not attack you, unless you attack an ally or relative of theirs. I know some Uzumaki, and they are very honorable, but I will tell you this, they are very vengeful. Do not provoke them, because the war against them will not be pretty, and I will not participate if you provoke a war with them. Since they are not pirates, they are citizens of a country, and you know very well that they will not attack unless you harm a relative, as they almost did with Ace when trying to execute him, and look what happened. The Whirlpool Empire swept the floor with the navy. Akainu. They must be treated because they are very powerful. They are not on the side of the navy, they must die. Most likely they are allies of Whitebeard. They may not be pirates, but in the war they attack the navy. Akiji, hahaha, you only fear them Akainu, since they have beings like Minato, Kushina and Naruto among other powerful warriors, are on the side of the whirlpool country, and that bothers you, since both are much stronger than your Akainu. After all, each one of them already beat you up. Akainu frowned, but said nothing, just snorted in annoyance. He was going to finish off the whirlpool, he'll just wait and destroy it. Sengoku sighed, tired of all the events and the war, and since the threat that the prince of the whirlpool gave him, things got complicated. The elders were not at all happy with the threat of that child. Well, thanks to this war in Marineford and the total power that Yuzu has, the Gormsei told us to place a reward increase on each of these high-caliber warriors. Well, now these are the new rewards for the Shinobis of Yuzu, and the truth is I am impressed, but now I will tell you not to interrupt me. First is Hakuyuki Momochi, the ice princess of the whirlpool, has a reward of 950 million berries, since she herself fought on par with Akiji and held her own, so she is very dangerous. Sengoku said seriously, but he was noticeably tired. At that, many sailors opened their eyes in shock, since that girl had an enormous bounty. Hell, that bounty far exceeds several high-level pirates, but they understood a little after all, not just anyone can stand up to an admiral. Sengoku continued. The second is Gaara no Sabaku alias the Sand Demon. According to what is heard in the newspaper, he fought with King and almost defeated him. His head is currently worth 1650,000,000 million berries. Sengoku was going to speak, but he couldn't since he heard a fool speak, which annoyed him. But how is it possible that they have such rewards? Said a vice admiral angrily. Several said the same, since the rewards that those individuals had are very high and now they increased more. Everything was chaos until Akiji spoke. That's simple, some of them are so strong that they surpass our power, others are on par with the Yonko commanders, so shut up and let Sengoku finish what he has to say, Akiji said, bored, knowing firsthand that several of those members are strong enough to fight against the Shichibukai and the admirals. Sengoku thanked his fellow marine and started over. In third and fourth place is Uzumaki Kurama. Her bounty is 525 million billion berries, while her sister Uzumaki Akame has a bounty of 675 million billion berries, since together they could. In fifth place is Hyuga Hinata, the wide-eyed princess. Her bounty is 1200 billion berries. In sixth place is Gilgamesh. His bounty increased from 2200 billion berries to 3500 billion berries. This made everyone open their eyes in shock, but how is it possible that someone has such a reward, asked Akainu angrily, since that reward is close to that of the Sea Emperors. Shut up Akainu and listen to Sengoku, don't interrupt him, Tsuru ordered seriously. Akainu frowned, but said nothing, not wanting to get into a fight with his fellow marines. Sengoku nodded, and he, because the reward is simple, we investigate, and apparently Gilgamesh is the right hand of Prince Naruto, as well as his bodyguard. So well, continuing with the increase in rewards is Uzumaki Kushina, alias Red Demon or Princess of the Whirlpool. As soon as Akainu heard that name, a shiver ran through him, and he remembered the beating he received from that woman, or rather massacre, that after all, she is the strongest woman in the seas. Everyone realized this, and Sengoku continued as he said, Uzumaki Kushina, the Red Demon and the strongest woman in the seas. Her bounty increases from 4585,000,000 billion berries to 4800,000,000 billion berries. Other bounties that increased are those of Namikaze Minato, who now has a bounty of 4900,000,000 billion berries. Another who increased his bounty was Uzumaki Nagato, who now has a bounty of 2600,000,000 billion berries. Then there is Konan, the Angel of the Whirlpool, now a bounty of 1400,000,000 billion berries. Then there is Uchiha Shisui alias the Red-Eyed Demon, his bounty increased to 2200,000,000 million. And finally Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, his bounty is now 5250,000,000 billion berries. This bounty is because he is the one who did the most damage to us, and he was the one who threatened to destroy us, the Admiral of the Navy finished speaking. And speaking of the Whitebeard pirates, they also increased their bounty, but there are 3 that stand out, and they are Whitebeard, Portgas d'Ace and Marco the Phoenix, said Sengoku with a huge headache. I guess they increased the bounty on my grandson after finding out that he is Roger's son, and that he is the nephew of Lady Kushina and Lord Minato, Garp said coldly. He hoped that Yuzu could protect his grandson. Sengoku sighed. There are also other bounties that increased, among them are Sabo the Revolutionary, Monkey D. Luffy and Jim Beach, powerful in their own right, termed the Fleet Admiral. End of chapter. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.